Hey everyone, I sincerely appreciate your support. If you enjoy my audiobooks, I would be truly grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support even further, you're welcome to become a Patreon member, where you can access audiobooks of novels as long as they are freely available on the internet. Your kindness and support mean so much. Thank you.
Aniu was simple-minded. His arm had been shattered by a massive force, but he didn't cry out. Instead, he raised his other fist and swung it toward the demon. The result was predictable. His other arm was broken too. Click. Aniu remained unfazed. Even when the demon's sharp claws tore through his abdomen, spilling his intestines onto the ground and leaving him drenched in blood, he only smiled foolishly. The demon, intrigued by how long Aniu could endure, continued to destroy his body. Tear. Aniu was stubborn. The demon had promised him a life of luxury if he surrendered a life filled with unimaginable riches, food, and comfort. But Aniu refused. He gritted his teeth, blood pooling in his mouth. Finally, he spat it all out right onto the demon's face. So, you're just a fool who doesn't know when to adapt, the demon sneered, its curiosity turning to disdain. The demon stopped toying with him. It swung its massive, dragon-scaled claws, the air roaring as they cut through the space between them. Suddenly, the world seemed to slow down for Aniu. Through his blood-soaked eyes, he saw the claws move sluggishly, inching closer. Everything felt suspended, as if time had paused. So slow. In that moment of stillness, his usually dull mind became unexpectedly sharp, flooding with thoughts. Had the others made it out of the mountains? Was Brother Su finally getting some rest? Would there be plenty of food in the afterlife? Aniu's head buzzed with questions more than he'd ever had in his simple life. The sun shone in his eyes, making them sparkle with a clarity that had always eluded him. Everything hurt. His stomach, his hands, his entire body. But amidst the pain, Aniu smiled a tragic, bittersweet smile. It hurt so much, but he was happy. He had succeeded. He had stalled the demon and given Brother Su and the others a better chance to survive. Ah, so this is what happiness feels like. As the dragon claws loomed overhead, they blocked out the sun, leaving Aniu in complete darkness. The darkness reminded him of that night he had spoken to Sushi. He remembered Sushi telling him that the meaning of life was to be happy. Brother Su, I'm so happy, really happy. The overwhelming exhaustion hit him like a tide, pulling him under. His eyelids drooped, and despite his struggle to stay awake, they eventually closed. Even now, Aniu thought of himself as foolish, a man destined to spend his life farming. But for the first time, he had truly lived, and that one moment of happiness was worth more than all the meals he'd ever eaten. The masters in the city have probably never felt this happy, he thought, utterly content. His joy gave way to sleep, and as his eyes closed, he saw something strange, a hazy light. The light grew clearer until it became a familiar scene. It was Newtown, the place where he had grown up. The town had been burned to the ground by demons long ago, but now it stood as it once had, full of life. He saw Brother Su, Mr. Wu Xiao, and the other townsfolk who had perished. It's wonderful. In a daze, Aniu walked toward the light, hearing his mother's voice echo in his ears. Aniu, come home for dinner. Okay, Mom. He broke into a run, a pure, childlike smile lighting up his face as he hurried toward his home in Newtown. Bang! A deafening roar shattered the moment. The dragon's claws struck the ground with immense force, destroying half the mountain. The impact left only a dark, bottomless void where Aniu had stood. Shreds of leaves, stained with bright red blood, floated in the wind, fluttering like butterflies into the endless blue sky. Sir, aren't you sad? Yes, I'm sad. Sir, aren't you angry? Yes, I'm angry. The sky was a serene blue, with not a cloud in sight. The joy of nearing the edge of the 100,000 mountains was quickly replaced by sorrow when they realized Aniu was gone. Sushi stood still, staring at the sky. He had asked everyone, Wu Ying Su and the Kaiuhuo army included, but no one had seen Aniu. There was no need to ask further. The truth was already clear. Everything made sense now, the details he had overlooked during the chaos of battle. That fool, he actually went off on his own to stop the human immortal, Sushi muttered, his voice tinged with bitterness. So stupid. Wu Yingxiu, unable to contain her rage, grabbed her spear and prepared to charge back, determined to avenge Aniu. Even though she hadn't seen it happen, she knew there could only be one outcome for Aniu against such an opponent: death. But just as she was about to act, she noticed Sushi standing motionless. Sir, aren't you going to do anything? Don't you care about Aniu? She asked, confused by his calm demeanor. I care, Sushi said quietly. His tone carried a deep sadness and anger. Then why? Because Aniu wouldn't want us to do this, Sushi interrupted, his voice steady. He looked away from the sky and began walking forward, continuing to lead the way for everyone. That fool gave his life so we could escape the mountains. If we turn back now, everything he sacrificed will have been for nothing. His words were calm and logical, but the girl noticed his clenched fists trembling ever so slightly. Sushi's steps were heavy, each one leaving a deep imprint in the ground, as if he was forcing himself to move forward. Let's go. We can't let Aniu's efforts be in vain, he said, supporting his weary body and offering the girl a strained smile. Sir, you. Learning to accept separation is a lifelong challenge. In this simulation, Sushi had experienced countless partings. The people of Newtown had perished in the demon tide. Soldiers from Dakian had starved to death while seeking survival. Aniu had fallen at the hands of a human immortal. Each farewell left Sushi with a burning sensation in his throat that worsened over time, leaving him hoarse and eventually silent. His pain turned into fury, directed solely at the demons. No matter how many wise sayings advised letting go, the pain of separation remained. Sadness lingered, and the smiles people wore became nothing more than a mask shaped by the erosion of time. Sushi continued to throw punches and swing his sword. The only way he could honor Aniu was to fight harder to kill more demons and ensure the safest path for the survivors. Click. The sound of cracking echoed, a mix of demons being torn apart and Sushi's body groaning under the strain. Sushi was strong, so strong that his battles brought him closer to the threshold of becoming a martial immortal. His chi and blood resonated with heaven and earth, nurturing his soul. He was one step away from a true breakthrough. This strength allowed Sushi to lead the survival army through waves of demons. Yet, even with his power, he faced countless life and death crises. Exhaustion often brought him to the brink, and it was only through the sacrifices of the people swinging their battered weapons that he survived. Even Ying Su, who had been steadfast for so long, panicked when she saw Sushi's life in danger. Finally, the bloody road reached its end. The ground was littered with shattered bones, bloodstains, bruised bodies, and broken armor. It was as if a nightmare had come to life. When Sushi looked beyond the mountains, he saw the horizon, the end of the survival journey and the real world. All that stood in their way was one final mountain. One last climb, and their suffering would end. As another battle concluded, the golden hues of sunset bathed the sky. The sun slowly sank, giving way to the rising night. The once crowded survival army was now sparse, its members busy preparing dinner. Sushi leaned against a tree, slumping to the ground as he stared weakly at the sunset. This is the final and hardest battle, he muttered to himself, the golden light reflecting in his tired eyes. The remaining path was no longer treacherous. The demons were weak, and even without him, Ying Su could lead the people out. But the real threat lay behind them. The human immortal had been following leisurely, like a cat playing with a mouse. Sushi could feel the oppressive aura closing in, a presence vast and terrifying, like an endless abyss. The timing was cruel. The survival army, excited by the sight of the endpoint, had let their guard down. Sushi clenched his fists. To treat human life as a game, to toy with people's emotions over and over. I can't accept this. He closed his eyes briefly, steeling himself. Only he could stop the immortal. If he succeeded in delaying the pursuit, the others would have no more obstacles in their path. His body was riddled with wounds, scars left by countless battles. Though his chi and blood approached perfection, he was fragile, a candle burning at both ends. If I become a human immortal, it will be like fireworks on New Year's Eve, Sushi thought. A brilliant moment, followed by eternal silence. That's enough. That's enough, he murmured. The towering peaks of the 100,000 mountains sliced through the golden glow of the setting sun, creating a stunning interplay of light and shadow. The roars of demons and the joyful cries of people filled the air. As the golden light touched the ground, it rippled like waves, softly caressing Sushi's palm. He stood and walked toward the survival army, watching them with deep nostalgia. He tried to memorize every face, knowing this might be the last time he saw them. Brother Su is here. Irwazi, don't stand there. Say hello to Mr. Su. Brother, have something to eat. You've grown so thin. The young, the children, and the few remaining women surrounded him, their enthusiasm undimmed by their hardships. The people Sushi had protected, those who survived because of him, offered him food and other items with sincere concern. Sushi smiled faintly and declined. No, thank you all. Let me rest alone for a while. Though disappointed, they respected his wishes and dispersed to continue their tasks. Sushi found a quiet corner and sat alone. He watched the people, their simple and joyful gestures lifting his spirits. It was peaceful. The sunset clouds burned red and yellow, floating like molten lava across the sky, beautiful and serene, like candy. Sir, I made you some soup. A familiar voice broke his thoughts. Without turning, Sushi knew it was Ying Su. He took the bowl she offered and thanked her. Thank you, Ying Su. Sir, drink it quickly. You've worked hard today, and you need your rest and nourishment, she urged. Her red and white patched robe and repaired armor mirrored Sushi's battle-worn appearance. Both bore the scars of their relentless fight. The soup was simple oily flecks floating on the surface, with bits of dried demon meat and a few broken leaves. It was no different from the broth they'd had before, made from whatever they could scavenge to stave off hunger. Tender monster meat was scarce, and Sushi had only tasted it once before giving it all to the young and elderly. He wanted them to have something easier to chew and more nourishing. It's delicious, Sushi said after finishing the bowl, encouraging the girl. In such harsh conditions, having someone cook for you was a rare blessing. Complaining about the food would have been ungrateful. You have good taste, sir. Ying Su grinned as she took the empty bowl from him. Ying Su, are you injured? When Ying Su handed back the bowl, Sushi noticed her movements were a little unsteady. Yes, during today's battle, I was bitten by a demon that was hiding underground, she admitted truthfully. She pulled aside the edge of her robe, revealing her left ankle. The wound wasn't bleeding anymore, but it was healing slowly. Any slight touch caused itching and discomfort, which explained her awkward movements. It's fine, sir, she said with a smile. It's just a small wound. It'll heal on its own by tomorrow. Sushi shook his head. He found a clean piece of white cloth and carefully wrapped the wound to protect it. As he tied the cloth securely, he noticed Wu Yingxu's gaze was distracted. Yingxu. Sorry, she stammered, snapping back to reality. I just remembered when we first met. You helped me like this back then too. Sushi thought back to their first meeting. He realized it had been 10 years since they had met. 10 years a long time by any measure. For many mortals, it was a significant part of their lives, given how few reached a full century. So much time has passed, Sushi murmured, feeling the weight of those years. The sun slowly sank beyond the horizon, casting its last orange rays before giving way to the dark night. Sushi and Wu Yingxu sat side by side on a rough, cold stone, watching the sky transform. They talked about the past memories of Newtown, practicing the fool skill together, celebrating New Year in Pingshui County with plump chicken legs, and their shared plans to escape the 100,000 mountains. Those years, filled with hardship and warmth, had become unforgettable moments. As they talked, the conversation turned to the future. Sir, what do you want to do once we leave the 100,000 mountains? Wu Yingxu asked curiously, her hands resting on the rock beneath her. I haven't thought about it, Sushi said with a faint smile. In truth, he had never expected to leave the mountains alive. Dying here had always been part of his plan. Looking at the darkening sky and sensing the oppressive energy closing in, Sushi knew it was time to speak his mind. Yingxu, he said, pausing briefly, take everyone and leave. The sooner you go, the safer you'll be. What about you, sir? Her sharp intuition caught the omission in his words. She turned to him, her clear eyes reflecting his figure. You're not coming with us, are you? I'll meet you later, Sushi said softly. The world grew quiet, the night's stillness broken only by the rustling leaves. The monsters ahead aren't a problem, but someone needs to stay behind to block any pursuit, Sushi explained. Don't worry. I'll join you once the danger is dealt with. He was lying, and he knew it. But Sushi also knew that if Wu Yingxu realized his true intentions, she would never let him face the enemy alone. But, sir. Yingxu, it's okay. I'll be fine, Sushi tried to reassure her. Don't lie to me again. She grabbed his arm tightly, her grip so firm it caused him pain. Her clear eyes filled with desperation. I know the truth. You never planned to leave with us, she said, her voice trembling. I won't accept this, sir. Let me stay behind this time. Just this once, let me be the one. Her pleas turned into cries, her voice raw with emotion. Sushi was silent for a long moment. Finally, he raised his hand and gently stroked her head for the first time. I'm sorry, Yingxu, he said softly, but I can't let you do this. In the next instant, his palm shifted into a knife hand, striking her neck gently but decisively. Get some rest, he whispered as she fainted. He handed the unconscious Wu Yingxu to the civilians, instructing them to take her with them and flee. The common people hesitated, unwilling to leave him behind. Some even picked up weapons, prepared to fight alongside him. Sushi felt a bittersweet warmth. It's really touching, he muttered with a faint smile. Under his influence, they had all become fools, unwilling to abandon anyone. To ensure their safety, Sushi summoned his chi and blood, moving away at a speed they couldn't follow. He chuckled to himself. Wu Yingxu was still as straightforward as ever, her thoughts written plainly on her face. If she had left secretly, like Aniu, he would have been truly at a loss. Let me die, and let everyone else live. That's the best outcome, Sushi murmured. But as he flew, the world began to spin. His body faltered, and he plummeted to the ground. Strange, why, he muttered in confusion. Sleepiness washed over him, and his vision blurred. Through his fading consciousness, he saw Wu Yingxu approaching, her figure doubling and tripling in his hazy vision. Sir, you big fool, she said gently. You always try to carry everything on your own. You're so foolish. You're just a fool who wants to protect everyone else. Wu Yingxu stepped out of the shadows, lifting the unconscious Sushi. She carried him back to the people who had caught up. There were so many things she wanted to say. She wanted him to know that she had grown up, that she was now an adult in her 20s. She was no longer the little girl who had cried silently in Su's house. I'm sorry, sir, Wu Yingxu whispered. This time, I'll be the hero. I hope you won't blame me. The sky stretched endlessly, the moon hung high, and the water lay still. The moon resided in the heart, and the heart reflected the moon. The clear water mirrored the bright moon, creating a perfect image. But if the moon in the sky disappeared, the illusory moon in the water would vanish too, leaving only emptiness. Wu Yingxu couldn't accept the disappearance of her moon. She couldn't stand by while that fool risked his life again. She wanted the bright, full moon to continue shining in the night sky, not to be silenced forever in the unknown mountains. Everyone, please take sir and leave quickly, she said. I'll go meet the enemy. This time. I truly thank you all for helping me stop sir from doing something foolish. Carrying her spear, Wu Yingxu took unsteady steps forward, her red and white tattered clothes swaying with her movement. The people hesitated, unwilling to leave her to face the monster alone. But Wu Yingxu shook her head, using the one thing that mattered most to them, Sushi's safety. Go. The farther away, the better. You can't help here, she insisted. Take sir out of the 100,000 mountains. If he's with you, he won't be able to do something foolish that might cost him his life. Her voice cracked, and tears welled in her eyes. Torches were lifted by thin, trembling arms, illuminating countless tear-streaked faces. The people cried out for Ying Su, shouting for her to protect their foolish Mr. Suda, the kindest and most selfless man they had ever known. As the survival army moved farther away, their torches formed a long, winding trail of light, a fire dragon weaving through the darkness. It was the fire of farewells, the fire of hope, and the fire that bid goodbye to a fool. Sir, you must live well, Ying Su whispered, her expression soft as she watched the fire dragon disappear into the distance. She turned, gripping her spear tightly, and strode toward the overwhelming aura that loomed ahead. Her body moved forward, but her heart lingered behind. Each step on the rough sand brought friction, the sound weaving images of Sushi's face in her mind. Sir, you really are a big fool, she muttered to herself. If someone asked who was the smartest person in the Kaihuo army, the answer would come quickly and unanimously, Mr. Su. And if someone asked who was the stupidest, the answer would be the same. Everyone knew Sushi was both the smartest and the most foolish. Brother Su is so powerful, he can kill hundreds of demons with a single punch. That's right. Brother Su makes sure we have meat to eat. The people often praised Sushi's heroics in exaggerated tones, mixing admiration with an unspoken sorrow. But sometimes, Ying Su overheard their quiet, tearful complaints. They called him foolish for risking his life when he could have lived in safety. They scolded him for never asking for help, always shouldering burdens alone. He was the kind of fool who fought demons with his life and asked for nothing more than a few vegetable dumplings in return. While others bore injuries, Sushi suffered most of all. His body, battered and broken, showed signs of irreversible decline. The once gentle smile on his face now seemed fragile, as though it could fade away forever at any moment. Sir is so stupid, Ying Su whispered as she walked through the dark forest. She paused, glancing up at the sky through gaps in the dense leaves. The bright moon peeked through, reminding her of Sushi's quiet strength. Mr. Su was too foolish, always thinking of others and never of himself. Her plan to drug the broth that night had been a gamble. A martial master like Sushi, so close to becoming a human immortal, shouldn't have succumbed to the effects so easily. But he did. He fell unconscious almost immediately, revealing just how weak his body had become. How could I feel at ease, knowing you're like this? Ying Su resumed walking, her steps uneven from the pain in her wounded ankle. The wound throbbed with every step, but the ache in her heart was far worse, sharp and relentless, tearing her apart. That fool, she muttered. The stupidest fool in the world. The best fool in the world. Even in such a fragile state, he still tried to protect others. Just hours ago, despite his pale face, he had bandaged her wound with such care. It's really so stupid, she cried, her lips trembling as her grip on the spear tightened. The moonlight brushed her shoulders gently, but it couldn't soothe her anguish. Ying Su couldn't accept it. She couldn't let that kind, foolish man face the most terrifying demon alone. The thought made her nose sting and her chest tighten. She couldn't lose him. The fool who wished her a happy new year. The fool who counted stars with her. The fool who taught her to fold paper flowers. Sir, you're always thinking about everyone else's safety, but you've forgotten that your own safety matters too, she said quietly. This time, Ying Su would switch roles. She would go from the guarded to the guardian and protect the best fool in the world. I guess I've become just as foolish as Sir, she muttered with a bittersweet smile. She glanced at her ankle, where the white cloth Sushi had tied was now faintly stained red. It looked like a delicate red string around her foot. But knowing Sir, he probably didn't think about that at all when he bandaged it, she said softly. Her smile widened briefly before fading. Stopping in her tracks, Ying Su raised her spear fearlessly. She pointed it directly toward the terrifying demon from Dakian, her resolve unshaken. A girl's life could change drastically. Ying Su had once been the princess of Dakian, basking in glory and wealth. But at 16, her world crumbled. She became a fugitive, lost her parents, and her life was forever altered. The root of all her pain pointed to one figure, the Emperor of Dakian. A demon wearing human skin, orchestrating endless tragedies with cold indifference. Ying Su's teeth clenched as she glared at the dragon-robed figure before her. Emperor? Bastard Emperor. In the oppressive darkness of the 100,000 mountains, where silence reigned and the night seemed to swallow all, her furious cry shattered the stillness. The demon remained unmoved, his gaze cold and lofty. Every slight movement radiated a dangerous aura, making her body tremble instinctively. How interesting, the demon mused. A fish that slipped through Ding Yuan's net. He clapped his hands mockingly, his tone laced with amusement. The last person to stand before me did so for food. And you? What compels you to be so foolish? He waved his hand casually, and a suffocating energy sealed the sky and earth, cutting off any escape. But Ying Su had no intention of running. She gripped her spear tightly, her voice steady. A dream. A dream. He gave me a dream, she said firmly. A dream where everyone can eat their fill and live a decent life. Her answer was so simple, so illogical, that it left the demon momentarily stunned. Then, he laughed coldly, his expression turning mocking. Such naivete, he sneered. Do you even understand the nature of this world? There are endless demons, countless demon gods, and demon saints. Humans are weak, pitiful creatures. The demon's voice grew quieter, almost contemplative. Once, I also thought of resisting. But human strength has limits. Against the infinite power of demons, resistance is futile. That's why I joined them. Better to adapt to the inevitable than to be destroyed by it. For a moment, it seemed as though the demon was lost in his memories. He recounted a tale from thousands of years ago when he, along with many others, had been captured by the demon Qinglong and raised as livestock in the 100,000 mountains. Some humans resisted. Some tried to escape. All failed. Eventually, the then emperor of Daqian gave up. He abandoned his faith in martial arts and sought refuge with Qinglong, drinking dragon blood to become a half-dragon. By creating Daqian, he raised warriors as food for the demons. You see, the demon said, there's no point in dreaming of a better world. But if you surrender, I'll ensure you survive. Get out of here, you BD. Wu Yingsu roared, her face twisted in anger. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, her spear striking like a relentless storm. Snap, snap. The weapon cracked loudly as it struck the demon, but it left no wounds. Instead, the recoil almost caused her to lose her grip. Is that all? The demon mocked, his voice icy. You're just as foolish as your father. His human hand transformed into a dragon claw, covered in green scales. With a casual swipe, the sheer force sent Wu Yingsu flying. The blow, brimming with power far beyond the innate realm, was something only a demon king, a being equivalent to a martial immortal, could deliver. Wu Yingsu crashed to the ground, tumbling through dirt and trees. When she finally managed to stand, blood streamed from a gash on her forehead, blurring her vision and staining her cheeks. Don't fall yet, she muttered to herself, gritting her teeth. She planted her spear in the ground and forced herself upright. Her body shook, her clothes were in tatters, but she stood firm. Though the survival army had fled, they couldn't have gone far. Wu Yingsu was determined to buy them more time. At the same time, an audacious dream burned in her heart, a dream so bold it felt impossible. She wanted to defeat Emperor Daqian, kill the Demon King, survive, and reunite with Sushi. I'll see him again, she whispered. I'll tell him, sir, I'm back. But the dream seemed unreachable, a distant hope. Sir, Her voice faltered as blood bubbled in her throat. Every step, every strike, brought her closer to death. Yet, each time she neared her limit, an indomitable fighting spirit reignited within her, fueling her body with fleeting strength. The demon frowned, clearly annoyed. Noisy. He raised a single finger and swiped through the air. The movement summoned a destructive wave of dragon energy, its force shattering the night sky and splitting the earth. The attack was unstoppable. Wu Yingxiu couldn't evade it. She didn't even try. I must hold on, and let Sir escape. Blood dripped from her mouth as she smiled a broken, tragic smile. She gripped her spear tightly, channeling every ounce of her energy and blood into one final, desperate strike. The spear ignited in a burst of orange-red flame, cutting through the darkness like a moth diving into fire. Her determination, her love, and her dreams fueled that single attack. Tear. The flames blazed against the overwhelming darkness, a fleeting yet brilliant light in the night. Yingxiu, is this all you're bringing? Yes, sir. We're heading into the 100,000 mountains. It's easier to travel light. That's true. You've always preferred to keep things simple. The day before they began their journey, Sushi had noticed how little Wu Yingxiu packed. Sir, she murmured now, her voice weak. Her spear fell from her limp hands. The moth chasing the flame had burned itself out. Wu Yingxiu collapsed heavily, her strength utterly spent. A small sachet at her waist spilled open, scattering paper flowers she had hidden. They were stained with blood, their delicate petals turning a deep red. She reached out, trying to grab them, but her fingers couldn't reach. Then, another hand appeared, picking up the flowers for her. The road to survival is arduous. You lead the survival army, fighting against demons day and night. Your body, worn and battered from countless battles, is riddled with wounds, damage that ordinary people cannot comprehend. You persist, your resolve unwavering. You force yourself to stay alive, sustaining the circulation of qi, blood, heaven, and earth within you to unleash greater strength, ensuring a safer path for the people. Your body deteriorates further. But finally, you see the dawn. After traveling through mountains and rivers, braving countless dangers, you and the survival army reach the edge of the 100,000 mountains. People laugh heartily, tears streaming as they rejoice. Seeing this, you feel a quiet happiness and begin planning to part ways silently. You know you are as good as dead. There is no future for you. Instead of clinging to life, you choose to block the most terrifying enemy for the others, granting them a chance at survival. But this time, the people you've protected reject your sacrifice. They drug your soup, forcing you into unconsciousness. By the time you awaken, Wu Yingxiu has already taken your place, standing against the enemy to save you. You rush to the battlefield as fast as you can. There, you see her. She's covered in blood, her spear shattered, her legs nearly broken, a tragic yet resolute figure standing against death to protect you. Blood-stained paper flowers lie scattered, silent and desolate. You once thought the girl had discarded the paper flowers long ago, but now you realize she had always kept them close. Time feels like a cycle. The first time Sushi met Wu Yingxiu, she was injured and being hunted. Now, once again, he finds her on the brink of death. Under her tear-filled gaze, trembling with emotions she can't suppress, Sushi doesn't scold her. He doesn't rebuke her for acting on impulse. Instead, he gently takes her bloodied hand, just as he did before. He channeled his qi and vitality into her depleted body, helping her stand again. Sorry, Yingxiu, he says softly. I came too late. His voice is calm and tender, carrying a soothing warmth. But that gentleness breaks her completely. Tears stream down her face as she stares at him. Sir, no. Please, don't. She grasps his robe tightly, trembling as though trying to anchor him to her side. Sushi shakes his head gently, his gaze unwavering. Ying Su, you've done enough, he says. Leave the rest to me, all right. He presses her wrist lightly, loosening her bloodied fingers. Then, he places the bloodstained, damp paper flower into her hand. The girl has grown far more than he had imagined. The once proud princess, now a resolute fighter, stands with a strength that commands respect. Sushi felt a deep sense of pride and emotion. He longed to see her grow even more, to become the woman she's destined to be. For that to happen, he must open a true path forward for her and the survival army. Click, click. Sushi strided toward the dragon-robed demon. The cracking of his own body resounds with each step. The demon's indifferent expression shifted to one of suspicion. Within Sushi's body, something profound was happening. The false harmony of chi, blood, heaven, and earth began to transform, elevating into a true manifestation. It gained substance and form, aligning with his flesh and bones, built upon the foundation of his acupoints. Yet, even as his vitality surges, there was an undeniable aura of death, a fiery brilliance blooming in the darkness, burning away everything. You're defying heaven and earth, sacrificing your martial spirit, the demon roars. Madman? You lunatic? Why throw your life away like this? The dragon-robed demon steps back, his voice filled with anger and fear as Sushi's overwhelming aura distorted the heavens. Sushi knew exactly what he was doing. He was a dying man igniting his final flame, using himself as kindling to unleash one last blaze. In this act of ultimate sacrifice, Sushi transcended, becoming a true martial immortal. His body surged with power, his chi and blood dyeing the sky crimson. Let's settle this, Sushi says, his voice calm yet resolute. There's a long list of debts between you and me. The demon, enraged, transformed into a green-scaled dragon. Its eyes blaze like the sun and moon, and its claws tear through the heavens, shaking the 100,000 mountains with its roars. Sushi remains unfazed. He clenches his fist and punches forward, simple yet unstoppable. This one's for Aniu, he muttered. Bang! Chi and blood erupt like a tidal wave, engulfing everything. The force of the punch lights up the world, smashing into the dragon with devastating power. Man and dragon clash, their battle resembling a myth come to life. The ferocity of their fight was beyond Wu Yingxu's comprehension. All she knew was that blood was falling from the sky, some of it the demons, some of it Sushi's. You idiot! You big idiot! She screamed, her voice breaking through the silence of the night. He was the best fool in the world, the stupidest fool in the world. In the past, Wu Yingxu loved the feeling of safety that came from standing behind Sushi. His presence brought her peace. But this time, she didn't want it. Not at all. The world didn't change according to human will. Wu Yingxu could only watch, helpless, as the final act unfolds. After an indeterminate amount of time, the battle ceases. A deafening dragon's roar echoes through the mountains, followed by silence. Sushi's final punch pierced the dragon, its force creating a wide, flat path through the mountains, a clear way forward for the living. In the still night, the lifeless body of the dragon collapses. Another figure fell from the sky. Wu Yingxu rushed toward the fallen figure, her legs barely supporting her, sometimes crawling on all fours. Sir, she cries. Sir. She reached him and saw the extent of his injuries. His body was mangled beyond recognition, torn flesh and exposed bones hinting at the unimaginable pain he endured. His breathing, already faint, grew weaker with each passing moment. Sushi woke up in a dazed and turbulent state. His consciousness teetered on the edge of death, already halfway submerged in the abyss. Yet, it seemed someone refused to let him go. He felt himself being carried, someone was running, their movements jostling him awake. Struggling, he opened his weary eyes. The first thing he saw was the vast night sky. The moon was absent, and the stars shone with extraordinary brightness, as if they were burning more intensely tonight. Their brilliance outshone the moon, rendering it nearly invisible. It's so similar. Sushi's eyelids drooped, and waves of pain surged through his body. His thoughts grew disordered, like the dim moon being swallowed by the stars. He understood one thing clearly: he was dying. In truth, he should have died long ago. It was only his sheer determination to fight for the survival army that had kept him alive, battling monsters again and again. But this time, against the dragon, Sushi had given everything. His body was hollow, drained of vitality. He could feel it. Less than 10 minutes remained before his consciousness would completely dissipate. Yingxu, he called softly, his voice barely audible. The girl who was staggering under his weight flinched at his call. Wu Yingxu had been carrying Sushi on her back, even though his injuries had made him nearly unrecognizable. The rough movement momentarily roused his fading awareness. Sir, that's great. I knew you wouldn't die, she exclaimed, her voice trembling with joy as she pressed onward. Yingxu, actually Sir, we're about to leave. The path you opened for us soon, we'll be out of the Shiwen Mountains. Everyone is waiting for us, sir. Wu Yingxu smiled at him, but her smile was forced, barely masking her sorrow. Sushi noticed her tears glistening in the starlight. Her voice wavered as if she were desperately clinging to hope. She understood everything. She just refused to accept it. Deep in her heart, she clung to a fragile illusion, hoping against all odds that Sushi would survive. Carrying him on her back, she fled the battlefield, following the road Sushi had forged with his fists. The night was eerily quiet. The dragon's defeat and Sushi's terrifying strength had silenced every demon in the area. None dared to emerge, leaving only the sound of Ying Su's hurried footsteps. Sushi made no effort to break the illusion she clung to. Sometimes, a fragile heart needed a comforting lie, even if it couldn't change the truth. Ying Su, you've worked so hard, Sushi said weakly, a faint smile forming on his lips. His condition was critical. Even though he had just regained consciousness, fatigue weighed heavily on him. It wasn't just physical exhaustion, it was mental too. Ying Su seemed to sense this, so she tried to keep talking, asking him questions. Sir, what will the world beyond the mountains be like? It may be cruel, but at least it's a place where we can survive. Sir, does a world exist where everyone has enough to eat? Yes, it exists. Sir, the stars tonight. She asked many questions, her words a chaotic mix. Yet, she wasn't skilled at conversation. She stumbled over topics, trying her best to distract him, but her anxiety was evident. Eventually, she ran out of things to say. Her unease grew, and her movements faltered. It's okay, Ying Su, Sushi whispered. You don't have to force yourself. Actually, I have something to tell you. He coughed violently, blood staining his lips. His breathing grew weaker, but he still spoke. He told her about his martial arts breakthroughs, the battles he had fought, and even trivial stories from daily life. Ying Su listened intently, tears streaming down her face. She responded softly, her voice choked with emotion. The distant sight of the survival army came into view, and hope glimmered in the girl's eyes. Sir, we're almost there. Soon, we'll leave the mountains. Ying Su, put me down. I'm tired, Sushi said. The girl froze, her forced smile faltering. Sir, what are you saying? We'll leave together. Sushi shook his head weakly. I just want to rest. You and the others should go on ahead. I'll catch up later. It was another lie. At his insistence, Ying Su reluctantly set him down. Tears spilled down her face as she knelt beside him. Sir, how would you rate my performance today? She asked, her voice trembling. Sushi smiled faintly, his gaze lifting to the stars. It's A grade, a very good A grade. Her tears fell harder, soaking the ground. Go on, Sushi murmured. The road ahead is long. With trembling hands, he gently pushed her forward. Ying Su's footsteps gradually faded into the distance, along with the sound of her sobs. As the stars sparkled above, Sushi closed his eyes, finally succumbing to the darkness. The moon disappeared completely, its light consumed by the brilliance of the stars. Simulation ends. There are countless martial arts practitioners, many brave ones, but you are the only one who used death to carve a path to life. Your persistence ran through the entire simulation. That persistence, called human spirit, is a miracle born of faith. You are the shining moon among the stars, bringing light to the darkness and hope to the desperate. Martial arts forges the body, all things temper the spirit. You are a martial arts immortal with unparalleled talent. Every punch and kick embodies the principle of harmony with nature. You trained tirelessly day and night, creating the martial arts that even a fool can practice, technique that allowed the poor to survive. Your battle against demons became legendary, spreading throughout the Shiwen Mountains. To the demons with intelligence, you are known as that man. You guided the young princess, becoming the light that reached out to her in her darkest moments. People now walk the path you opened. You watched this scene unfold, then passed away with a smile. The simulation ends, and the statistics of wonderful moments begin. Simulation evaluation calculation in progress. Simulation rewards are being generated. It's finally over. In a living room in the real world, Sushi opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling above him, sighing deeply. Of all the simulations he had experienced, the martial arts world was the most exhausting. It wasn't just about gaining strength. Sushi found himself constantly thinking about the people in the survival army. He willingly took on the burden, caring deeply for those who called him brother Xie. This time, it should be a good ending, he murmured. But the sacrifices and the price paid were too tragic. His thoughts lingered on Ying Su and the survival army. Would they make it in the end? Escaping the Shiwen Mountains only meant avoiding becoming demon fodder. The world beyond was vast and dangerous, but not as utterly despairing as the mountains. Sushi pondered whether his sister and the witch could help save those who didn't deserve to die. He thought about the little fool, Aniu, whose only concern had been eating. But then again, Sushi's expression became hesitant as he suddenly sat up from the sofa. That kid Ying Su, could she also become the supreme? Surely not. Sushi turned his attention to the simulator panel, watching its updates with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The night was still and quiet. The wind had ceased, leaving an eerie silence. A dark sky stretched above a long, flat road. There were no stones or trees blocking the way, it was remarkably smooth. Ying Su stopped walking, her steps heavy as though weighed down by an invisible burden. Tears streamed silently down her face, dripping from her trembling fingers. She wanted to look back to see that figure one more time, just one more time. But she knew, had always known, that the sleeping figure would never awaken again. The thought crushed her. Ying Su's face twisted with sorrow, her delicate features overtaken by grief. Her emotions surged uncontrollably, drowning her heart in despair. She wanted to turn back, to carry Sushi's body on her back once more, even if he could no longer move. But it wasn't possible. It was absolutely impossible. Sir is already so tired. I can't disturb him. Ying Su's shoulders shook violently as she wiped her tears away. Her hands became soaked with them. Sushi had always been a fool, putting others first, shielding her from storms, and appearing as her hero when she needed him most. He was exhausted, both in body and spirit. The princess understood this. Sushi deserved to rest. But the pain in her heart made it impossible to let go. I'm sorry, sir. I'm so useless. Sushi had often told her she was his second in command, someone he needed to help lead the survival army against monsters. But in truth, she was the one who needed him. As she continued walking, her tears fell like drops of despair onto the road, reflecting her aching heart. In her darkest moment, Sushi had been her light, her guiding star. He had given her a reason to live, imprinting himself in her heart with love and devotion. Ms. Wu is back? Look, everyone, it's Ms. Wu. Ahead, the faces of the survival army came into view, filled with hope and expectation. Their gazes made Wu Yingsu tremble. How could she tell them that Sushi was sleeping and would never wake? She stopped in her tracks, unable to move. The evening wind brushed past her, soft and gentle, carrying a familiar touch. In a trance, she felt as though someone was gently pushing her forward. Keep moving forward. The wind seemed to whisper, urging her onward. With tears and a bittersweet smile, she walked into the ranks of the survival army. The people quickly asked where Sushi was. Why hadn't he returned with her? Sir, he's a bit tired and wants to rest. Wu Yingsu forced a smile. He said he wanted to be lazy for once and will catch up with us later. The crowd fell silent. Then someone broke the quiet, speaking with a bitter edge. If Brother Xia wants to rest, let him rest. Yes, Brother Xia deserves a good rest. We can't disturb him. The tears of the survival army began to flow, spreading from one person to the next. Children and adults alike wept for the lazy fool who had stayed behind. Let's go. While Sir is resting, we must walk the path he paved for us. With Wu Yingsu leading them, the survival army continued forward, following the road Sushi had created. Half a year later, the martial arts world was shocked by an unprecedented event. An army had fought its way out from the demon clan's territory without any external aid or supplies, relying solely on their resilience to escape the demon's grasp. The martial arts world was vast and boundless, filled with countless inhabitants and extraordinary events. Yet, this particular incident was different. It wasn't about some celestial beings or divine bodies. Instead, it revolved around a group of seemingly insignificant mortals. They were neither exceptional nor remarkable. Humble and stubborn, they lacked foundations, profound understanding, proper equipment, or martial arts techniques. All they had was a crude skill known as the martial arts that even a fool can practice. This technique was so basic that even warriors in the acquired or Xiantian realms dismissed it as inferior, noting its severe side effects and deeming it far less effective than conventional methods. Yet, against all odds, it became the key that allowed the survival army to break free from the demon clan's siege. People marveled at the army's tenacity, but their amazement was short-lived. The survival army soon disappeared from the public eye. When it reappeared, however, it was no longer the same. Led by a girl named Wu Yingsu, the army had become relentless, launching ferocious attacks exclusively on the demon clan. While the martial arts world saw frequent invasions and counter-invasions, the survival army's hatred for the demons was unmatched. Their determination was beyond ordinary emotions. It was fueled by an intense, unquenchable rage. Some believed they would burn out quickly, but the opposite occurred. The army grew stronger, rescuing mortals captured by demons and adding them to their ranks. Those who bore grudges against demons willingly joined as well. As their numbers swelled, the survival army began to resemble the foundation of a fledgling nation. But Wu Yingsu harbored no such ambitions. Her only goal was revenge, to kill as many demons as possible for Sushi. Sir, the time is near. I'll soon be strong enough to truly avenge you. Years later, the survival army struck again, annihilating every demon in a breeding farm. Though smaller in scale than the Shiwen Mountains, the farm still posed a formidable challenge. The decisive factor was Wu Yingsu's current cultivation as a human immortal. Her power burned like a blazing fire, radiating with the brilliance of the sun. It was a force of destruction and rebirth, a testament to her transformation through pain and determination. Silently, Wu Yingsu pulled out a large, cyan dragon scale. It was broad and thick, strikingly similar to the scales of the Emperor Dakian. Blue, dragon. She gritted her teeth as she uttered the words, gripping the scale tightly until blood trickled from her palms. I won't let you go. Never. No matter what it costs my life, my soul, I'll make you pay. The cool night breeze brushed her face, transporting her back to the night she left the Shiwen Mountains. Her grip tightened around the spear in her hand, tears evaporating as flames surged within her. Wu Yingsu and the survival army continued their relentless battle against the demon clan. Their purpose was singular: kill the demons. Even newcomers joined with the same resolve. The martial arts that even a fool can practice technique allowed mortals to fight, but it had its limits. It provided opportunities but could not grant instant strength. Over the years, many who practiced the martial arts that even a fool can practice technique perished. They fell to demon claws, fangs, and occasionally, the attacks of other races. As the army grew, it also attracted the greed of other races, who viewed it as an opportunity for conquest. Fortunately, humanity was not weak. With the intervention of powerful human warriors, the survival army endured. Years of battle turned the survival army into a thorn in the demon's side. Demon gods and demon saints, enraged, sought to destroy Wu Yingsu. But she was cautious, skillfully avoiding disaster time and again. Eventually, the demons dismissed the survival army, likening them to pesky mosquitoes. They only attacked breeding farms, after all. What harm could they truly do? 100 years passed. By then, the survival army had become a fixture of the martial arts world. While weaker demons feared them, demon gods and saints viewed them as insignificant. Some even joked that if the army didn't flee so quickly, a single claw could annihilate them. These jokes persisted until shocking news spread across the martial arts world. The Azure Demon demonic god, a being equivalent to a transcendent immortal, had been ambushed and killed by the survival army. This wasn't a rumor or a misunderstanding. The Azure demonic dragon god, a true demon god, had fallen. More accurately, he had been drowned. Ying Su, leader of the survival army, harbored a deep grudge against the Azure dragon. Using forbidden techniques that drained her own life force, she temporarily gained strength equivalent to a transcendent being and challenged him. The battle was fierce. The survival army attacked relentlessly, their seemingly feeble strikes piling on damage. Qinglong, blinded by arrogance, never considered the possibility of defeat. By the time he realized the danger, it was too late. His body could no longer endure. Sir, I've finally. Ha ha ha. Wu Yingxu's laughter echoed as she bit into Qinglong's flesh, her face and body soaked in his blood. Her smile was filled with a mix of triumph, despair, and madness. Beside her, others from the Shiwen Mountains joined in, gnawing at the fallen demon god. The dead wouldn't return. The divide between life and death was wider than any distance in the world. All that remains were memories, dim fragments that people revisit again and again, cherishing the beauty that had become the past. Yet now, as Wu Yingxu drank the dragon's blood, it transformed into hot tears. The tears glistened, shimmering like crystals. In the interplay of light and shadow, she saw that figure, the one who had meant everything to her. Foolish, kind, and wise in his own way, he was an unparalleled fool. He had once smiled and assured her that he would never truly leave, that he would always watch over her growth in some special way. Sir, can you see this? Look at me now. I've grown stronger. Wu Yingxu forced a smile as she looked up at the blue sky. Her body was drenched in dragon blood, her hair disheveled, the metallic smell of blood heavy in the air. There was nothing delicate or beautiful about her at that moment. Her lips and teeth still bore remnants of dragon flesh. Though she had personally killed the cause of the tragedy at the Shiwen Mountains and avenged the blood debt, her heart was filled with nothing but pain. The vengeance she sought brought her no solace, only tears that refused to stop. She rubbed her eyes over and over with the back of her blood-stained hands, trying to wipe away the tears. She couldn't let her husband see her cry. It would be ugly, unworthy of his memory. Yet no matter how hard she tried, the tears wouldn't stop. The gaping wound in her heart remained, unhealed even by Qinglong's death. Finally, her forced smile gave way to silent sobs, her face expressionless yet filled with grief. It's time to go. A strong wind blew, lifting her black hair into the air. At her feet lay the massive corpse of the green dragon, its blood forming a crimson path beneath her. She began walking forward again. The one who could heal her heart no longer existed, but her path, the road carved by Sushi, still stretched ahead. She walked with determination, choosing to do the things she knew would make him smile and praise her. Sir, the outside world. There are still more monsters. And so many people who go hungry. Her voice was soft, as if speaking only to herself. Stepping through puddles of dragon blood, Wu Yingxu pressed forward, the tip of her spear scratching against the dragon's scales beneath her feet, the sound a harsh reminder of life's constant struggle. The Azure Dragon, a unique being born of heaven and earth, and a demon god, was a treasure trove of power. When the demons finally arrived at the battlefield, they found only a wasteland soaked in dragon blood. The survival army and Azure Dragon's body were gone. Insolent? The dragon cannot be insulted. How dare they? Such audacity deserves death. This is unacceptable. Even if the elders of the human race protect them, we will destroy their very souls. The demons were consumed with rage. Though they were not dragons themselves, they felt the insult deeply. Beneath their fury, however, was an unmistakable fear. In just 100 years, the survival army had grown from nothing to the force that defeated the Azure Dragon. What could they achieve in another 100 years? The thought chilled the demon gods and saints. They resolved to eliminate the survival army at any cost. Even with the human race to contend with, they would crush this rising force. Demon gods and saints began their hunt with renewed ferocity, pursuing the survival army with the determination of bloodhounds. Yet, it was no easy task. Powerful humans in the martial arts world intervened, reducing the pressure on Wu Yingxu and her army. Damn it! Damn it! How dare these humans defy us? Some demon gods directly attacked the survival army, only to be narrowly avoided or, in some cases, nearly defeated by Wu Yingxu herself. The path of survival was treacherous. Wu Yingxu had no divine talent, no special physique. What she had was the perseverance instilled in her by Sushi and an unyielding drive to consume, to survive like a moth drawn to a flame, seeking life in the face of death. Her cultivation fused the principles of fire, persistence, and devouring. Supplemented by Sushi's carefully tailored techniques, she achieved what seemed impossible, growing stronger through every battle. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. Her spear flashed like lightning, piercing the throat of a rock demon. Blood gushed out, splattering her back, but Wu Yingxu didn't flinch. She moved forward, relentless. The survival army followed, efficiently dismantling the demon's body for resources. Gradually, the demons began to realize a terrifying truth. Though they hunted the survival army with all their might, its numbers only seemed to grow, as if it were endless. Even more horrifying was the army's habit of devouring demons. In the past, demons devoured humans. Now, Wu Yingxu's army was consuming anything edible, including monsters, driven by a single purpose, survival. This kind of persistence was beyond the demons' comprehension. Enraged, they launched even more frenzied attacks. Several times, Wu Yingxiu came close to death. The companions who had left the Shiwen Mountains with her gradually fell, one by one, over the years. Ms. Wu, I'm so tired. We're going to be lazy with Sir, haha. Eventually, Wu Yingxiu was left alone, leading a survival army filled with new and unfamiliar faces, continuing the fight. She never stopped. When she faced difficulties, the wind always seemed to guide her, and a star always appeared to light her way. Decades passed. Wu Yingxiu poured everything into merging Sushi's nameless technique with her inner world. Her strength transcended the limits of human immortality. A century later, she stood at the pinnacle of human immortality, capable of suppressing many demon gods on her own. When a demon saint sought to kill her, certain of victory, he was met with a pillar of fire that pierced the heavens. From within that fire, Wu Yingxiu emerged unscathed, having broken through to the realm beyond. Her inner world had evolved, and her momentum shattered the void itself. The snow melts in fleeting years, and time rushes through spring and autumn. No longer do I fear the roaring wind or falling rain. The eternal flame will never die. With those words, Wu Yingxiu raised her hand, condensed the power of heaven and earth into a spear, and drove it through the golden Yao demon saint, ending him in a single strike. The Qi and blood martial arts system revolves around the human body, using Qi and blood as its foundation. The body forging realm forms the base, focusing on refining the physical body to make it extraordinary, surpassing ordinary human limits. In the Xiantian realm, warriors begin to understand and control Gang Qi. They harness Qi, blood, and martial arts elements, mimicking the forces of heaven and earth with their strength. The human immortal realm transforms the Qi and blood of heaven and earth from intangible to tangible. In this realm, the warrior embodies the power of heaven and earth itself. What flows within their body transcends mere Qi and blood, it becomes the very essence of the universe. In the other shore realm, warriors metaphorically cross the river of body and mind, their inner worlds growing stronger with each life cycle. They open multiple interconnected inner worlds, coexisting in harmony, creating vast and boundless power. This immense power highlights the chasm between the other shore realm and the human immortal realm. The difference is not merely numerical but lies in the profound integration of heaven, earth, Tao, Qi, and the essence of the physical body. When the power within a warrior reaches a critical threshold, they transcend physically, leaving the constraints of the world behind. They can cross the chaotic void without relying on external aid. This is true transcendence. But I think I'm different from others, Wu Yingxiu murmured. After slaying the golden Yao demon saint, she stood still, her expression uncertain. She gazed at her hands, noticing the intricate lines on her palms while sensing something unusual about her inner world. Every moment, her inner world signaled insatiable hunger. Within her, the inner world was undergoing an extraordinary transformation, consuming the principles of heaven and earth at an astonishing pace. Even the demonic essence left behind by the fallen golden Yao demon saint was being devoured. It doesn't seem like a bad thing, she said after observing for a while. Breaking through to the other shore realm, she decided not to delve further into these changes. For Wu Yingxiu, the nature of the transformation was secondary to the strength it brought her. There were so many things she had longed to accomplish but couldn't due to a lack of power. Now, with the strength of the other shore realm, those ambitions could finally take shape. With the demonic essence absorbed, she soared into the sky. When she reappeared, she stood within the familiar terrain of the Shiwen Mountains. Stretching out her palm, she summoned a spear of heaven and earth. The weapon shimmered as she took aim. Buzz. A faint hum rose, subtle at first, then growing into a thunderous roar. The spear swept across the Shiwen Mountains like a force of nature, leveling everything in its path. Mountains crumbled, massive rocks tumbled, and countless demons perished in the ensuing disaster, their death cries lost in the chaos. Sir, do you see me now? I can protect you. Wu Yingxiu's voice was soft, filled with longing. She had once wanted nothing more than to protect Sushi, but she had lacked the strength. Now, she had the power, but the person she wanted to protect was gone. There was no greater sorrow than this. She swung her spear silently, the weapon's light as brilliant as the Milky Way, cleaving mountains and annihilating demons. Finally, she extended her hand, wrapping all the humans trapped in the Shiwen Mountains in the protective embrace of heaven and earth's power, carrying them away. This act shocked the martial arts world. Humans, demons, and other races alike were left speechless by Wu Yingxiu's overwhelming display of strength. This kind of power. It doesn't seem like she's newly ascended to the other shore realm, some murmured in disbelief. It's almost as if. Speculation spread. People wondered if Wu Yingxiu was gifted enough to step into transcendence directly. The mere thought was terrifying, silencing even the demons, who no longer dared to mention hunting Wu Yingxiu. But while the demons stayed away from her, she actively sought them out. Decades passed. Wu Yingxiu's power continued to evolve. Her inner worlds expanded to 6, cycling endlessly. The Qi and blood condensed from these worlds could shatter mountains effortlessly. Die. The word was calm, devoid of emotion, spoken as casually as a greeting. One day, she ventured alone into the heart of the demon clan's territory. Armed with her spear of heaven and earth, she swept through like a tempest. Gods fell, saints perished, and demons were eradicated in an instant. You insolent child, a demon roared. In desperation, even the transcendent demons acted. Yet they could only force Wu Yingsu to retreat momentarily. Her deeds sent shockwaves through the martial arts world. People celebrated her as the rising sun of their era, a symbol of hope and strength. She stood alongside the transcendent as one of the strongest, commanding admiration and awe. She will be the brightest star for tens of thousands of years, someone proclaimed. But Wu Yingxu's legend did not stop there. 2 centuries later, she launched her final offensive against the demon clan. Why the final? Because this time, she utterly destroyed them. Over the centuries, her inner worlds had undergone even more mysterious changes, giving rise to countless miracles. Die. The word echoed again, calm and resolute. Within the demon's realm, countless demons gazed at the sky in terror. A brilliant, icy light descended, a spear forged from the boundless power of heaven and earth. It was so immense and radiant that it seemed to stretch endlessly. Even the transcendent demons tried to flee, but their paths were blocked by the spear's overwhelming force. In despair, they, along with the rest of their kind, met their end. After this decisive battle, silence fell upon the martial arts world. There was no need for proclamations or celebrations. Wu Yingxu had become the undisputed strongest, a title that needed no argument. Sir. Wu Yingxu felt no joy in her triumph. Instead, a profound calm enveloped her. Her unmatched strength brought her no fulfillment. Its only purpose, as far as she was concerned, was to ensure that others could live. Under her guidance, the human race in the martial arts world became unified and harmonious. Hunger and strife were eliminated, and every individual lived well. Other races, too, revered her as a deity, hailing her as Emperor Wu. Centuries later, when she saw that the survival army no longer needed her protection, she left behind a guiding principle to maintain balance in the martial arts world. Then, Wu Yingxu departed, venturing into the endless chaos to chase the stars and seek new horizons. The Transcendence Realm was a revered title in the martial arts community, reserved for those who have risen above the constraints of the world. But in the boundless chaos and among countless worlds, the martial world was but a speck of dust, and the notion of transcendence seems laughable. Sir really lied, Wu Yingxu murmured softly. After death, one does not turn into a star twinkling in the night sky. The stars shining above were actually vast worlds, as numerous as grains of sand, emitting their mystical glow to form the beautiful dark star sea. Time has no meaning here. Space was chaotic and without order. Wu Yingxu wandered through formless chaos, witnessing countless worlds. She encountered terrifying beings whose very breath could shatter chaos itself. Praise the Emperor. In one world, the ruler embodied the heavens and was revered as the source of luck by all. Open my divine treasure through the orifices of the body. In another, martial artists had taken a different path, transcending their limits by cultivating the acupoints of their bodies to achieve ultimate supremacy. As Wu Yingxu walked through chaos, she felt the familiar hunger again. The dozens of inner worlds within her trembled, craving the new and unfamiliar principles of heaven and earth she encountered. But she ignored the gnawing hunger. Her gaze was fixed on something farther away, the scent of demons. So, there are demons in chaos after all. Setting her sights, Wu Yingxu summoned her spear. The fiery aura around her ignited, burning fiercely as she moved through boundless space and time. Her goal was clear. She wanted to find a way to bring back those she had lost: Sushi, her parents, and the countless civilians who had perished tragically. It was an impossible dream, but she wanted to try. She refused to stand still on the path Sushi had paved for her. In the meantime, she took it upon herself to clean up some of the chaos. She would eliminate vile beings and monstrous creatures that tainted the worlds with their presence. How dare a mere junior from the human race challenge us? No matter the cost, I will bleed into chaos and uphold the demon imperial city. On the throne of the demon world, I, the Golden Crow, am heaven. If you dare approach again, we will fight to the death. But none of the threats could stop her. Wu Yingxu was relentless. Her fiery figure was like an eternal blaze, igniting chaos and consuming demons at every turn. Her presence was a beacon, announcing her arrival to the heavens and countless worlds. Her actions soon caught the attention of the most powerful demons in chaos: beasts as vast as the starry sky, three-legged golden crows with sun-like wings, and primordial entities born of chaos capable of erasing existence itself. Several times, Wu Yingxu was pushed to the brink of death. But each time, she emerged stronger, reborn through her struggles, and vanquished her enemies with even greater ferocity. She devoured everything. She consumed the Tao and principles of different worlds, absorbed the innate powers of monsters, and unified every cultivation method she encountered into the qi and blood of her inner worlds. Over time, she realized that the qi and blood within her had grown immeasurable, rivaling the vastness of the outer universe. And it continued to expand. Sir, you don't like things being too cluttered, she whispered to herself, deciding to simplify her power. Instead of discarding the heavens and earth within her, she fused and refined them into something greater. One became the whole, and the whole became one. All the Tao and laws she had consumed now flowed as a unified force within her remaining inner worlds. This single world was the origin and the culmination. From it, all phenomena were born, and through its cycles, it reflected the heavens, the universe, and all realms of time and space. Sir, I think I've grown stronger now. In the silent chaos, Wu Yingxu clenched her fist, and all of chaos collapsed under her will. Earth, wind, water, and fire re-emerged, and the laws of the universe crumbled. With a single thought, she drew forth the long river of time. After what felt like an eternity, she saw familiar faces again. She reached into the river, trying to pull them out her parents, the townsfolk of Newtown, the soldiers of the New army. One by one, she saved those filled with regret, bringing them back from the past. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't save him. Her trembling hand touched the surface of the river, sending ripples through time. Over and over, she tried, but her fingers passed through his gentle figure every time, never able to hold him. Perhaps, he's too tired to wake up, she thought, wiping the tears from her eyes. Determined, she continued her endless attempts to see him again. Back in the real world, Sushi stared at the simulator panel, which had finally updated with the results. How are Ying Su and everyone in the surviving army doing? He wondered aloud, anticipation written on his face. The screen displayed the settlement. Simulation complete. Congratulations on unlocking the following achievements: Bright Moon in the World, Warrior of Perseverance, Man of Shining Stars, Demon Terminator. His redemption. Bright moon in the world, in a dark and hopeless world, you were the gentle moonlight, guiding others to safety and survival. Warrior of perseverance, your unyielding determination shattered the boundaries of life and death. Man of shining stars, through your will, the dust of the earth ascended to the skies, shining like stars. Demon Terminator, you became the demon's greatest nightmare, a forbidden name that spells disaster for their kind. Her redemption, time and again, you saved the one who was weak. Without you, she would have been lost. She again. Sushi was filled with questions. The simulator's use of she had always signified an extraordinary, indescribable being. So this time, is it? Ying Su. Shocked and confused, Sushi wondered if he was simply destined to encounter future supreme beings or if it was his presence that gave rise to them in each simulation. For now, he set aside his thoughts and turned his attention to the simulation rewards. Simulation summary: your life was marked by hardship and struggle, your perseverance unparalleled. Though your cultivation never surpassed the human immortal realm, your will became eternal, and the fire of your spirit continues to burn, passed down through generations. The human race remembers your deeds through the ages, believing you to be ever-present, hanging high in the sky, overlooking the world like the moon. No 03 Simulation Final Evaluation, S. Rewards are being generated, beep, beep. The host may choose 4 of the following 5 rewards. They will be distributed immediately upon selection. 1. The pinnacle state in the simulation. 2. All martial arts in the simulation. 3. Martial arts, Vientiane oven. 4. Strengthening, chi and blood soaring. 5. A paper flower that never gets dirty. S-level evaluation. Expected, really. Compared to my previous simulation in the magical world, I haven't made much progress this time. I wonder what criteria the simulation uses to grant an S+ evaluation. Sushi pondered aloud. S+ couldn't possibly require him to reach supreme status. If that were the case, it would be an unattainable goal. Mulling it over, Sushi examined the rewards, carefully reading the simulator's descriptions. Option 1 was straightforward. It would grant him the exact strength he possessed at the end of the simulation full human immortal realm without any negative effects. Option 2, which offered all martial arts from the simulation, seemed lackluster. In the martial arts world, Sushi had relied on very few martial arts techniques. During his early training, martial arts had been useful for boosting his combat power. But by the time he reached the Xiantian realm, especially during his decisive battle with Emperor Daqian, his attacks had transcended traditional martial arts, relying on pure personal power. Well, I'll consider the remaining options. If the others are worthwhile, I'll skip the martial arts option this time. Sushi continued examining the rewards. The Vientiane oven, from option 3, was related to his chi and blood heaven and earth. The simulator's enhancement made it more mystical, allowing him to consume and replicate almost anything. Option 4 was an advanced version of the chi and blood soaring ability. While the basic version was ordinary, the system upgrade had transformed it into a golden quality enhancement. Even for a human immortal like Sushi, this version provided significant benefits. It strengthened the inner world, making it far more stable and robust than others of the same level. Finally, option 5, a paper flower. It was the same paper flower Sushi had once folded for Wu Yingxiu, stained with blood and decayed over time. This is sentimental, he murmured. Smiling, Sushi made his selections, options 1, 3, 4, and 5. The martial arts reward, though not useless, paled in comparison to the others. I've worked hard my entire life, relying solely on my own efforts. The simulator might as well help me now. Ding! Reward selection complete. Distribution in progress. The simulator panel flickered as the chosen rewards were confirmed. The descriptions of the 5 options disappeared, and Sushi's body began to transform. In an instant, he surpassed 3 realms: chi and blood body forging, Xiantian chi, and human immortal. Roaring chi and blood surged from his body, forming a light red halo in his palm. This wasn't the blood of injury or weakness, it was the passionate, fiery blood of a warrior. Is this because of my dual cultivation as a holy domain magister and martial artist? This time, the human immortal integration feels much smoother. The Vientiane oven and the chi and blood soaring enhancements are truly remarkable. If I were to face Emperor Daqian again, I could defeat him effortlessly with martial arts alone. Sushi marveled at the surging chi and blood coursing through his body. It flowed along his meridians, circulated throughout his form, and finally returned to his Danshan's inner world. With immortality, magic, and martial arts combined, His energy, vitality, and spirit had united, elevating him to an extraordinary level of strength. Finally, there's this. In his living room, Sushi opened his palm to reveal a white and brown paper flower resting quietly there. It was the same flower he had once given to Ying Su. Though it had been ruined and stained with blood, it now lay in his hand, perfectly restored. Perhaps I'll have the chance to give it to her again someday, Sushi mused. He thought of Ying Su and her journey. He wasn't overly concerned with her achievements as the strongest. He simply hoped that she, along with the survival army, could live safe and happy lives. Knowing that those who had left the mountain were now thriving brought Sushi a deep sense of joy. For now, he decided to place the paper flower in his collection cabinet. If fate allowed, he would give it to Ying Su again someday. The memory of how much the princess cherished the flower lingered in his mind. Without it, she might have felt sorrowful. It's decided, Sushi nodded, standing up and heading to his bedroom. As he moved, a figure approached him. It was Krisha, the witch. Her long silver-gray hair framed an expressionless face, and she wore a slim-fitting black and white dress. Master, are you? Her voice was calm, her gaze reflecting only sunlight streaming through the windows. For reasons he couldn't explain, Sushi felt a momentary pang of guilt under her watchful eyes. But he quickly dismissed it, knowing he had nothing to hide. Nothing much, just going to my room, Sushi replied. Krisha followed him closely. When he asked why, her response was simple. You seemed tired. The witch's intuition was as sharp as ever. She didn't know about Sushi's simulation, but she could see the fatigue etched on his face. With her usual attentiveness, she had prepared hot tea to refresh him. Thank you, Krisha, Sushi said, gently patting her head. Taking the tea, he blew on it to cool it down before sipping it slowly. Under her quiet gaze, Sushi entered his bedroom, unlocked the glass cabinet, and placed the paper flower inside the third slot. The collection cabinet now held 3 items, a sugar bowl, a magic wand, and the flawless paper flower. Sunlight streamed through the glass, highlighting the flower's delicate beauty, as if it were a real bloom. Looking at it this way, it doesn't feel so empty anymore. The sun streamed gently through the windows, its light as thin and delicate as countless fine threads. It illuminated the large wooden collection cabinet, making its contents clearly visible. Sushi stood in front of it, sweeping his gaze over the sugar jars, magic wands, and the paper flowers arranged neatly inside. A strong sense of time passing filled the air. From the perspective of the real world, Sushi had only been using the Good Life simulator for less than a year. But if his experiences in the simulated worlds were included, the 3 lives he had lived were long and profound, each filled with trials and meaning. The simulator was a remarkable tool. It might not align with the conventional idea of beautiful, but it had undeniably brought strength to Sushi and enriched his life. His collection, too, was growing. Staring at the cabinet, Sushi couldn't help but wonder if one day all its compartments would be filled. The thought amused him. Master, what did you just put in there? Krisha's voice broke through his thoughts. Her tone carried a hint of curiosity. The witch couldn't understand where Sushi had gotten the paper flower or why he placed it in the cabinet. The faint aura surrounding the flower made her uneasy. It's something an old friend entrusted to me for safekeeping, Sushi replied after a moment's thought. With that, he left the room, convinced that the paper flower's presence in the cabinet was temporary and that it would eventually be returned to its rightful owner, the princess. However, Krisha didn't seem to think so, and neither did another figure who entered the room after Sushi left. The witch remained behind, her gaze fixed on the flawless paper flower in the cabinet's third compartment. A soft hum echoed in the air as ripples appeared in time and space. A disembodied figure materialized, dressed in plain attire. Do you recognize it? Krisha's voice was calm, almost detached. She didn't turn to face the newcomer, continuing to stare at the paper flower. No, Sumoli replied, stepping beside Krisha to examine the flower. But I want to ask you something else. By coincidence, the thoughts of these 2 eternal supremes mirrored each other. Does the master really have a second sister? Does brother really have a second disciple? The atmosphere grew tense as both figures fell into silent contemplation. Outside, Sushi walked into the courtyard alone, basking in the autumn sunshine. He settled onto a rocking chair positioned in the semi-shade, letting the warmth of the light soothe him. The injuries from the simulation didn't carry over to the real world, but the exhaustion from overexertion still lingered. Krisha's tea helped a little, but I still need to rest, he murmured, closing his eyes as he listened to the rustling of the dragon blood grass swaying in the cold breeze. The chill in the air hinted at the coming of winter. Soon, the new year would arrive. Sushi found himself looking forward to it. In the simulated worlds, he, Molly, and Krisha had celebrated many New Year's Eves. But this would be their first together in the real world. The thought felt meaningful. The real-world New Year wouldn't bring any dramatic changes, but it carried an intangible sense of reunion and quiet joy, like the slow, sweet flow of honey. But what should I do next? Sushi tilted his head back to gaze at the sky. The autumn sky was high and clean, with white clouds moving silently, dragging time into the distant future. His tired thoughts briefly lifted. In the first simulation, I joined the Extraordinary Control Bureau to gain strength and adapt better to reality. In the second simulation, I reached new heights of power and reunited with my master, Krisha, and Molly. But now, in the real world, even if I stop cultivating entirely and live as an ordinary person, there's nothing that can threaten me. He chuckled softly. The abundance of power had come so quickly, like an unexpected storm that swept everything into his lap before he could even process it. After much thought, he identified 3 possible paths for himself. Continue cultivating to further improve his strength. Help his master resolve issues involving the world's ruins. Live a peaceful and beautiful life with his sister and Krisha. That doesn't sound so bad, Sushi said with a faint smile. A peaceful life had always been his preference. It was this yearning for peace that had driven him to lead the survival army in the martial arts world, seeking even the slimmest chance of survival. But the real world wasn't as harsh. With Li Wanshao, a true immortal, maintaining order, and his sister and Krisha standing by his side, Sushi no longer needed to exhaust himself. Finally, I can rest. As his heavy eyelids drooped, sleep overtook him. A gentle fluctuation spread through the courtyard, shielding Sushi from the cold wind and any disturbances. When Sushi woke, he felt completely refreshed. His energy had returned, and the fatigue from the simulation was gone. Life resumed its peaceful rhythm. The sun shone brightly, the dragon blood grass swayed in the wind, and Krisha stood nearby with her calm demeanor. Meanwhile, his little sister cheerfully begged for sweets. These elements made up Sushi's daily life. But that didn't mean he was idle. He took his sister to visit the extraordinary general administration in the capital, where he met Li Wanshao, who was enjoying a quiet moment with tea. Under the baffled gaze of the old man, Sushi shared the truth about the destruction of the fairy world and Su Moli's deeds. Though Li Wanshao was a true immortal, his reactions were far from composed. He clutched his head, his hair disheveled, and alternated between smacking the table and sighing in disbelief. During this time, Sushi also asked Moli and Krisha for help. Moli, Krisha, can I leave the search for the martial arts world to you? Of course, brother. Yes, master. Though the simulator had revealed that Ying Su had reached the highest level, it hadn't provided enough details to put Sushi's mind at ease. He wanted to ensure her safety and see those vibrant, resilient people from the survival army once again. As fate would have it, just as Sushi made his request, a new connection to the martial arts world appeared on Earth. Could it be the world from the third simulation? Inside the cozy bedroom of his new home in the courtyard, sunlight poured through the windows like golden brush strokes, gently illuminating the room. Sushi sat on a wooden chair, casually scrolling through the news on his phone, specifically updates from the KO fan family platform. As Earth continued to expand, the extraordinary house had evolved beyond just being a trading platform. It now served as a hub for information, including alerts about newly discovered world ruins. Whenever a new ruin emerged, it automatically sent notifications to all extraordinary practitioners. At that moment, Sushi's attention was drawn to the announcement of a newly discovered ruin. The ruin was massive, appearing out of the void and seamlessly merging with a barren mountain range. The martial aura it exuded was so intense that it left countless people in awe. Extraordinary practitioners from the Control Bureau who attempted to approach were swiftly overwhelmed by its oppressive energy, which felt as vast and deep as a prison. As a result, the ruin had been classified as extremely dangerous, and all personnel had been evacuated while experts conducted further investigations. Martial world ruins are already rare, Sushi mused. To have one appear now, could it be connected to the simulated world? He stood up, a mix of curiosity and anticipation filling his heart. If this ruin originated from the martial world of the third simulation, it could provide valuable insights into the current situation. Even if it didn't, resolving the potential threat to prevent harm to the real world was reason enough to investigate. With a determined expression, Sushi concluded, I'll go check it out. He reached out, and a wooden weapon resembling a combination of a staff and a sword materialized in his hand. A gift from Krisha, the supreme crown imbued with the powers of time and space, radiated a bright glow. Sushi tapped the ground lightly with the staff. Ripples of spatial energy spread outward, enveloping him. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared and reappeared on the outskirts of Yunshan City. Let's see, the location of the ruin is. Closing his eyes, Sushi extended his holy domain-level domain and extraordinary spiritual power, rapidly scanning and pinpointing the precise location of the ruin. Swish, swish, swish. A surreal sight unfolded. The clear blue sky stretched endlessly above, yet with every step Sushi took, he traversed vast distances as though walking on air. Clouds parted effortlessly in his wake. This sequence repeated as he corrected and refined his spatial trajectory. When he finally stopped, he found himself standing before an unfamiliar barren mountain. At its base stood a vast and imposing ruin, more majestic than the Tianjian sect battlefield he had once seen. Yet, Sushi felt none of the oppressive energy described by others. What lies within this place? The ruin's pale yellow surface resembled ancient depictions of a round sky and a square earth. A semicircular dome of earthy brown sand encapsulated the area, forming a unique yellow sky. From a quick observation, Sushi estimated the flying sand's intensity alone to be equivalent to attacks above the nascent soul level. No wonder the lower-level extraordinary practitioners felt it was overwhelming, Sushi murmured. It's likely their lack of experience misjudging the power of heaven and earth. With cautious steps, Sushi approached. The domain of his inner world parted the sandstorm as he moved, creating a clear path that led him deeper into the ruins. But just as he stepped inside, something unexpected occurred. The swirling sandstorm, which had shielded the ruin, suddenly collapsed, revealing the structure within. What lay before him was a town ruined, bloodstained, yet hauntingly familiar. At the same time, dark silhouettes emerged from the ruins, forming a bustling crowd. At the forefront of this crowd was a man who looked neither tall nor imposing. On the contrary, he was average in appearance, with a tanned, sun-worn face that bore the marks of a humble farmer. He carried an elderly woman on his back. "Mom, we're almost there," Ms. Wu said. "Brother Su is nearby." The man's voice was filled with excitement. The old woman lightly patted his head, her tone soft but firm. "Aniu, you must always listen to Brother Su. He is like a star king who descended from the heavens to save us." "Don't worry, mother. I'll definitely listen to him," the man replied with a goofy grin. Behind him, the crowd grew larger. They were old and young, men and women, all chattering about Mr. Su and Ms. Wu. Sushi recognized them immediately. These were familiar faces, townspeople from Newtown, starving soldiers from the New army, and the many who had sought survival alongside him. They had been pitiful in life, struggling endlessly for food and safety. Most had never truly lived, their fleeting moments of joy too few to count. But now, regret was no longer etched on their faces. They were alive again. Sushi smiled, his heart swelling with happiness. When the people saw him, their joy was palpable. "Brother Su, Mr. Su," voices called out in excitement, and the man at the forefront ran eagerly toward him, his elderly mother still on his back. "Long time no see, Aniu. Long time no see, Aunt Zhang." Sushi patted Aniu's shoulder, noting the man's flushed cheeks, a mixture of excitement and emotion. "Brother Su, I missed you so much," Aniu said, his voice trembling as tears welled up in his eyes. "It's okay, Aniu. I'm right here," Sushi replied gently, his tone soothing. He began to understand the reason for this miraculous reunion, for the reappearance of these people who had once passed away. There was only one person who could make this happen. "Is it Ying Su?" Sushi asked, his voice firm with certainty. Before he could say more to comfort the crowd, a loud, furious roar erupted from above. "By the dragon god's decree, I, Rigzenk Astaruts Neltarian Akunalakia Kakalagada, shall bring the wrath of the dragon. Kneel and beg for mercy, you scum from another world." The red dragon was furious. It had been peacefully slumbering in its treasure hall, basking in the glow of gold coins and the melodic clinking of gemstones. It was a scene of tranquility and luxury. No dragon whisperers. No god-slaying witches. Just dreams of endless wealth. But then, the Extraordinary Control Bureau had to ruin everything. Claiming that a large-scale world ruin had emerged and was deemed extremely dangerous, they insisted on the assistance of the Red Dragon's holy domain-level power. The interruption left the dragon seething. Its irritation from being forced awake was palpable. Yet, the promise of a reward, a mountain of dazzling jewels, was enough to temper its rage. "For the sake of love and peace, I'll endure anything," declared the Red Dragon, masking its frustration as it set off, motivated by the promise of treasure. Though it longed for jewels, the dragon's irritation hadn't completely faded. Dragons were lethargic creatures, often sleeping for extended periods. Being forcibly woken was infuriating, and the Red Dragon was eager to vent its anger on the world ruin. Dragon charge. The dragon streaked through the sky like a fiery red meteor, leaving behind a blazing trail. As it breathed, a black mist seeped from its nostrils, and during its rapid descent, its piercing dragon eyes locked onto a dense crowd below. The sight of what awaited spurred its malicious intent. "Fear me? Tremble before the mighty Rex Sanchez. The great Rex Sanchez will grant you equal destruction. GGG, GGGG." The dragon cackled wickedly, folding its wings as it dove straight toward the ground. But halfway through, it froze in terror. Dragon Whisperer? Why was he here? The red dragon's descent faltered as a nightmarish figure came into view. A dreadful sense of impending death surged through the dragon, overwhelming its instincts. This wasn't the peaceful finality it had sensed from the god-slaying witch. This was suffocating, oppressive domination. If it dared to harm anyone on the ground, it would die a miserable death. If Sushi were hurt, it would suffer an even more tragic end. Thus, the red dragon made a swift decision. Under Sushi's surprised gaze, the dragon swooped down, landing with a thud. Then, it did the unthinkable. It knelt, kowtowed skillfully, and raised its claws to show submission. Loudly, it declared, "I'm here to donate blood." Sushi's surprise deepened. The dragon's earlier entrance had been arrogant, streaking through the sky like a meteor. Sushi had assumed it was an attack. Now, the same dragon was claiming to be a volunteer blood donor. With a faint smile, Sushi said, "Quite the coincidence, your arrival." As he spoke, the Jianmu swordstaff in his hand emitted a faint glow, hinting at the power of a forbidden curse. The red dragon broke into a cold sweat. It realized that, even without the overwhelming murderous intent, Sushi had been fully prepared to strike. Fearing for its life, the dragon adopted a more subservient demeanor. It rubbed its claws together, signaling its good intentions. "I'm a good dragon. A very good dragon," it insisted. "If you don't want me here, I'll leave immediately." "No, you're just in time," Sushi replied, shaking his head. "I'm planning to transport these people. Since you're here, you can help give them a ride." The number of people emerging from the ruins was staggering. They weren't just the townsfolk of Newtown, who had perished during the early demon tide, but also those who had died later while seeking survival. Although Sushi could use the Supreme Crown's spatial magic to move them in batches, having the Red Dragon assist made the task much easier. "Of course, no problem." The Red Dragon brightened visibly. With the oppressive threat now lifted, it returned to its usual demeanor. As people began boarding its back, However, the dragon grew uneasy. This lizard is so big, it'd take a massive pot to stew it. I think roasting it would be better. No, eating it raw would make us stronger. The simple townsfolk casually discussed culinary ideas, oblivious to the red dragon's rising anxiety. Though the dragon knew these people were weak compared to it, their words left it unnerved, as if they truly had experience eating dragons. I must still be half asleep, the dragon muttered, forcing a nervous smile as it flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Sushi released his domain, gathering the remaining people and transporting them with wind magic. The number of people we're relocating is significant, Sushi remarked to himself. But Yunshan City should be able to accommodate them. At least they won't have to worry about food and shelter. The dragon's flight stirred roaring winds and waves, but protective barriers shielded everyone, allowing them to gaze at the vast sky freely. Wow! The people were amazed, some even dancing with joy, feeling as though they had become heavenly soldiers flying through the clouds. To them, Sushi was their emperor of heaven, and Ms. Wu was a revered heavenly general. Aniu, can you tell me how everyone ended up here? As they flew, Sushi turned to Aniu, who sat beside him. The honest man scratched his head, looking unsure. Brother Su, I'm not very smart, so I might not explain it well, he said. I was asleep, and when I woke up, I found myself in the town. My mother and everyone else were there too. And then, one day, Aniu clumsily recounted his experience, how he inexplicably revived, returned to King Newtown, and was approached by Ying Su, who asked if they wanted to see Sushi. The townsfolk had enthusiastically agreed. Thus, Ying Su had sent them to Earth. Where's Ying Su now? Sushi asked, curious why the princess wasn't with them. Ms. Wu Xiao said. Aniu scratched his head, struggling to recall. She wanted to kill some monsters first before coming to the reunion. Yunshan City was finally within sight. Given the large number of civilians seeking survival, Sushi decided not to lead them directly into the city. Instead, he landed on the outskirts and contacted the Extraordinary Management Bureau of Yunshan City. He requested Director Zhang to dispatch a team of professionals to help resettle the people from the survival army. The survival seekers were no ordinary people. Each possessed some level of qi and blood cultivation, which in the real world marked them as extraordinary individuals, a status many envied. With Sushi's involvement, the Extraordinary Management Bureau acted swiftly. Supplies were transported, stoves were set up on-site, and provisions were prepared. The streets bustled with activity. Steel vehicles gleamed in the sunlight, exuding a futuristic aura. Doctors in crisp white coats moved about with precision, creating an unfamiliar and somewhat intimidating scene for the survival army. Brother Su, what are they doing? Faced with towering steel machines and unfamiliar figures, Aniu and the others felt hesitant. They dared not approach the vehicles of the Extraordinary Management Bureau. The life-seeking army, despite their bravery and resilience in the face of mortal threats, were cautious and wary of things they didn't understand. To them, Sushi was their only safe haven. It's okay, Aniu, Sushi reassured with a warm smile. They're just cooking and preparing a proper meal for you all. His gentle explanation seemed to ease their tension, though many still appeared confused. Having lived their entire lives in the martial world, the survival army was unaccustomed to the sights and technology of Earth. Only their desire to see Sushi had given them the courage to step into this unfamiliar realm. Sushi understood their apprehension. Patience became his guiding principle as he helped these simple people adjust to the new world they had entered. Then, the aroma of food began to waft through the air. Ah, it smells amazing. I can smell it too, so delicious. Guwazi, wipe your mouth. Don't embarrass Brother Su. The cooking staff from the Extraordinary Control Bureau had set up their makeshift kitchen, and the fragrance of steaming rice and sizzling oil spread quickly. Finally, the survival army began to believe that these steel machines weren't man-eating monsters but, in their understanding, oversized cooking pots. The figures in white coats? Clearly top-tier chefs. This peculiar logic helped the survival seekers gradually accept the existence of the Extraordinary Management Bureau. This is a good start, Sushi thought as he watched the gleam of hunger in their eyes. The survival army, long used to surviving on scraps, could now finally eat their fill. For the first time in ages, their smiles weren't tinged with despair but with genuine happiness. After ensuring everyone was settled, Sushi used space magic to return to the courtyard in the city center. The past regrets had been resurrected, and he now had definite news of Ying Su. There was no longer a need to have Krisha and his sister search for the martial world. Sushi wanted to inform them and prevent unnecessary effort. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Yunshan City, the scent of food grew stronger. It smells incredible. I can't wait to eat. Mom, I'll get you the best piece of meat later. As steam rose and food was prepared, the survival army eagerly awaited their meal. However, amidst the warmth and cheer, the red dragon Rex Sanchez was quietly retreating. Step by cautious step, it moved backward, keeping its eyes darting around to ensure no one noticed its departure. Once it deemed itself a safe distance away, the red dragon exhaled in relief. Dragon Whisperer, too terrifying, it muttered, glancing nervously toward Yunshan City. The memory of Sushi lingered heavily in the dragon's mind. Not only was Sushi powerful enough to defeat it, but he was also surrounded by beings of unspeakable strength. Krisha, the witch who had once brought an era of godlessness to the magical world, already left the dragon trembling. Now, another unknown yet even more fearsome entity had appeared. Dragon God, forgive me, Rex Sanchez murmured sorrowfully. The dragon was proud, as were all of its kin. In its youth, Rex Sanchez had been blessed by the golden dragon god, an elder it revered deeply. The dragon had once dreamed of avenging the dragon god's death and restoring the glory of the golden dragon clan. That fiery determination had persisted for years, but reality had crushed those dreams. First came Sushi, then Krissa, and now another mysterious force. The oppressive aura of the unknown strongman had nearly snuffed out the dragon's will to live. It's impossible, utterly impossible to win, the red dragon muttered, despairing as it stared into the sky. Dragon god, I cannot avenge you. Your glory, someone else must bear it. The red dragon sighed heavily. Drawing from human customs, it decided to sever its ties formally. Reaching onto its massive body, Rex Sanchez plucked a small dragon scale with great reluctance. From this day forward, I sever all ties with the dragon god. This scale shall be my proof. Seeking revenge against the witch or Sushi, that was a task for other dragons. As for Rex Sanchez, it only wished to survive and thrive, securing a future for its clan. Strategic retreat? Strategic retreat. Fearing Sushi's return, the red dragon flapped its wings and took off in a panic. In a storm of chaos, it transformed into a fiery streak and fled toward the capital headquarters as fast as it could. Should one feel overly anxious about meeting someone after a long separation? Ying Su thought it unnecessary. Time flows like water, rushing by. It sweeps over us like wind, carrying words that fade into whispers. When reuniting with someone important, the memories blur. It feels as though the wait never happened, as if the hesitation and loneliness never existed. Seeing him again would calm her restless heart. That was enough. But the princess didn't want their reunion to be too casual. It was a rare, precious moment like the moonlight emerging from dark clouds, illuminating still waters and making them shimmer in unison. Sir, it seems the Chinese New Year is approaching, she murmured to herself. Drifting through chaos and traversing the fabric of time and space, Ying Su, now more mature and breathtaking than Su she remembered, twirled her spear with graceful ease. The motion stirred ripples in the boundary sea, causing the heavens to shift and tides to swell. She still remembered that snowy night, the flickering candlelight, and the tenderness in Sushi's touch as he wiped the corner of her mouth. She needed to prepare something special for him. A gift, she decided, breaking through one demon world after another with determination. The Tao and principles of the worlds she conquered condensed in her pale palm, each fragment a piece of the extraordinary gift she envisioned. Long ago, Sushi had given her a paper flower. Now, as someone far stronger, she wished to give him something equally meaningful. But finding the perfect gift was no easy task. It had to surpass the treasures he already possessed, like those two ethereal breaths. The princess had always been competitive. That part of her hadn't changed. In the real world, Yinshan City basked under a clear blue sky. Sushi tilted his head, gazing upward. His sharp mental awareness locked onto the fleeing red dragon, Rex Sanchez, whose panic-stricken departure puzzled him. Did that red dragon misunderstand me? Its frantic retreat left Sushi scratching his head. He had never intended harm. In fact, he valued the red dragon's presence, which was crucial for cultivating dragon blood grass. Sure, his sister or Krisha could solve the problem with ease if needed. But that would feel like cheating, robbing him of the simple joy of nurturing something with his own hands. He sighed. I'll have to clear things up with it someday. The last thing I want is for its dragon blood to lose quality and affect the grass's growth. Sushi dismissed the thought and left his courtyard. After reassuring Emily and Krisha that they no longer needed to search for the martial world, Sushi used space magic again. In one step, he crossed the distance between his courtyard and the outskirts of Yinshan City. His timing was impeccable. The staff from the Extraordinary Management Bureau were completing their work, filling large iron basins with food. Among the offerings were bowls of steaming white rice and tender meat, a dreamlike meal for the survival seekers. Everyone, help yourselves, Sushi encouraged, his smile reassuring them. Though desire burned in their eyes and saliva pooled in their mouths, they hesitated. It wasn't until Sushi nodded that they dared to act. Timid yet bold, they began ladling soup for themselves and their families. A fragrant broth filled with chunks of tender meat steamed invitingly, its warmth seeping into their cold, weary bodies. Mom, eat slowly, Aniu murmured, carefully blowing on the soup before holding the spoon to his mother's lips. Once she'd eaten her fill, Aniu finally turned to his own bowl. He took a small bite of rice, savoring it as though it were a precious treasure. Brother Su, he exclaimed with a grin, this white rice is delicious. Sushi's smile widened. If it's good, eat as much as you like. There's plenty. Aniu nodded enthusiastically and dug in. His joy was infectious. Soon, others followed suit, returning for second helpings and adding generous portions of meat to their bowls. Watching them eat to their heart's content, Sushi's own smile lingered, a soft, contented expression that reflected his inner peace. But before everyone could finish their meals, the weather shifted dramatically. Dark clouds rolled in, lightning crackled, and torrential rain poured from the sky. Sushi waved his staff. With a flick of his wrist, he conjured a wind barrier and a water guardian spell, shielding the people from the storm. Rain lashed against the magical barrier, creating an odd yet mesmerizing sight. The survival seekers marveled at the phenomenon, whispering in awe about Sushi's divine abilities. But Sushi simply chuckled. He reinforced the barrier, crafting an elemental roof to provide further protection. The rest, organizing accommodations for the survival seekers, was a task he left to the professionals. After all, cramming everyone into his courtyard wasn't an option. It's time to head home, he decided, intending to check on Aniu and the others again tomorrow. Just as he was about to cast space magic, a familiar figure caught his eye. Holding an umbrella and standing quietly in the rain, she waited patiently at the edge of his vision. The rain fell steadily, blurring the figures of those outside. Each droplet shattered on the ground, forming an endless rhythm. Rain has a way of stirring memories. It recalls life's unending downpour, from childhood to youth, and from youth into maturity. Brother, he's still as kind as ever. Su Moli held an oil paper umbrella, quietly waiting for her brother's return. The rain fell heavily, forming white streaks that wove a curtain over the world. Her pure eyes reflected the silent scene, broken only by a familiar silhouette approaching. To her, Sushi was not just her brother but her hero, the one who would always stand in front of her, no matter what danger came her way. Growing up, Su Moli's heart brimmed with happiness. He was her one true refuge, her family, and the person who gave her warmth in the coldest winters. Yet she knew her brother's kindness extended beyond her. He would always lend a hand to others, no matter the cost. Jealous? Not really. When Su Moli saw the survival seekers, she thought of her younger self. She empathized with their struggles and secretly used her own abilities to heal their wounds. If I do this, brother will be happy, right? Her smile was fleeting. Deep inside, she carried a dream she dared not speak aloud. She couldn't quite believe it. The same brother who once searched every corner of the market for her favorite candies. The same brother who cared about her future, enrolling her in early education at the sect. The same brother who had once tried to sacrifice his own spiritual roots to save her. Now, he had come back to her. And he didn't blame her for anything. Instead, just like before, he gently stroked her head and spoke in a soothing tone, telling her not to cry. It felt unreal, like a dream she was afraid to wake from. The rain poured harder. Su Moli, still clutching her umbrella, stood lost in thought. The sound of approaching footsteps, coupled with her brother's familiar voice, snapped her back to reality. Moli, what are you doing here? Sushi stepped closer, his hand naturally taking the umbrella from hers. The way he tilted the umbrella slightly to cover her figure, shielding her from the wind and rain, was just as it had always been. Even as an eternal supreme, she could easily deflect the rain herself. Yet, under his care, she felt safe and cherished. She glanced at the umbrella, then at the hand that held it. A radiant smile spread across her face. I just thought, brother might need me, so I came. Her answer was simple, pure, and selfless. She only wanted to help him just as he had always helped her. Sushi chuckled. Well, you came all this way for nothing. It wasn't anything I couldn't handle. But Moli thought otherwise. Walking beside her brother in the rain, sharing this quiet moment, made her feel like her journey wasn't wasted. The two walked slowly on the slippery, rain-soaked path. The heavy rain had turned the ground into a patchwork of muddy puddles. Each step brought the satisfying crackle of water breaking underfoot. Brother, who were those people? On their way back to the courtyard, Su Moli finally asked about the survival seekers. She had an idea of their origins but wanted to hear it directly from him. How should I put this? Sushi hesitated before briefly explaining the events of his third simulation. I see. So, this is what brother experienced in his past life, she murmured thoughtfully. She didn't know about the simulator itself, but she interpreted it as part of her brother's reincarnation. Brother hasn't changed at all, she said softly, her smile warm and reassuring. Not changed in what way? You still care about saving others without ever thinking about yourself, she huffed, her tone playful but laced with concern. That's not good, brother. You should think about yourself more often. Though she had once been saved by him, she didn't want him to bear the burden of everyone's pain. Sushi nodded without argument. With his free hand, he reached over and ruffled her hair gently. She wasn't scolding him. She cared for him deeply. How could he be upset by her concern? As the rain poured, they continued to chat. Their conversation shifted to memories of the past moments they cherished deeply. They reminisced about Black Rock City, where the two siblings once shared a watermelon. Su Moli ate so much her stomach bulged, yet her eyes still lingered on the remaining slices. Eventually, Sushi tapped her forehead, and she obediently looked away. They talked about their days at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Moli would wait for him at the cave entrance during rainstorms, her patient figure a sight that always warmed Sushi's heart. Their memories carried them closer to home. The rain continued, drenching the city in a quiet stillness. Streetlights on both sides of the road flickered to life, casting a kaleidoscope of colors that reflected beautifully in the rain. Moli, wait here for a moment, Sushi suddenly said. He disappeared into a nearby convenience store and returned moments later, holding a few lollipops. Here, he said, placing them into her hands. It was such a simple, ordinary gift. Brother is so silly, Moli muttered, her voice soft but amused. Despite being an eternal supreme, Sushi still treated her like a child. And he still bought her candy. Such a silly brother. Such a lovable brother. Her fingers delicately unwrapped one of the lollipops. She placed it in her mouth, her lips curling into a sweet smile. How is it? Tasty? Sushi asked. Anything from brother is delicious, she replied, looking up at him with a gaze that seemed to pierce through the rain, the umbrella, and even the sky. In truth, she had come to him not just to help but because of an inexplicable sense of urgency. It felt as though something was approaching, something she needed to protect. How annoying. But for her brother, she wouldn't mind being annoyed forever. The sound of rain dripped steadily, blending with the howling wind, much like a girl's restless heart. Yet, an umbrella tilted slightly forward shielded Molly from it all. The unsettled feeling in her chest melted away, replaced by a quiet happiness. Brother, she said softly, tugging on the corner of Sushi's clothes, just as she did when they were children. What is it, Molly? I want to eat something you cooked today. All right, I'll make dinner myself, Sushi replied with a warm smile. The rain continued to fall, the droplets on the oil paper umbrella sliding down in sparkling streams, bringing a touch of light to the grey, rain-soaked world. The siblings walked together at a leisurely pace. With each step, small splashes of water punctuated the silence, the sound growing fainter as they neared the entrance to the courtyard. Sushi looked up at the gloomy sky before closing the umbrella, shaking it lightly to rid it of water, and placing it by the door. Come in quickly, Molly, or you'll catch a cold. I won't catch a cold, brother, she replied, her voice carrying a hint of exasperation. As Sushi stepped inside, she nudged his back lightly, guiding him in like she always used to when they were younger. It's really unnecessary, she muttered softly, though her actions showed she didn't mind at all. She smiled to herself, thinking how simple and wonderful life felt in moments like this. That evening, Sushi prepared a hearty meal. Thanks to the second simulation, his mortal wisdom skill had granted him master-level cooking abilities, giving him confidence in his culinary talents. Molly ate joyfully, her expression one of pure contentment. Even Krisha, though her face remained stoic, betrayed her enjoyment through the subtle movement of her eyebrows. During the meal, however, Krisha's gaze lingered on Sushi and occasionally shifted to Molly, her expression thoughtful and slightly puzzled. It was as though something eluded her understanding. The next day, Sushi visited the survival army again to check on their welfare. The Extraordinary Control Bureau of Yunshan City had finalized a preliminary resettlement plan. To accommodate the survival army, a complex of traditional-style homes would be constructed on the outskirts of the city. The decision wasn't to exclude them from entering the city, but the cultural and environmental differences between the martial world and Earth were stark. The survival army were unable to accept high-rise buildings, which they referred to as iron giants that devour human souls. Thus, this compromise was reached. Brother Su, that house is much bigger than mine. I'll live in a big house from now on. Aniu's excitement was infectious as he waved his arms enthusiastically. His mother, equally overjoyed, counted on her fingers, murmuring about how they could now find Aniu a wife. Watching their happiness, Sushi's gaze softened. It's wonderful, he thought. The haggard and despairing faces he remembered from the third simulation were now filled with hope and light. This was the outcome he had always dreamed of seeing. Time passed, and the resettlement efforts proceeded smoothly. The survival army, who once knew only hardship, now lived in clean homes and enjoyed warm meals. Winter arrived, bringing with it the biting chill of the season, but the despair and numbness that once marked their faces were gone. Instead, their expressions held gratitude and anticipation for the future. Brother Su is such a good person, they often said, their smiles brighter than ever. Sushi not only ensured their survival but also facilitated a partnership between the survival army and the Extraordinary Control Bureau. Through this collaboration, the army received wages far beyond what they could have imagined, allowing them to live stable, dignified lives. Their gratitude toward Sushi was simple and heartfelt, often expressed through small gestures: homemade vegetable dumplings and light soups, prepared with better ingredients than they had ever known. Sushi always smiled, complimenting their efforts with, "It's delicious." By then, the survival army had fully integrated into life in Yunshan City. They no longer needed to fear for their existence. The only lingering regret was that Ying Su still hadn't arrived. Where could she be? In the study room, Sushi leaned back, looking out the window at the snow-covered courtyard. Winter had transformed the city. The once vibrant courtyard was now a quiet, barren space, the branches stripped bare of leaves. Only the patches of dragon blood grass stood resilient against the cold. Sushi opened the wooden window, letting the crisp winter air sweep through the room. Ying Su isn't a child anymore. She must have her reasons, he murmured, inhaling deeply. The cold air cleared his thoughts, cutting through the fog of his recent research. He glanced at his desk, where notes and diagrams on training techniques lay scattered, and reflected on the steady rhythm of his life. Krisha continued her quiet care, ensuring everything he needed was always within reach. Molly, though still devoted to her battles, had recently taken to shadowing him closely, her watchful gaze alert for unseen dangers. Her behavior puzzled Sushi. He chalked it up to his sister's concern and found comfort in how well she and Krisha got along. There had been no conflicts, contrary to a strange dream he once had of the two clashing. Was it just a silly dream, he mused, shaking his head. His eyes landed on the calendar. Time flies. It'll be New Year's soon. Maybe I should go out and buy gifts, he said to himself. He decided it would be a good excuse to step away from cultivation and prepare for the holiday, relieving his mind of the weight of unanswered questions. Susie's current cultivation level was subtle and complex. He practiced cultivation, magic, and martial arts simultaneously, merging their strengths into one. With the eternal teardrops and the blessing of the Supreme Crown, his cultivation speed was astonishingly fast. The state of transforming into a god was already within reach, and the holy domain Magister was on the verge of igniting divine fire. In the realm of immortal cultivation, however, progress was slower. Without exclusive aids, his advancement wasn't as rapid. Yet, the similarities between cultivating immortals and magic allowed for steady growth. Those who cultivate immortality ascend to heaven through tribulations and become immortal, he thought. A magician condenses divinity and ascends to eternity as a god. Martial artists achieve perfection in heaven and earth, attaining immortality. I've mastered all three paths, but I haven't fully broken through any of them yet. He assessed his progress. Immortal cultivation is close to ascension, but the inner world of martial arts isn't fully developed. It seems magic will break through first, driving progress in the other systems. Sushi left the study, feeling the interplay of the three extraordinary systems within him. He marveled at the simulator's power and the fortune of his circumstances. Without the simulator or the support of his sister and the witch, he wouldn't have achieved such strength. What should I buy? He wondered. This is harder than I thought. Sushi planned to prepare New Year's gifts for his sister, the witch, and the princess who hadn't yet arrived. He also wanted to prepare something for Master in the capital and the ever-loyal silly Aniu. It was his first New Year in the real world, and he wanted it to be memorable. The courtyard was quiet and cold, the grass blades swaying gently in the wind. As Sushi passed through the courtyard filled with dragon blood grass, he saw someone else there. The witch, Krisha, was trimming the grass with her usual calm demeanor. Her long grey-silver hair, smooth as a waterfall, shone faintly in the winter light. Are you heading out? Krisha asked in her steady, emotionless voice, as serene as a breeze passing through treetops. Yes, Sushi replied. I'm going out to buy things for the new year. He glanced around the empty courtyard, then looked at the witch, who had been silently caring for the dragon blood grass. Would you like to come with me? Krisha, ever dutiful, had no need to leave the courtyard. Yet, Sushi felt that she needed more than the stillness of the courtyard and the monotony of tending grass. To his surprise, she agreed. All right, she said. The witch's grey-silver hair swayed lightly as the winter wind teased the corners of her coat. She had no interest in the outside world. Her little world consisted only of the courtyard, which was precious to her because of the presence of the Sunday when the sun left. She followed like a shadow. Let's go, Krisha, Sushi said, taking her hand. As they stepped out of the courtyard, the cold wind howled, and the snow-covered streets greeted them with a quiet magnificence. The air was crisp, and gentle snowflakes dusted pedestrians' shoulders, which they brushed off with a casual motion. It's freezing, but the snow is beautiful this year, people remarked, their excitement for the new year apparent in their voices. The laughter of adults and the playful chatter of children brought warmth to the chilly streets. Krisha, is there anything you'd like to buy? Sushi asked as they walked. No, she said softly, her hair fluttering slightly. You can decide. Her wish was simple to follow Sushi's guidance. Her preferences and desires seemed secondary. She only wished to obey his decisions. Then let's head to the supermarket first, he said, gently patting her head. They entered a supermarket bustling with activity. Sushi picked out various foods, snacks, and decorations for the new year, filling a space ring with his purchases. Krisha followed him quietly, her heterochromatic eyes of black, gold, and red fixed on him. She helped whenever needed, her every movement precise and timely. The soft glow of the ocean blue necklace she wore reflected under the supermarket lights. It symbolized not only her devotion but the heart she struggled to express. Krisha, what gift would you like? Sushi finally asked as they finished gathering essentials. In the second simulation, he had given her a wand and a necklace, both of which she seemed to cherish. This time, he wanted her to decide for herself. I like everything you give me, she said, her voice calm and sincere. There was no pretense in her words. To her, anything Sushi gave was precious because it carried his warmth and care. The witch, though expressionless, treasured each gesture as deeply as her silent heart allowed. Enhance your reading experience by removing ads for as low as $1. I like everything you give me. These simple words often make people feel awkward. Sushi understood that Krisha had no ulterior motives. She was pure and sincere. No matter what gift she received from Sushi, she would accept it joyfully, express her love, and thank him sincerely even if it was just a weed picked from the roadside. Krisha would cherish and preserve it, for no other reason than that it came from Sushi. Precisely because of this, Sushi didn't want to be careless. He didn't want to treat her unwavering trust with indifference. Let's keep shopping, Krisha. Yes. Sushi chose to continue walking, hoping to find something worthwhile in the supermarket. The witch followed quietly. The lights overhead were evenly distributed, neither as harsh as the scorching sun nor as cool as the crescent moon. They provided a gentle and silent illumination. The light cast a long shadow as it fell diagonally on Sushi. Krisha followed the shadow, staying close behind Sushi step by step. Her vacant gaze wasn't drawn to the multitude of products but remained fixed on his back. Following the light. Moving with the light. There are so many things here, but none of them catch my interest, Sushi murmured as he slowed down upon reaching the section for new arrivals. His eyes scanned the shelves on either side, quickly passing over the rows of items. He sighed. Molly was the best, Krisha was the best, and Ying Su was also the best. For someone like Sushi, who had transcended the heavens, nothing in this world posed a challenge. Whatever he wanted, he could create with a thought. Whatever he wished to achieve, he could do so with a single word. And yet, he was unsure of what kind of New Year gifts to prepare for the three girls. By comparison, it was much easier to decide on gifts for his master and Aniu. Li Wanchao loved tea, so Sushi thought of buying a batch of tea trees and cultivating them with dragon's blood to produce a unique dragon's blood tea. Aniu loved food, meat, vegetables, rice, so he planned to prepare an ample supply. In that case, I'll handle Aniu's gift first. After some thought, Sushi decided to postpone the gifts for the three girls. For now, he focused on buying an abundance of food at the supermarket. When the new year arrived, he would deliver it all to Aniu's home. With Aniu's insatiable appetite, he would surely be delighted. Imagining the scene, Sushi chuckled as he led Krisha back to the cooked food section and the rice, flour, grain, and oil aisle. The supermarket had become busier than before. The once spacious aisles were now crowded with people. Couples walked sweetly together, families laughed and chatted, and friends moved in close-knit groups. With the new year approaching, many were stocking up on supplies, creating a lively yet congested atmosphere. It was like a dense ball of cotton that couldn't be untangled. Thankfully, neither Sushi nor Krisha were ordinary people. As Sushi led the way, others instinctively made way, creating a clear path forward. This allowed Sushi to quickly gather enough food and even buy extra supplies to distribute to the townsfolk of Newtown. This should be enough, Sushi said after paying. He carefully stored everything in a new spatial ring for future gifting. As for other New Year gifts, Sushi felt it was pointless to continue searching the supermarket. He hadn't seen anything that caught his eye. Still, it's really lively here. Before leaving, Sushi glanced at the bustling crowd with a wistful expression. In previous years, when both his legs had been lame, he had avoided crowded places like this. It had been a long time since he'd experienced such liveliness in the real world. The noise of the crowd, the laughter of children, the aroma of food, the festive New Year atmosphere, and Krisha standing beside him. These overlapping elements brought back memories of his time in Alanson City. Master, what are you thinking about? Krisha asked, her eyes vacant yet perceptive. Sushi smiled at her sharp intuition. It's nothing. I just remembered my past life in Alanson City. Krisha, you've changed a lot compared to back then. Looking at her delicate face, Sushi recalled a harrowing memory: filthy, smelly alleys, a broken body covered in bruises, a scarred girl trembling with fear, holding a knife, and begging for a small piece of bread. The Krisha of that time was so pitiable, so desperate, that Sushi couldn't ignore her. Now, that Krisha was gone. Though her emotions were still subdued, and she struggled to express joy or sorrow, she was far better than the broken girl he had first met. Sushi felt gratified and sincerely wished for her to embrace a brighter future. Don't you like me anymore? Krisha asked, a trace of confusion on her face. No, I still like you very much. Sushi paused before adding, I liked the old Krisha very much, and I still like the Krisha of today. Because Krisha is kind, obedient, and sensible. I don't think anyone could dislike you. The witch placed her hands over her chest, where her heart thumped rapidly. Though she wasn't nervous, she maintained the posture, overwhelmed by the quickened beats of her heart. As long as the master likes me, Krisha responded in a faint, emotionless voice. Sushi smiled, placing his hand on her head and ruffling her silvery gray hair. Krisha was truly adorable, and he couldn't help but want to keep her close. Come on, Krisha, let's go home. Yes, master. Their shopping done, Sushi and Krisha stepped out of the supermarket. The wind and snow howled fiercely, blanketing the world in white. The overwhelming vastness of nature made them feel small and insignificant. Compared to when they'd arrived, the storm had intensified. Frost and snow swirled wildly in the air, and as soon as Sushi stepped outside, snowflakes landed on his hair. Under the sunlight, his black hair, speckled with snow, seemed to have turned white in an instant. The sight unsettled Krisha. Her vacant eyes filled with ripples as the world seemed to shift around her. The storm subsided. The falling snow disappeared. Even the snowflakes on Sushi's hair were gone. I don't like seeing my master with white hair, Krisha whispered. There was a slight tremor in his voice, a sadness born from the past, a reluctance to confront it, a refusal to acknowledge it. After witnessing Krisha's first objection, Sushi saw her express her first dislike in the real world. The cause of her aversion was unusual and difficult for ordinary people to comprehend: gray hair. It's okay, Krisha. It's just some snow, Sushi said gently, his warm and steady hand softly rubbing the top of her head to calm her uneasy heart. His voice was as soft as his touch, carrying a soothing warmth. He understood that the wounds of the soul could only be healed with care, like stitching thin threads together slowly and patiently. In the second simulation, Sushi had died in front of Krisha, leaving a deep psychological scar that lingered even now. That void, though partially filled since their reunion, still haunted her. The earlier reaction was proof of the lingering fear that surfaced when she saw even a hint of that past. Don't worry. I'm here. Always. Sushi ran his hand through her soft, gray-silver hair. With each gentle caress, Krisha's tense expression gradually relaxed, and the emptiness in her gaze returned to the familiar calmness Sushi knew. I'm sorry, master. Krisha lowered her head, her face almost buried in her chest. Her dim eyes reflected guilt, as though she felt she had caused trouble for Sushi. To Sushi, such trouble was trivial, barely worth mentioning. But to Krisha, being a burden or causing even the slightest inconvenience to him was an unforgivable mistake. There's no need to apologize, Krisha. You didn't do anything wrong, Sushi said softly. The wind and snow had stopped, leaving the world quiet except for his reassuring voice. But you've done so well, haven't you? You're always thinking about me and working so hard. His warm and kind words swept away the cold of winter and melted the unease in Krisha's heart. Let's go home. Sushi held Krisha's delicate, trembling hand, wrapping it tenderly in his own as he led her home. Without the influence of Krisha's supreme powers, it didn't take long before snow began to fall again. This time, Krisha was prepared. She created an invisible space barrier above their heads, preventing the snowflakes from touching them. Around them, passers-by muttered in surprise. This snow is strange. Yeah, it stops and starts suddenly, worse than trying to understand a woman's heart. Let's hurry before it gets heavier again. The voices grew urgent as people quickened their pace, rushing toward their destinations. Some even began running through the snow. In contrast, Sushi and Krisha walked slowly and steadily, leaving faint footprints in their wake. Yinshan City in winter is quite interesting, Sushi remarked as he observed the street. Winter gave the city a unique charm. The sky and earth were blanketed in white, and the silver-coated world was lit with scattered sparks of light. Warm streetlights illuminated the cold streets, while the whistle of snowplows echoed through the silence. The bustling crowds added the final touch to the season's liveliness, a noise only people could create. What's wrong, Krisha? Sushi asked, noticing that she had stopped suddenly. They had turned a corner and were still some distance from their courtyard. Following Krisha's gaze, Sushi saw she was looking at a small hat shop on the street. The shop appeared quiet and deserted in the cold winter, with few customers entering. Yet, the hats displayed at the entrance were novel and intriguing. Sushi noticed that the shop had a mix of traditional hats and quirky designs catering to younger generations. Some were bizarre and playful, while others had extraordinary, cool designs. There were even hats modeled after characters from games and anime. Krisha's eyes lingered on the unusual Chuyuni hats, filled with curiosity and confusion, before settling on a triangular hat. A Western fantasy-style witch hat. Sushi recognized it immediately. He quickly realized why it had caught Krisha's attention. As a witch herself, Krisha must have been instinctively drawn to the hat, even though the witches they symbolized were entirely different. Krisha, would you like to try it on? Sushi asked with a smile. Snowflakes swirled chaotically in the wind, creating a noisy backdrop. Krisha hesitated, first nodding, then shaking her head. Master, I don't need it, she said softly. She was simply curious and didn't want to waste time on something unnecessary. Try it. You might like it, Sushi encouraged. Not many things pique your interest, Krisha. He gently took her hand and led her into the shop. Inside, amidst the shopkeeper's enthusiastic introduction, Sushi picked up the triangular witch hat. He inspected it carefully before looking at Krisha. Krisha, would you like to try it? Okay, Krisha replied, her interest evident as her eyes followed the hat wherever Sushi moved. Krisha, lower your head, Sushi said. Krisha obediently lowered her head, her movements sweet and endearing. Sushi gently placed the large witch hat on her head. The hat was oversized compared to an ordinary one. Its triangular design and wide brim gave it a heavier, more dramatic appearance. Yet, it suited Krisha perfectly, complementing her gray silver hair. Master. Krisha's soft voice broke the silence of the snowy world. She stood there in a black and white dress, her delicate face framed by the light black witch hat. Snowflakes danced around her as she looked up, unsure of how she appeared. A faint worry flickered in her eyes. She cared about Sushi's opinion. Krisha, could you turn around? Sushi asked. He thought she looked stunning from the front, but he wanted to see how the hat suited her from other angles. Yes, Master, Krisha nodded. Finding her dress too long to move freely, she lifted it slightly with one hand and held the brim of the hat with the other. In the swirling snow, she spun around gracefully, revealing her full appearance to Sushi. Time crept forward, slow and deliberate, each moment weighed with anticipation. The end-of-year snow fell much slower than before. Alongside the witch, who lifted her skirt delicately as she spun, even time seemed to decelerate in Sushi's eyes. Was the turn graceful? Not really. Krisha's movements were clumsy, stiff, and unnatural. Her expression was solemn, as if she were performing an important ritual. There was nothing elegant about it, yet Sushi found himself smiling. Flawless white snowflakes drifted from the sky, blending into her silvery gray hair. The wide brim of her hat cast a soft shadow over her face, and her bright yet vacant eyes reflected fleeting traces of light. Master. Seeing Sushi smile, Krisha stopped abruptly. She thought she had done something wrong and made him laugh. Am I clumsy? She asked, her empty eyes blinking in confusion, their delicate hues glimmering faintly. Standing amidst the snow, her blank gaze paired with the slightly tilted witch hat created a peculiar charm, a blend of innocence and awkwardness. No, Sushi said, shaking his head. Krisha looks wonderful. He stepped forward and adjusted her hat, carefully straightening the brim. His fingers brushed against her silvery gray hair, marveling at its silky texture. It was a stark contrast to the dry, brittle strands he remembered from when they first met. Krisha stood quietly as Sushi's warm hands passed by her ears, gently brushing her hair and readjusting the oversized hat. The biting cold of winter seemed to fade away, replaced by the warmth of his care. When he finished, she politely said, "Thank you." Her gratitude wasn't only for the gesture of fixing her hat but also for his earlier compliment. It wasn't that the hat was beautiful, it was that she looked beautiful wearing it. The clumsy witch picked up on this nuance, and a faint, indescribable joy welled up in her chest. Her eyes, usually empty, seemed to ripple with emotion. Krisha, does the hat feel uncomfortable to wear? Sushi asked. Krisha shook her head. That's good, he said, stepping back to observe her from a distance. Taking in the full picture, he nodded in satisfaction. It suits you perfectly, Krisha. It gives you a mysterious aura. Krisha looked striking. Her delicate features, graceful demeanor, and the interplay between her long silvery gray hair and the black, triangular witch hat made her appearance captivating. Sushi admired her sincerely before deciding to purchase the hat. The price was modest, just an ordinary sum. Master, is this a New Year's gift for me? Krisha asked as they left the shop. Of course not, Sushi replied, surprised by her question. He smiled and explained that it was just a small, ordinary item and not a proper New Year's gift. In his view, using something bought casually as a meaningful New Year's gift would be irresponsible. The only reason he purchased the witch hat was because it suited her so well and because she had shown an interest in it. I see. Krisha's delicate fingers brushed against the necklace she wore, then moved to the edge of the hat, lightly tracing its brim. To her, these two seemingly unrelated gifts, the necklace and the hat, carried a similar warmth. They were imbued with a meaning that transcended their physical value, a warmth that gently melted the coldness within her. Master, she said softly, let's consider this hat a New Year's gift. To Krisha, the price or practicality of a gift didn't matter. What mattered was the thought and emotion behind it. I love your gift. Her usually plain voice sounded different, like a serene stream with ripples of joy dancing across its surface. Sushi hesitated. He still felt that giving her a simple hat as a New Year's gift was too perfunctory. But seeing Krisha's sincere happiness, he finally nodded. All right, as long as you like it, Krisha. With a light chuckle, Sushi led her down Yanshan City's snowy streets toward their courtyard. Sometimes, life unfolds in unexpected ways. Sushi hadn't anticipated that one of his 3 New Year's gifts would be resolved so coincidentally. Now only Molly and Ying Su are left, he thought. I hope everything else goes this smoothly. They walked on, their steps breaking the stillness of winter. Around them, the city lay blanketed in frost and snow. The winter sun reflected on the icy ground, casting a dreamy glow that sparkled before being trampled underfoot by passersby. Sushi and Krisha turned from the bustling avenue into a quiet alley. The contrast was stark, each step took them from shadow into light. Krisha allowed herself to be led. Her mind wandered back to that distant day in a dark, decaying alley. Back then, a gentle hand had reached out to her, guiding her toward the light, just as Sushi was doing now. Krisha removed her hat, holding it close to her chest with one hand while letting Sushi guide her with the other. The wide brim of the hat blocked her view of the light, so she took it off. Master, she said as the outline of their courtyard came into view. Just before they reached home, Krisha suddenly asked, is the power of love truly infinite? Sushi paused, slightly taken aback by the question. Then, he smiled and replied, I'm not sure, but maybe it is. Why do you ask, Krisha? Nothing. Krisha shook her head, her gaze wandering toward the sky. Perhaps the power of love really was infinite. But, the place for love was limited. In the cold winter, love was the only warmth and salvation. Yet, countless people yearned for it, competing for its glow. Krisha was not greedy or selfish by nature, but she didn't like the thought of others encroaching on her place, blocking her from seeing the light or feeling its warmth. How annoying. Silently, Krisha tightened her grip on Sushi's hand. The shadow born of light no longer wanted to follow passively. This time, it would take the initiative to catch up with the light and walk beside it. Come on, Krisha. We're home. Yes. Time flies quickly, so fast it feels like a mere blink or a fleeting trance. As the new year quietly approached, life remained peaceful and unchanged. Su Moli continued her efforts to conquer the world, the witch tended to the courtyard, and the soft glow of a quietly burning bonfire illuminated their serene, uneventful days. Everything seemed to be progressing smoothly. Occasionally, Sushi felt an inexplicable sense of unease, a sudden premonition with no discernible source. Maybe it's just because I've been practicing too hard, Sushi speculated before brushing off the thought and continuing to prepare New Year gifts. With the selfless help of the red dragon, the dragon blood tea tree was successfully cultivated. Sushi even asked the witch to slightly accelerate time, allowing tea trees that would normally take years to grow to produce lush, light red leaves in mere moments. With that, Sushi completed his gift for teacher Li Wanshao. What remained were gifts for his sister and the princess. While pondering what to give, his sister unexpectedly provided him with an answer. A gift? Brother, I already have one, Su Moli said, clasping her hands together as she exhaled softly. She then placed her warm palms on Sushi's cheeks and smiled. Being able to reunite with you is the best New Year gift I could ever ask for. Sushi smiled at her words and flicked her forehead lightly. Moli, where did you learn to say things like that? Covering her forehead, Su Moli revealed something that surprised Sushi. Long ago, during the first simulation, a female disciple from the Heavenly Sword Sect's Dan Hall had lent her a book titled 108 Strategies to Capture a Man's Heart. Even after so many years, Su Moli still remembered the contents. Sushi fell silent. If he could go back to the first simulation, he would ensure that disciple spent the rest of her life stoking fires as punishment for such a terrible influence on his sister. Despite her protests that she didn't need any gifts, Sushi insisted that the new year should feel like the new year, so he prepared a candy gift bag for her. The gift bag was filled with various sweets, a mix of items from the mortal markets in the immortal world and more flavorful candies from Earth. Finally, Sushi turned his attention to Wu Yingxu's gift. Not knowing when she would visit Earth, he prepared several plans. Unfortunately, even by New Year's Eve, Ying Su had not arrived. It seems I won't be seeing Ying Su today, he murmured. At his courtyard in Yanshan City, Sushi sat by the window of his cozy bedroom, listening to the howling wind and faint chatter of people outside. The arrival of the new year brought changes not just in the seasons or celestial patterns, but also in human hearts. As people bid farewell to the old year and welcomed the new, they allowed themselves a rare moment of rest to gather with loved ones, sharing laughter and warmth. The lively and joyful atmosphere of the new year wasn't annoying, it was comforting. The light-hearted celebrations seemed to wash away the weariness of the past year. Master, your tea, a calm voice interrupted Sushi's thoughts. Thank you, Krisha, Sushi replied, looking at the grey silver-haired witch as she entered the room. She moved steadily, carrying a cup of steaming light brown tea on a saucer. The fragrant aroma of dragon blood tea wafted through the air. Sushi sipped the tea and found it enjoyable, though the process of making it had been somewhat tedious. I hope you like it, Krisha said. After finishing his tea, Sushi placed the cup back on the tray and stood up. The new year had arrived, and it was time to deliver gifts to Aniu and Liwanxiao. Krisha, watch the house while I'm out. I'll be back soon. Of course. Please don't worry, the witch replied. Sushi reached into the void, and with a slight motion, the Jianmu sword staff appeared in his hand. A faint ripple of space surrounded him, and he disappeared, reappearing on the outskirts of Yanshan City, where the surviving army resided. After he left, Krisha remained in the room, her gaze fixed on the third shelf of the cabinet. Her eyes, calm and mirror-like, seemed to reflect the world in silence. I sense her coming, she suddenly said. Another voice echoed her statement. She has the same aura as that flower. Su Moli stepped out from the folds of time and space. She glanced at the paper flowers on the shelf before turning to Krisha. The approaching figure stirred unsettling memories for both the fairy and the witch, memories of both kind-hearted benefactors and unfortunate souls. But now wasn't the time to dwell on the past. Both the fairy and the witch needed to determine the intentions of this visitor and whether she posed a threat to Sushi. The solution was simple, they needed to meet her. Brother Su, Happy New Year. Oh, it's Mr. Su? Huwazi, come greet Mr. Da. Brother Su, over here. Upon arriving at the outskirts of Yanshan City, Sushi was greeted by the familiar simplicity and warmth of the survival army. Some even asked him to name their children, a request he graciously fulfilled. Uncle Atai, Happy New Year. Gauden, Happy New Year. Aniu, Happy New Year. How is Aunt Zhang's health? He greeted everyone warmly, handing out the gifts he had prepared earlier. While most were intended for Aniu, he had also prepared plenty for the rest of the survival army. The gifts brought smiles and joy not because of the items themselves, but because the people felt remembered and cared for by Sushi. After some casual conversation and learning that the survival army was doing well, Sushi politely declined their invitation to stay and used space magic to teleport toward the capital. The distance between Yanshan City and the capital was vast, an arduous journey for ordinary people. Only advanced flying vehicles could traverse it efficiently. For Sushi, however, the ability to teleport through space made it effortless. With the Supreme Crown enhancing his perception of space-time, he quickly arrived at the extraordinary general administration in the capital after a long absence. Before he could act, invisible immortal power enveloped him, drawing him into the depths of the administration's folded space. The water flowed gently, and the bamboo leaves swayed in the wind. The emerald green spiritual bamboo stretched high into the clouds, its layered leaves brushing against each other, casting a dance of mottled light and shadow in the sunlight. This was a realm created by immortals and the residents of Liwanxiao. At a stone table beneath the towering bamboo, the thin old man sat alone. When Sushi entered, Liwanxiao raised his white eyebrows slightly and said, "You're doing well, so why are you here bothering your master?" Sushi smiled and sat across from him. "Of course, I'm here to wish you a happy new year." The old man snorted, his expression filled with disdain. He muttered something about how immortals didn't need to celebrate mortal festivals and how Sushi should focus on cultivation. But his demeanor softened when Sushi brought out his New Year's gift, a batch of specially cultivated dragon blood tea. Though he tried to maintain an air of indifference, the corners of Liwanxiao's mouth twitched into a faint smile. "Master, this is spiritual tea I prepared for you," Sushi said, presenting the gift. "Ahem, well, I suppose I'll accept it," the old man replied, coughing lightly and pretending to be nonchalant. With a flick of his sleeve, he summoned invisible immortal energy that transformed into water and fire, quickly brewing the dragon blood tea. In moments, 2 steaming cups of tea appeared on the stone table. Without unnecessary formalities, they each took a cup and began to drink. Above them, bamboo leaves formed a canopy, blocking out the noise of the outside world and leaving only the pure sound of the wind rustling through the greenery. In this rare moment of peace, Sushi and Liwanxiao chatted. As master and disciple, they exchanged updates about their lives and discussed cultivation insights. Liwanxiao nodded approvingly. "Not bad, not bad. You've inherited the spirit of your master." "Well, I still have a lot to learn compared to you," Sushi replied with a smile, fully aware that his master's cultivation progress largely relied on the elixirs provided by Su Moli. As their conversation shifted, they discussed the changes on Earth, the ongoing expansion of its boundaries, and the increasingly frequent appearance of boundary ruins. "Master, do you plan to remain the director of the Extraordinary Control Bureau?" Sushi asked, pouring himself another cup of tea. Liwanxiao sighed, stroking his beard. No, I'm afraid the original world of immortal cultivation has changed beyond recognition. It may not even exist anymore. Ever since encountering Su Moli in the real world, Li Wanchao had suspected that his cherished homeland had been irreversibly altered, possibly fragmented by his disciple's sister. Though Moli had targeted demonic cultivators and left other beings unharmed, the realization still shook him. The old man then revealed his plan, to rebuild the Heavenly Sword sect on Earth. This world is becoming extraordinary, brimming with the aura of being the ancestor of all heavens and the origin of all worlds, he said with determination. When I rebuild the Heavenly Sword sect, the position of sect leader will be yours. Li Wanchao's eyes shone brightly as he spoke, but Sushi politely declined the offer. I appreciate your kindness, but I'm not suited for such a role. Perhaps some of the Heavenly Sword sect disciples who came to Earth can take up the mantle. Li Wanchao was unimpressed. He puffed out his beard and glared. Foolish? If you become the sect leader and we work together with the government here, the Heavenly Sword sect could achieve new heights of glory. Sushi chuckled, knowing his master's intentions were good. Still, he had no interest in the position or the power that came with it. After all, he thought to himself, I'm perfectly content living as I am. He drank another cup of dragon blood tea and considered visiting the Red Dragon to reward its contributions to cultivating the tea. Perhaps with proper motivation, the Red Dragon could produce even better quality dragon blood. I'll stop by later, Sushi decided. I hope Moli and Krisha aren't too impatient waiting for me at home. Meanwhile, outside the universe, the boundless chaos of creation stretched endlessly. Within it, worlds, planes, and stars drifted, sinking, and rising in cycles of order and disorder. An eternal supreme will govern this chaos, halting time at will, extracting valuable worlds, and either assimilating or destroying them. These unimaginable feats reshaped the cosmos, integrating fragments into the blue earth. Only other eternal supremes could witness this terrifying scene. Suddenly, amidst the harmonious actions of two supremes, a third presence emerged, a new supreme will walking leisurely through the void. This world is not bad big enough, too, the newcomer remarked casually. Oh, and that one over there might interest someone I know. It was a flame, a fire that consumed everything. It symbolized death and rebirth, endlessly cycling between life and destruction. The intensity of this flame was such that it nearly evaporated the river of time, drawing the attention of the other two supremes. Who are you? Came a voice, cutting through the barriers of space and time to reach Wu Yingxu's soul. The princess didn't respond immediately, her eyes narrowing as she studied the two figures before her. Though unfamiliar, their auras felt eerily familiar, as if she had encountered them in traces within Sushi's belongings. I see, Wu Yingxu murmured. Sir must have encountered these two by chance and absorbed their power. She couldn't decipher the exact connection between them and Sushi, but it was evident they were deeply intertwined. This realization filled her with dread. This is the worst-case scenario I feared, she thought. There was no impulsive fighting, no fiery clashes. The Eternal Supremes had long surpassed the realm of immediate reactions, transcending cause and effect, and existing beyond all phenomena. For them, death was no longer an end. The three Supremes exercised restraint, exchanging information calmly. Only then did Wu Yingxu realize the truth: Sushi's sister, a supreme fairy from the realm of immortal cultivation, and the supreme witch from the magical world were not mere coincidences. They were directly connected to the same Sushi she knew. This Sushi has the talent of reincarnation. Death is not his end, the icy fairy explained. The indifferent witch, holding a simple magic wand, nodded. This is fortunate, she said softly, her tone devoid of emotion. Yet, there was a hint of relief. She had witnessed the twilight of despair, and her heart had been torn apart by it. However, thanks to Sushi's simulator ability, the witch had been given a second chance to reunite and begin anew. It's truly fortunate, not death, just a temporary rest, her voice echoed in the chaos, creating ripples in the infinite void. Wu Yingxu stood silent, her emotions conflicted. She hadn't expected Sushi to possess such a remarkable ability. On one hand, she felt joy her memories with him still lived on in his heart. On the other, she felt an inexplicable unease as she looked at the fairy and the witch, their flawless faces exuding an ethereal aura. For some reason, she couldn't bring herself to feel truly happy. She muttered softly, Sir is too fickle. When Su Moli and Krisha asked about her relationship with Sushi, Wu Yingxu hesitated. She looked back at the countless years she had traversed, the worlds left behind in her wake, and after a long pause, gave an enigmatic response. My husband and I share an inseparable bond. We reflect each other, walking side by side. Her words carried layers of meaning, accompanied by a smile so bright that it unsettled both the fairy and the witch. The discomfort showed in their slight frowns as they pondered the depth of her claim. That's enough talk, Wu Yingxu said, her tone shifting. Now, could you kindly step aside? In the chaotic expanse surrounding the universe, shattered fragments of worlds wrapped themselves around the earth, forming a galaxy of brilliance and endless potential. The fairy and the witch, embodiments of supreme power, stood unyielding at the crossroads, blocking all paths leading to earth. You're not letting me through. Wu Yingxu's voice lowered, the oppressive weight of her presence intensifying. The stillness of the void was broken as she tightened her grip on a spear that appeared in her hand. With a light swing, its sharp tip tore through chaotic space, revealing the primordial elements of earth, wind, water, and fire. I've waited long enough, she said, her voice cold. The spear embodied unity and completeness, its power gathering the principles of existence into a singular force. The overwhelming pressure caused the surrounding chaos to falter. Krisha's expression remained calm, but the tightening of her hand on her wand betrayed her emotions. What did it mean to be an obstruction? Was this an attempt to sever the bond between a master and a disciple? Silent and stoic, the witch raised her wand and struck. Her magic unleashed an annihilating force that bent the fabric of reality, challenging the very order of existence. Meanwhile, Su Moli's gaze grew colder, and the blood-stained wooden sword in her hand exuded an aura of dread. You wish to meet my brother. That would certainly please him, Su Moli said, her tone sharp. But what you just said doesn't please me. With a swing of her sword, a dazzling light erupted, tearing the river of time apart. Before the wound could heal, Ying Su's fiery spear shattered it further. The flame embodied life and death, burning everything in its path. You two should come at me together. Ying Su's voice was provocative, teasing their nerves. Even Krisha, normally indifferent, seemed slightly affected. The fairy and the witch bore no hostility toward Ying Su's arrival, but their concern for Sushi's safety kept them wary. To them, allowing a strange supreme to approach him without question was too dangerous. In the chaos, Ying Su's voice grew stronger, pulling their attention. But just as the fairy and the witch prepared for another direct confrontation, Ying Su's true intent revealed itself. A fragment of her consciousness detached and slipped past them, rushing toward Earth. The battle, the strength she displayed, all of it had been a diversion. So that's how it is, Ying Su murmured, a self-satisfied smile playing on her lips. She had experience using separated thoughts. Once, she had dominated an entire martial arts world through this method. Knowing her physical form couldn't enter Earth, she had deliberately drawn the fairy and the witch's focus to create an opportunity. Still, the fight here will continue, Ying Su said, gripping her spear again. Although she meant no harm, the fairy felt provoked. Su Moli's wooden sword gleamed menacingly, its bloody aura even causing the princess a moment of hesitation. If my husband finds out I fought his sister, Ying Su thought, letting out a small laugh, I'll probably get scolded. But that didn't stop her. With renewed determination, she launched forward once more, her laughter ringing out amidst the chaos. Chapter 178. Time flows like water, and the years roll like rivers, surging and washing over the heavens. Every corner of the universe, every dimension, has its own rhythm of time, merging into countless tributaries that flow into a greater, silent current. Together, they form the mother river of time, a chaotic essence that envelopes the diverse heavens. Gods, demons, immortals, even entire worlds, each is but a single drop in this boundless stream. And now, two figures walked upon it, defying the laws of time and space. One wielded a sword, its light so powerful that even restrained, it made the river of time roar and surge, collapsing and obliterating everything in its wake. The other extended a hand, fingers concise and deliberate, exerting gentle pressure. In an instant, the sword light and a segment of the river of time exploded violently. Come on. Su Moli's cold eyes glinted as she unleashed her powers, summoning a chaotic hurricane that roared across multiversal skies and seas. But the fierce waves caused no harm to Ying Su. I think I'm a bit hungry, she remarked casually, stepping forward. Infinite laws and principles radiated from her, forming a glow of energy and blood that illuminated the heavens and seemed to rule eternity. Spear clashed against wooden sword. The way of immortality faced the way of martial arts. The intensity of their battle made the river of time boil. Krisha, observing the fierce duel, tilted her head, her expression blank. She felt that the situation had escalated far beyond her involvement. Instead of continuing to watch, she decided to focus on something else. Master will be home soon. I should prepare New Year's Eve dinner for him. Her delicate face turned serious as she concentrated. While her eternal supreme form remained engaged in the cosmic battle, her thought projection on Earth stepped into the kitchen, preparing ingredients with an air of clumsy determination. The witch didn't know how to occupy the light forever, but she understood one thing clearly: night was falling, and she needed to do something for her master. Xiaohong, are you moved? Don't dare to move. Don't dare to move. No, I misspoke. I'm deeply moved. In the capital city, at the extraordinary general administration, Sushi bid farewell to Li Wanshao before teleporting to the Red Dragon's palace. The Red Dragon appeared startled and uneasy, its dragon eyes filled with panic. Only when Sushi explained he had come to deliver a New Year's gift did the Red Dragon regain its composure. This is for you, Sushi said, handing over an exquisite gift. It was a collection of sparkling, luxurious jewelry crafted from extraordinary materials, perfectly tailored to the Red Dragon's preferences. Thank you for your kindness, the Red Dragon exclaimed, overjoyed. It beat its chest proudly, declaring that providing dragon's blood for tea cultivation was its honor. Satisfied, Sushi reminded the Red Dragon to inform him if it encountered other dragons. Yes, absolutely, I'll let you know right away. The Red Dragon rubbed its claws together, fawning over Sushi as it escorted him out. Once Sushi had left, the Red Dragon eagerly dived into its treasure hoard, reveling in the sea of gems like an excited child. It's so easy to make it happy, Sushi mused with amusement as he observed the dragon's joy through his heightened mental perception. Considering the Red Dragon's significant contribution to cultivating dragon blood tea, Sushi had prepared an abundant amount of jewelry. For a creature that cherished treasure above all, it was an irresistible reward. Everything that needed to be done is done. Time to head home, he thought, glancing one last time at the bustling capital city. The streets were alive with people preparing for New Year's Eve, and extraordinary beings maintained order amidst the celebrations. The liveliness was undeniable, yet it held no significance for Sushi. To him, only the familiar faces and scenes of Yunshan City truly mattered. With a hum of space magic, Sushi gripped the Jianmu sword staff and stepped forward. His body merged seamlessly with the fabric of the world, and in a series of rapid teleports, he returned home. Aniu, hurry up and add more firewood. Uncle, and step back a little. Everyone, let's work together. The outskirts of Yunshan City buzzed with energy as night fell and preparations for the new year reached their peak. The townspeople of Newtown, along with the seekers of the survival army, were building tall stone towers by stacking ordinary stones in specific arrangements. Once the towers were built, they threw in dry firewood and other materials. As flames ignited, the fires burned bright and fierce, casting a warm, reddish-orange glow that illuminated the cold, dark night. These flames weren't celestial starlight but the starlight created by human hands' earthly fire, lifting the darkness with its radiant warmth. That's wonderful, Sushi murmured, standing quietly as he watched the simple, joyful smiles of the people bathed in firelight. A faint smile appeared on his face, his mood naturally lifted by the infectious warmth of their happiness. Ah, it's my brother. Quick, quick, let's bring him in. Soon, the townspeople noticed Sushi's arrival. They rushed to him with warm invitations and offered gifts, food, drink, and handmade fabrics, all reflecting their gratitude. Thank you all, Sushi said, accepting their gifts with a smile. The material abundance of the real world was far superior to what he had known in the simulations. No one here would go hungry or suffer from the cold, and Sushi felt no guilt accepting their heartfelt offerings. More importantly, he understood that receiving their gifts gave them a sense of fulfillment and peace of mind. Thank you again, everyone, he said, watching as the crowd dispersed to continue their celebrations. Sitting among the gifts, surrounded by warmth and light, Sushi gazed at the rising flames and thought of the new year. The fire brought light and warmth, and in its hazy glow, Sushi recalled countless memories: the struggles in Pingshui County, the challenges of leading the survival-seeking army, and the vivid emotions of those he had encountered along the way. Sir, wake up quickly. A voice called softly, pulling Sushi out of his thoughts. There was no emotional reunion, no tears shed. It happened suddenly, peacefully, like waking from a deep sleep on a quiet afternoon. When he opened his eyes, time had not moved. Everything remained as familiar as ever, unchanged by the passing years. This wasn't a reunion after separation, it was merely waking from a dream that had taken longer than usual to end. The girl opened her eyes naturally, and Sushi greeted her with a gentle smile. You're awake, Ying Su. As the world transitioned from the old year to the new, Mr. Su, who had slumbered far too long, finally opened his eyes to see the princess standing before him once again. Wu Yingxiu beamed, her usual liveliness shining through. Despite her maturity, she couldn't help but revert to her youthful self around Sushi. She jumped up, sitting beside him under the dim night sky. Together, they watched the fires illuminating the earth below, a constellation of man-made stars. Sir, you've slept for far too long, she complained playfully, yawning and stretching. Her red and white robes flared dramatically, still as striking as Sushi remembered. My apologies. It's my fault, Sushi replied with a smile, not bothering to argue. He knew he had indeed slept for too long. The army that had fought for survival and the princess who had led it had waited for countless days and nights. But now, the tragedy was over. They were all reunited in a beautiful, real world. After a brief pause, Sushi added, Ying Su, thank you for waking me up. Thank you for everything you've done. His sudden gratitude left Wu Yingxiu momentarily stunned. Her lips parted slightly. It's nothing. I didn't do much. Sushi's words, however, carried deeper meaning. He wasn't just thanking her for calling him back but also for leading the survival army through endless hardship during his slumber. Wu Yingxiu understood this. Inexplicably, her nose tingled, and her eyes stung slightly. Perhaps it was the warmth of the fire on this cold winter night or the realization of finally feeling happiness after enduring so much. She grinned, trying to hide her emotions, and asked about Sushi's life with a light-hearted smile. Me, Sushi said softly. Not much has changed. I've just been practicing, living quietly, and chatting with the people in Newtown now and then. He spoke of trivial everyday matters, but Wu Yingxiu listened intently, her interest unwavering. When she learned Sushi had prepared New Year's gifts for everyone, she chuckled and teased him. Sir, I want a New Year's gift too. You need to make up for it, or I'll be angry, she said, her tone playful and full of mischief. Sushi smiled. What kind of gift would you like? Her teasing demeanor faltered, replaced by surprise. What do you mean by that? Before she could gather her thoughts, Sushi took out a space ring and poured its contents onto the ground. A cascade of gifts spilled out: a bouquet of folded paper flowers, a newly crafted spear, a beautiful set of clothes, and countless other items. There was so much that Wu Yingxiu stood in stunned silence. Sir, is this all for me? Sushi nodded. You weren't here, so I wasn't sure what you'd like. I prepared a variety of things just in case. Under the silent, moonlit sky, Wu Yingxiu stared at the gifts. The sleeping waters of her emotions rippled for the first time in ages. She never imagined that even in her absence, Sushi would prepare so much for her. Sir, you're such a fool, she said with a smile. Only a fool would do something like this. Her hands moved quickly, collecting the gifts as she added, "Of course, I want all of them. Only children make choices. Don't worry, I love everything you've prepared." She stuck out her tongue and made a playful face at him, her mischievous spirit shining through. Then, with a glance at the gifts Sushi had received from the townspeople, she reached out and pulled a roasted chicken drumstick from the pile. She began eating with small, deliberate bites, far more elegantly than before. "Eat slowly, there's plenty," Sushi said, watching her with a smile. Noticing grease at the corner of her mouth, he wrapped his hand in elemental energy and gently wiped it away. The deep night cast shadows over the earth, but the blazing fire towers lit up the townspeople's faces in warm orange-red hues. Wu Yingxu's face, too, was faintly flushed by the firelight. "Yingxu, tell me what happened while I was asleep," Sushi asked once she had finished her meal, his curiosity evident. He had inquired with the survival army, but they knew little beyond the fact that Wu Yingxu had resurrected them. "I've heard about Moli cutting down demon cultivators and Krisha defeating gods. Their paths were anything but easy. What about you, Yingxu?" Wu Yingxu smiled at his question. "When Sir calls me, I have to answer," she said simply. Without hesitation, she began recounting her journey after leaving Shiwendao Mountain. She spoke of leading the survival army out of the demon clan's territory, forging alliances with the human race in the martial arts world, and enduring centuries of relentless training. She described slaying the green dragon, feasting on its flesh, and drinking its blood. The more Wu Yingxu spoke, the more Sushi's expression shifted from curiosity to astonishment. He had expected her journey to be extraordinary, but the sheer scale of her exploits was overwhelming. After defeating the green dragon, her path took on a surreal quality. She consumed inner worlds, absorbed the principles of heaven and earth, and seemed to embody the very template of a legendary protagonist. Is this even reasonable? Sushi wondered aloud, questioning the logic of her rapid progress. Hearing that Wu Yingxu had annihilated the demon forces with a single strike, Sushi couldn't help but compare it to the arduous path he had carved through the 100,000 mountains. "Yingxu, your progress is truly incredible," he admitted. Though her strength now far surpassed his, Sushi felt genuine joy for her achievements. But beneath his pride, a lingering thought surfaced, an unshakable sense that the world seemed unfairly stacked against him. The princess's story continued as she happily shared more details with Sushi. "Sir, I did it. I've fed more people. I've given winter coats to those in need. I've ensured that everyone who struggled to survive can now live together. And from now on, there won't be any monsters preying on humans." The serene night sky, glittering with starlight, seemed to mirror her joy. In the flowing silence, Wu Yingxu's voice resonated powerfully. She stood up, placing her fists on her hips, her bright smile full of pride. She looked at Sushi and asked playfully, as though seeking recognition, "Sir, aren't I amazing?" Her life's accomplishments and triumphs were built on the corpses of countless monsters. There was no denying that her deeds had reached the pinnacle, recognized across all heavens and worlds. But even someone as accomplished as Wu Yingxu yearned for approval. She wanted the man who had once smiled so warmly and sacrificed so much to see and acknowledge her efforts. "Sir, I've lived up to your expectations," she declared proudly. Yes, that was it. She wanted to tell Mr. Fool that the dreams he once thought impossible had been made a reality. He no longer needed to toil endlessly or carry the weight of the world alone. As the evening breeze tousled her hair, Sushi looked into her expectant eyes, which sparkled like stars. "Yes, you're truly remarkable," Sushi said, smiling. His words were simple, yet they carried heartfelt sincerity. "You're the most powerful heroine in the world." Wu Yingxu's lips curled into a beautiful smile, and her robes fluttered in the wind like a flag of triumph. "Of course. After all, it's me," she laughed before sitting down at Sushi's insistence. "So, Yingxu, did you manage to resurrect everyone?" Sushi asked. "Almost. I brought back everyone in the survival army and a few close acquaintances," she replied. As their conversation continued, Sushi learned more about her journey. After the third simulation, Wu Yingxu had dedicated herself to eradicating demons, not just in the martial world but across all realms. Once she reached the supreme level, she even reversed the flow of time to bring back those lost to tragic fates. Among them were King Dingyuan, who had died in an early accident, and the princess who had been forced to take her own life by poison. With her unparalleled power, Wu Yingxu had almost erased all regrets except for one. No matter how much she tried, she couldn't wake Sushi from his slumber. It wasn't until recently, when she sensed his aura, that she crossed the chaos and the vast dimensions to find him. "Yingxu, were you absolutely sure it was me?" Sushi asked curiously. "Of course," she replied without hesitation. "No doubt at all. None. There's no other fool like you," she said with a teasing smile, her eyes softening. How could she mistake him? The man who once dreamed of creating a peaceful world for her. The man who stayed up late folding paper flowers just to make her smile. The man too selfless, always thinking of others while neglecting himself. A man like this could only be the biggest fool in the world. There could never be another. Determined to protect this foolish yet extraordinary man, the most powerful heroine resolved to stay by his side. "Sir, as long as I'm here, no one will ever hurt you again," she said softly, her voice filled with quiet conviction. "Yingxu, you don't plan to return?" Sushi asked. "No, I'm staying," she answered. She explained that she had left a fragment of her consciousness in the martial world to live alongside her resurrected parents. Whether she was on Earth or in the martial world, her presence remained in both places. So this is where I want to be for now, she said. Sushi thought for a moment and nodded. Her request was simple, and he saw no reason to refuse. By the way, sir, Ying Su said suddenly, would you come back to the martial world with me? My father wants to thank you in person. Let's not, Sushi replied hesitantly. The martial world from the third simulation was far from Earth, and Sushi had no desire to travel such a distance. Besides, he could already imagine the awkward misunderstandings that might arise from meeting her parents. After weighing his options, Sushi politely declined. Okay, Ying Su sighed, a tinge of regret in her tone. As the night deepened, the stars brightened against the dark canvas of the sky, forming intricate patterns like a masterful painting. Ying Su, come back with me, Sushi said, rising to his feet. It's New Year's Eve. Stay and have dinner with us. I also have something to give you. And, he added with a smile, I'd like to introduce you to two people. They're strong, like you, and I think you'll have a lot in common. Sushi envisioned the meeting. As supreme beings of their respective realms, Ying Su, Su Moli, and Kryza would surely find plenty of topics to discuss. He sincerely hoped the three would get along, not just for harmony's sake but to prevent Earth from becoming a casualty of their immense power. All right, sir. I'll listen to you, Ying Su said, her lips curving into a smile as she agreed. With a wave of his hand, Sushi stored the scattered items into a space ring. After bidding farewell to the people, he led Ying Su back to Yinshan City. The courtyard was serene, with its pool frozen over and the desolate flower bed showing only a few blades of red dragon blood grass swaying in the wind. As Sushi glanced at the sky, he noticed something peculiar. The stars seemed to flicker, appearing, disappearing, and reappearing in an endless cycle. Ever since Earth started its upgrades, the world feels more and more unfamiliar, Sushi murmured, brushing off the phenomenon as a natural celestial change. Opening the courtyard door, he saw a figure waiting for him. It was Su Moli. The world seemed to hold its breath. The air was so still that even the sound of a heartbeat could echo endlessly. Though it was the most festive time of the year, the usual lively noises of wind, snow, and cheerful chatter were muffled, blocked by the overwhelming presence of three supreme powers. In this silence, a cold stillness seeped into the soul, sending shivers through the quiet. Hello, I'm Su Moli. Hello, I am Ying Su. Under Sushi's watchful gaze, the two girls exchanged introductions and shook hands. Their outward politeness masked the undercurrents of tension. Ying Su's smile was bright and cheerful, while Su Moli's had an edge of frost to it. Brother, would you mind going inside first? Su Moli asked sweetly. Miss Ying Su and I have so much to talk about. We hit it off instantly. Hit it off? Sushi hesitated. Something about his sister's tone didn't feel right. It's fine, sir, Ying Su said, her voice as calm as ever. I'm also curious about your sister's strength. Neither of them mentioned the earlier chaos, maintaining a facade of friendliness as they assured Sushi they simply wanted to spar for fun. Sushi looked at his sister, then at the princess. Seeing no trace of hostility between them, he reluctantly nodded. All right, go ahead. But don't take too long. With that, the two girls vanished into thin air, leaving only the softly falling snow to settle over the courtyard, blanketing it in silver. Sushi stood still for a moment, staring at the empty space. They hit it off? Moli's tone doesn't sound like it, he muttered. But they're not kids. They'll know where to draw the line. Sighing, Sushi turned and walked toward the kitchen to prepare the New Year's Eve dinner. As he entered, he noticed a figure already busy inside. The warm, golden light illuminated the long gray-silver hair of Krisha. The soft glow gave her a delicate, almost ethereal appearance as she worked amidst the kitchen's utensils and ingredients. Master. Krisha turned at the sound of his footsteps. She stopped what she was doing, her empty yet beautiful eyes reflecting his figure. Krisha, what are you doing? Sushi asked as he stepped closer. On the counter were several prepared dishes, their fragrant aroma wafting through the room. I'm preparing New Year's Eve dinner for the tutor, Krisha replied softly, her small spatula still in hand. She turned back to the stove, resuming her careful movements. The smoke curled upwards as she stirred with precision, repeating each motion without deviation. The scene brought a smile to Sushi's face as he remembered the witch's earlier days. Her poor cooking skills and countless kitchen explosions during the second simulation seemed like distant memories now. You've improved a lot, he said, taking the spatula gently from her hand. But let me handle this, Krisha. You've done enough. Go take a break. Reluctantly, Krisha stepped back. She crossed her hands over her lower abdomen and stood quietly, her gaze fixed on Sushi's back as he took over the cooking. The sound of sizzling oil and the rhythmic stir of ingredients filled the kitchen. Krisha stood still, unmoving, her gaze never leaving the figure in front of her. Master, let me wipe this for you. Master, the chili is here. Master, please have a drink of water. Despite Sushi taking over, Krisha found ways to keep herself busy, offering assistance in her delicate yet slightly clumsy manner. She didn't like idleness. She always wanted to do something for her mentor. Eventually, Sushi asked her to sit and rest. Obediently, she moved to the dining chair, but her tricolored eyes gold, black, and red continued to follow his every move. Krisha, you can do something else for now. I'll call you when the food is ready. Yes, she replied softly, her agreement almost automatic. Yet she remained seated, watching Sushi work. For Krisha, everything she did revolved around him, and staying idle felt unnatural. Master, please let me help, she finally said. I want to do something for you. After her repeated requests, Sushi relented and allowed her to assist by handing over seasonings and ingredients. Yes, I understand, Krisha said, listening carefully to his instructions. With her help, the New Year's Eve dinner was soon completed. Boiled, fried, stewed, and stir-fried dishes filled the kitchen, their vibrant colors and rich aromas a testament to their perfection. Krisha waved her hand, and the finished dishes floated onto the dining table, sparing them the effort of carrying each one. The table was wide and filled with food. The heat rising from the dishes blurred the cold winter air, creating a warm and comforting atmosphere. The scene reminded Krisha of the first New Year she had spent with Sushi. Back then, he had taken over the kitchen, preparing a feast much like this one. But Krisha knew this warmth was fleeting. In the real world, she wasn't the only one who longed for the sun's light. Her fingers brushed lightly against each other as unease crept into her heart. She didn't want to monopolize anything, but the thought of sharing the light made her restless. I don't want this. I don't want to lose it. Silently, she resolved to hold on to that warmth just a little longer. Steamed red fish, charcoal grilled clams, freshly mixed shredded Ganoderma lucidum, golden lotus seed soup, crispy fried nectar mushrooms, and stir-fried Lewin bird meat. A feast spread across the dining table like a masterpiece of culinary art. The vibrant colors of each dish intertwined, filling the large wooden table with warmth and anticipation. More dishes appeared, one after another, until the entire surface was brimming with food. For their small family, this seemed excessive. Yet, as Sushi stood there, gazing at the array of steaming dishes and the delicate mist rising from them, he felt it was just right. The house often felt empty and lonely, but on this New Year's Eve, a lively atmosphere was exactly what it needed. Money didn't matter. For Sushi, the cost of this meal was insignificant, and for the girls in the highest realm, it was even less so. Is this enough? Sushi briefly considered cooking more but decided against it. The table was full, any more would only go to waste. With a click, Sushi turned on every light in the house. Every corner, whether in use or not, glowed with bright, warm illumination, transforming the courtyard into a beacon of light for the new year. Krisha, thank you for your help. As he looked at the witch, who had been quietly following him, her youthful 17-year-old appearance remained as serene as ever. Krisha shook her head slightly and handed him a cup of hot tea with her usual calm precision. You don't need to thank me, she said softly. The clumsy witch never minded being used, as long as it was for someone from the Su family. Master, please drink some tea. Krisha's voice was steady as she offered the steaming cup. Thanks, Krisha, Sushi replied, blowing gently on the tea's surface, watching ripples dance in the cup. In the cold of winter, the warmth of hot tea was a perfect comfort. Sushi sipped slowly, savoring the tranquility it brought. He noticed that Krisha's brewing skills had improved significantly, and most importantly, she no longer used bitter Qingshen grass. He chuckled at the thought of Krisha drinking the bitter tea without a hint of reaction. From another perspective, it could be considered one of her unique charms. With the tea finished, Sushi placed the cup back on the tray Krisha held. The New Year's Eve dinner was ready. Before the meal, Sushi decided to add some festive decorations. From his space ring, he took out New Year stickers and small decorations, simple, inexpensive items bought from the supermarket. Master, let me help. Krisha's soft voice carried a note of determination. Her gray silver hair swayed gently as she moved closer, the necklace on her fair neck catching the light with each motion. All right, let's do it together, Sushi agreed with a smile. The two started in the kitchen, hanging a new calendar on the sliding door and pasting bright red blessings on the bedroom doors. Krisha could have done it all with a thought, but some things felt more meaningful when done by hand. Under the glowing lights, their shadows stretched long and soft, blending harmoniously yet distinctly. Krisha moved clumsily, savoring the rare time spent alone with Sushi. She wished, with all her heart, that this moment could last forever. Just her and Sushi. But reality had its own plans. As Sushi and Krisha were adding the final touches, Su Moli and Wu Yingsu returned. Their appearances were flawless, showing no signs of the fierce sparring that had taken place. They paused upon seeing Sushi and Krisha decorating. A moment later, Su Moli stepped forward, taking the decorations from Sushi's hands. Brother, let me handle this, she said with a smile. You've been busy all day, and I want to do something for you. Caught off guard, Sushi hesitated but eventually handed over the decorations. Then Wu Yingsu chimed in, offering her help as well. Sir, let me assist too. Consider it my thanks for letting me join you for New Year's Eve dinner. Before Sushi could object, Wu Yingsu had already reached out for the remaining decorations. Left with nothing to do, Sushi had no choice but to retreat to the living room. Krisha, however, stood still, her expression unchanged. She watched as the two girls busily took over, her calm gaze betraying no emotions. The room grew eerily quiet as Sushi settled onto the sofa. The faint sound of wind and snow outside added to the stillness, creating an unusual tranquility. It was a subtle kind of quiet, one that carried warmth and the essence of home. Sushi looked down at his hands, tracing the lines on his palms before summoning the simulator panel only he could see. His thoughts wandered. The simulations were always full of regrets, filled with challenges and pain, he mused. But they've shaped my life, bringing me to this moment. He smiled, acknowledging the strange twists of fate. Even if it felt like a dream, it was a wonderful dream. Brother, what are you thinking about? Sushi looked up to find Su Moli standing in front of him, having finished the decorations. Moli, pinch my hand, Sushi said suddenly. She hesitated, thinking the request strange. But after confirming he was serious, she gently pinched the back of his hand, her touch delicate and fleeting. Brother, is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Feeling the tangible sensation, Sushi laughed quietly to himself. It wasn't a dream. It was real, and it was perfect. Brother, are you really okay? Su Moli's eyes were filled with concern, studying Sushi's expression carefully. She felt he was acting a little unusual. Don't worry, I'm fine, Sushi reassured her with a gentle smile, reaching out to lightly ruffle her hair. The world often feels filled with hardship, making moments of happiness seem surreal. But now, Sushi was certain this warmth, this beauty, was real. Her soft, silky hair slipped through his fingers, the smoothness almost mesmerizing. Speaking of which, Moli, Sushi said, his tone casual yet curious, there's nothing serious between you and Ying Su, right? The girl hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering briefly, but she composed herself and replied calmly, it's fine. Really? That's good. Sushi smiled, but he could sense something was amiss. There had clearly been some tension between his sister and the princess earlier, evident from Su Moli's immediate suggestion of a sparring match. Yet, seeing them return in good condition and interacting normally, he felt relieved. Did you meet in chaos? That seemed plausible. Chaos might be vast and incomprehensible to mortals, but for omnipotent beings like his sister and the princess, it was no more than a garden to traverse casually. It's fascinating how fate works, Sushi mused, marveling at the coincidence. He felt fortunate that there wasn't any deep-seated animosity between the two. If there had been, it would have been a significant headache for him. Come on, Moli, he said, smiling. It's time to start tonight's New Year's Eve dinner. Everyone, please take a seat, Sushi said as the crackling of firecrackers echoed outside. He gestured for the three girls to join him at the dining table. The feast before them was a masterpiece. The tender meats and fresh vegetables exuded tantalizing aromas. The soups were rich and soothing, every dish a testament to Sushi's cooking prowess. Brother, your cooking just keeps getting better, Su Moli said with admiration. Even with her experience of heavenly delicacies in the fairy world, nothing compared to the warmth of her brother's meals. I agree, Krisha said quietly, nodding in rare agreement with Su Moli. Is it really that good? Wu Yingsu asked skeptically. In the third simulation, meals had been basic and rough monster meat cooked without seasoning or care. She'd never had the chance to witness Sushi's cooking skills then. This is amazing. As she took a bite of the tender meat, her eyes widened in surprise. Sir, you're incredible, Wu Yingsu exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine astonishment. If it's good, eat more, Sushi said with a soft smile, accepting her praise graciously. The light above cast a warm glow, blending with the rising steam from the dishes, creating a cozy, dreamlike atmosphere. Outside, the snow and wind raged against the windows, but the cold seemed powerless to penetrate the warmth of the courtyard. Master, please eat more, Krisha said suddenly. She had just retracted her wand after subtly silencing the planet's errant consciousness, ensuring the meal remained uninterrupted. Standing up, she carefully placed portions of food into Sushi's bowl with steady hands. The witch, once clumsy with chopsticks, had become remarkably adept. Her movements were precise, as though every action carried profound significance. Thank you, Krisha. The gentle clink of chopsticks against the porcelain bowl filled the room as Sushi tasted the food she served, savoring each bite. But soon, the atmosphere shifted. Every time Sushi finished the food in his bowl, another portion appeared first from the witch, then his sister, and finally the princess. It was as if an unspoken competition had begun, each of them trying to outdo the other in their care for Sushi. Caught in an endless cycle, Sushi finally raised his hands in polite refusal. Everyone, please eat too. Don't just focus on me. Reluctantly, the girls complied. With that, the New Year's Eve dinner returned to a more natural pace. The tension eased, and the meal became a harmonious blend of flavors and conversation. Half an hour later, the feast concluded. Though much of the food remained untouched, the witch quickly took care of the mess with a wave of her hand. The table was left spotless, with the bowls and plates neatly arranged as if the meal had never taken place. Master, leave the clean-up to me, Krisha said softly. As always, she took the initiative to handle everything, finding quiet satisfaction in her role. For the witch, these small tasks were not burdens, they were her purpose. Despite Sushi's repeated attempts to dissuade her, this was one thing she refused to let go. Thank you, Krisha. Sushi had other matters to attend to. He planned to return the paper flower stored in his collection cabinet to Wu Yingsu, as it had originally belonged to her. But just as he stood to leave, he paused. I almost forgot. He reached into his space ring, retrieving two bright red envelopes. Moli, Krisha, these are for you, he said, handing them over. The girls looked at him, puzzled. This is your New Year's money, Sushi explained with a smile. Though they were both far past the age for receiving such gifts, and worldly money held no meaning for supreme beings, Sushi still insisted. It wasn't about the money, it was his wish for their safety and happiness. Thank you. Krisha accepted the red envelope that Sushi handed her, cradling it solemnly in her arms as though it were a priceless treasure. Thank you, brother. Su Moli, on the other hand, giggled mischievously, accepting the red envelope with the same childlike delight she had shown when they were younger. Afterward, Sushi led Wu Yingxiu out of the kitchen. Pop, pop. Fireworks crackled and exploded outside, painting the night sky with brilliant colors. Their reflections danced on the glass windows along the corridor, blooming into fleeting shapes of light and shadow like petals unfolding or ripples spreading on water. Sir, didn't you prepare one for me? As they walked toward Sushi's bedroom, Wu Yingxiu turned to him with a playful glint in her eye. The fireworks' colorful glow mirrored in her gaze, adding a shimmering sparkle to her expression. You want one? Sushi asked, raising an eyebrow. I thought you wouldn't care for such things. He chuckled softly as he placed a hand on the bedroom door handle, turning it gently to let the door swing open. Outside, fireworks continued to light up the night sky. Sparks scattered and faded as they descended into the shadows, each one leaving behind a fleeting trail of brilliance. The essence of New Year's money was to wish for safety and peace for the recipient. When it came to Wu Yingxiu, however, Sushi hesitated. Unlike his sister and the witch, both of whom had depended on his protection during their most vulnerable moments, Wu Yingxiu had always been strong. From the very beginning, she had been a warrior, resilient and unyielding. Even when she faltered, she would stand back up, pressing forward with indomitable will. Sushi's role in her life had been more of a guide than a protector. Yingxiu, if you really want one, I'll prepare it now, Sushi offered. No need, sir. Wu Yingxiu clasped her hands behind her back, a radiant smile gracing her lips. I'm not a child anymore. It's just New Year's money, it doesn't matter. For a brief moment, Sushi thought he detected a slight edge in her tone when she said the word child. The house was quiet, the silence punctuated only by the muffled sounds of distant fireworks. All right, if you say so. Sushi tugged his coat tighter around himself against the winter chill as he stepped into the bedroom, gesturing for Wu Yingxiu to follow. The room was modest in size, furnished sparsely but immaculately. Soft, warm lighting bathed the space, casting a serene glow on the tall wooden storage cabinet that dominated one corner of the room. Its intricate grain patterns seemed to hold countless stories within them. Upon entering, anyone's gaze would inevitably be drawn to the cabinet. Its shelves were filled with an eclectic assortment of items, jars brimming with candy, a scorched wand, and a delicate paper flower, among other treasures. This is your room, sir? It feels eerily similar to the one in the martial arts world, Wu Yingxiu remarked, her curiosity evident as she scanned the surroundings. Under her watchful eyes, Sushi approached the collection cabinet. He unlocked it with a small key and carefully retrieved the paper flower from the third shelf. The flower, though made of ordinary paper, seemed almost alive. Its intricate folds and flawless form gave it an ethereal beauty. Yingxiu, I want you to have this, Sushi said, holding the paper flower out to her. This flower came into my possession by chance, but I've kept it ever since. I remember how much you liked it back then. Now that you're back, it feels right to return it to you. Wu Yingxiu's eyes softened as she reached out to take the flower. Her fingertips brushed its delicate petals, setting it into a gentle spin. I missed this so much, she murmured, her voice tinged with nostalgia. Once the spinning flower settled, she returned it to Sushi with a serene smile. Sir, let this flower stay here, in your cabinet, she said softly. You're not going to take it? Sushi asked, puzzled. No. Wu Yingxiu shook her head, her smile unwavering. This flower is better off here, where you can see it. That way, you'll always remember me. Her words were calm, yet her gaze flickered toward the other items in the cabinet, the candy jar, the wand, symbols of others who had left their marks on Sushi's life. For Wu Yingxiu, leaving the flower behind wasn't a concession. It was a declaration. All right, Sushi agreed, though he couldn't shake the feeling that this decision carried deeper implications. He carefully placed the flower back in its original spot, its petals catching the light as it settled. As he closed and locked the cabinet, Wu Yingxiu broke the silence with an unexpected question. Sir, does the arrangement in this cabinet ever change? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, Sushi replied casually. The princess's smile widened, a glint of understanding in her eyes. I see. Thank you, sir. Sushi raised an eyebrow, sensing a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. The air seemed colder, and he had an uneasy feeling that the so-called cabinet wars were far from over. But for now, everything was in its place. His tasks for the evening were complete, and the New Year's Eve had been a success, perhaps not perfect, but fulfilling in its own way. Taking a deep breath, Sushi turned his attention back to Wu Yingxiu. Yingxiu, do you have any plans for your time on Earth? The princess tilted her head in thought. Well, I suppose I'll stay nearby to protect the survival army. And, of course, to keep you safe, sir. Her voice carried a hint of mischief as she added, oh, and I might drop by your house now and then to spar with those two. She made her intentions sound innocent enough, but Sushi suspected there was more to it. At last, Wu Yingxiu made her final request. Sir, your home seems quite spacious. Could you save a room for me? I'd like to visit from time to time. The princess's voice was soft but earnest, carrying a tone of genuine request. Sushi pondered for a moment before finally nodding in agreement. The courtyard was spacious, with more than enough rooms available. In fact, even if 2 or 3 more people joined, it wouldn't pose any issue at all. Besides, Wu Yingxiu's request was simple, she merely wanted a place to stay occasionally. All right, Yingxiu, you can pick any of the remaining empty rooms. Sir, you're the best. Her cheerful response brought a smile to Sushi's face. Wu Yingxu's happiness seemed as radiant as the rising sun, brimming with warmth and vitality. The night had grown colder, yet the festive atmosphere of New Year's Eve dispelled any chill in the air. Outside, the noise of celebrations continued unabated, burying the wintry desolation beneath a lively buzz. Let's head back, Sushi said after glancing at the clock. The hands moved steadily, marking the approach of midnight. It was almost 0:00, the pivotal moment when the old year ended, and the new year began. Just as Sushi took his first step, he was stopped by Wu Yingxu's sudden interruption. Wait, sir. Turning around, Sushi saw her jog to catch up, gently grabbing his wrist. Sir has always taken care of me, she began softly, her voice tinged with emotion. From the past until now, you've never changed. Her clear eyes curved slightly, carrying a mix of sadness and joy. Her hands, delicate and warm, carefully wrapped something around Sushi's wrist. He looked down to see a thin cord, woven in hues of red and yellow. The colors resembled the deep crimson of blood and the earthy gold of the soil. Slowly and meticulously, Wu Yingxiu tied the thin rope into place, her fingers moving with deliberate care. I've owed you so much without realizing it, she continued. Like the rent I never paid while staying in Newtown, or the 2 bottles of elixirs that helped me step into the Xiantian realm, and the techniques you created for me, and today, the New Year gift you prepared. Her voice softened as she finished tying the cord. This won't do, sir. You've always given so much, and I've given nothing in return. So, I wanted to give you something this time. Taking a step back, Wu Yingxiu smiled, gesturing toward the cord now adorning Sushi's wrist. It shimmered faintly, as if starlight were woven into its fibers. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the special item, Dust Starlight. Dust Starlight. From the ground, dust rises to become stars, shining eternally on those it touches. Item effects. Qi and blood cultivation effectiveness increased tenfold. Martial arts cultivation and power increased tenfold. Inner heaven and earth evolution speed increased tenfold. Martial arts enlightenment refreshed daily, bypassing qualifications and bottlenecks. Energy and vitality fully replenished every 24 hours. 90% reduction in damage from worldly attacks, complete immunity to demonic attacks. Persistent improvement in all pursuits, as long as a clear goal is maintained. Requirements for use. The kindest fool in the world who remembers 1,335 stars. Sushi stared at the cord in disbelief, instinctively turning his wrist to inspect it. The texture was both coarse and smooth, like the sensation of sand slipping through his fingers, yet with the coolness of flowing water. Under closer observation, the cord sparkled faintly, its brilliance reminiscent of countless stars. It's beautiful, and incredibly powerful, Sushi murmured. Then, as his eyes scanned the requirements for use, realization dawned. 1,335 stars. Memories surfaced of a time when Wu Yingxiu had clung to his back, loudly counting stars as they traversed the borderlands with the survival army. He hadn't expected her to remember such a distant moment. Sir, do you like it? Wu Yingxiu's face lit up with satisfaction, her posture relaxed as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She stretched, her movements languid yet graceful, and smiled brightly. This is my New Year's gift to you. Sir, you're not allowed to dislike it. Her wide-eyed expression carried a subtle warning, as though she'd burst into tears or cause a fuss if he dared to refuse. Sushi laughed softly. I like it very much. Thank you, Yingxiu. Her smile widened, and the cord around Sushi's wrist gleamed brighter, exuding an energy both profound and eternal. The effects of dust starlight were immediately apparent. Within moments, Sushi felt his internal world expanding rapidly, its growth far outpacing anything he'd experienced before. So, this is the power of dust starlight. It even boosts my immortal cultivation. The enhancements went beyond mere numbers. Each effect multiplied upon itself, creating an overwhelming synergy that rendered him nearly invincible. This is truly the epitome of soft rice, Sushi thought, both amused and awed. As he marveled at his newfound strength, Wu Yingxiu stood by, her smile serene yet triumphant. Sir, I'm glad you like it, she said softly. The princess's gift wasn't just a token of gratitude. It was a declaration, a reminder of the journey they'd shared and the bond they would continue to uphold. And so, under the shimmering light of fireworks, Sushi felt the weight of responsibility and the warmth of camaraderie intertwine. For in this fleeting moment, surrounded by laughter and light, the world felt truly at peace. Eternal teardrops. The supreme crown. Dust starlight. Sushi lowered his gaze to the 3 items on his person, and a peculiar question surfaced in his mind. If he were to use the sword staff crafted from Jianmu, unleash swordsmanship techniques alongside forbidden magic spells, and bolster it with the combined power of Qi, blood, heaven, and earth, how much damage would this deal to a green dragon transformed into a deity by heretical practices? In his imagination, it might seem like an ordinary strike. But when the blow actually lands on the green dragon, how many times over would the damage multiply? Sushi pondered for a while, but the figures were so immense that the concept of multiplying by 10 echoed endlessly in his ears. Probably, it would hurt a lot, he muttered, exhaling lightly. Fortunately, Rex Sanchez was a red dragon, not a green one. Otherwise, he might genuinely fear accidentally striking the dragon's head clean off, resulting in the permanent loss of a vital source of dragon blood. 3 major disciplines: cultivation, magic, and martial arts. practicing all three simultaneously, maintaining 3 balanced meals a day, and giving my all. I suppose I truly deserve to be invincible, he muttered to himself. As he stretched and clenched the fingers of his right hand, mana coursed through his muscles and veins, spiritual energy enveloped his sea of consciousness, and chi, blood, and the essence of heaven and earth rotated harmoniously in his dantian. These 3 extraordinary systems, though not yet perfected, could still be integrated through the simulator. Combined with the 3 supreme items he possessed, Sushi felt his current strength was overwhelmingly terrifying. To go further, he would need to either ascend to become an immortal or a god or evolve his chi and blood to their utmost peak to reach the other shore of power. Sir, what are you thinking about? Nothing important. Let's go. The night deepened as orange-red fireworks illuminated the sky, blooming alongside the stars. It was the perfect time to share heartfelt wishes with loved ones. Sushi chose not to spend this precious New Year's Eve further analyzing his strength. Instead, he decided to celebrate with those closest to him. Master, brother. As he stepped out of his bedroom into the living room, Krisha and Su Moli were already waiting for him. The living room was spacious and bright, with a transparent glass door that opened into the courtyard and flower garden outside. From there, the courtyard's beauty was on full display, and by looking up slightly, one could admire the sky brimming with fireworks vivid, mesmerizing, and gracefully scattered. Sushi settled into a chair prepared by the witch, facing the courtyard sky, and admired the vibrant night with the girls. The atmosphere was serene, broken only by the occasional crackling of fireworks in the distance. Brother, I'm tired, Su Moli said, her demeanor childlike as she leaned against him. Exhausted from watching fireworks, she rested her little head on his shoulder. Master, have some tea, the witch said, ever diligent even on New Year's Eve. She handed Sushi a cup of tea, the warm steam mingling with the winter chill and reflecting her composed yet vibrant gaze. Thank you, Sushi replied, taking a sip. The tea's warmth spread through him, soothing his senses and refreshing his spirit. Sir, look. That one was set off by the people of Newtown, the princess exclaimed, tugging at his sleeve and pointing eagerly to the sky. A massive bowl-shaped firework exploded in the distance, its light cyan hue both radiant and eye-catching. These grand fireworks had been specially crafted by the martial arts community after they had integrated into the world. Sushi couldn't help but smile. Yes, I see it, he said, his gaze fixed on the ethereal display that added brilliance to the darkness. The New Year's bell soon began to toll, its melodious chimes resonating through Yinshan City, marking the arrival of a brand new year. The sound of bells cut through the quiet night, bidding farewell to the old year and welcoming a fresh tomorrow. All across Yinshan City, cheers of Happy New Year rang out as people expressed their joy with unrestrained enthusiasm. Happy New Year, Moli, Sushi said softly, placing a warm hand on her shoulder and stroking her head affectionately. He then turned to Krisha and Ying Su. Happy New Year, Krisha. Happy New Year, Ying Su. This new year was far more lively than Sushi's memories of the past. He recalled a time when he had spent the occasion alone, sitting in a wheelchair by the window of an old house, watching the distant night like a fading sunset awaiting the inevitable darkness. Back then, his surroundings were suffocatingly silent, filled with a sense of despair and stillness. But now, the bonds forged through his 3 simulations brought warmth and noise to his life. He smiled, savoring the change. Happy New Year, brother. Su Moli laughed, leaning into him and hugging him tightly to express her wishes. The witch and the princess also joined in, sharing their New Year greetings. As the festivities came to a close, Wu Yingxiu stood and announced her intention to visit the outskirts of Yinshan City. She hadn't spoken with the survival army since arriving on Earth, and she wished to greet them during the new year. With a flash, she disappeared, her swift and vigorous movements showcasing her warrior's prowess. Still as elusive as ever, Sushi chuckled, standing up and noticing it was already midnight. Everyone, go to bed early, he said, bidding good night to Emily and Krisha. He returned to his room, ready to rest, but a sudden knock on the door interrupted him. Molly, what's wrong? He asked, surprised to see her there. Brother, did you forget? I haven't given you your gift yet, she said with a smile. In the first simulation, Molly had been frail and reliant on Sushi's care. But now, as someone above even the immortal emperor, she had the ability to give back to her family. Wait here, brother. I'll be back soon, she said, gently wrapping the eternal tear around his wrist. Ding. Special item correction, eternal tears. Item effect correction completed. Details, the protective fairy light refreshes daily, nullifying all attacks below the immortal emperor level and withstanding 50 full strength strikes at that level. The life Deo machine refreshes daily to heal all injuries, including Deo, calamity, and spiritual wounds. Spiritual roots are enhanced daily, transforming into perfect heavenly quality roots that can advance to immortal spiritual roots. Sushi was dumbfounded. Is this, for real? He wondered. Does soft rice come with updates? Brother, do you like it? Molly's beautiful face glowed with anticipation as she eagerly awaited Sushi's response. Yes, I like it very much, Sushi said gently, reaching out to pinch his sister's cheek. This gift is incredibly helpful. Thank you, Molly. His words were sincere, devoid of superficial flattery. This time, the update to Eternal Tears that Molly brought was extraordinary. Among all its enhancements, the transformation of the 5 elements spiritual roots was the most beneficial to Sushi. Previously, Sushi's wood-based heavenly spiritual root was powerful but limited in scope. Now, it had evolved into a 5 elements heavenly spiritual root, accelerating his cultivation speed by several times. Of the 3 extraordinary systems he practiced, cultivation, magic, and martial arts, his progress in the path of immortality had been the slowest. But with this new enhancement, there was hope that he could surpass his previous limitations. At the very least, it wouldn't be as sluggish as before. As long as you're happy, brother. Your happiness means everything to me, Molly said softly. Her brother's joy was her joy. Seeing his gentle gratitude, she smiled brightly, stepping away with a cheerful bounce in her step. Good night, brother, she said playfully, her eyes reflecting Sushi's face. Under his watchful gaze, her figure gradually faded until she disappeared into the air. Perhaps she went back to her room to rest, or perhaps she ventured into the chaotic void to sever worldly ties. Good night, Molly, Sushi murmured, wondering whether he should talk to his sister about taking proper rest. Her obsession with her grand mission of cutting off worldly entanglements concerned him. I hope she listens, he sighed. Quietly, Sushi closed the door. With a soft click, the lights in the bedroom turned off, and the warm glow was replaced by the stillness of darkness. Sushi lay down, pulling up the quilt and preparing to drift into sleep. But before he could settle, a knock came at the door, polite, rhythmic, and deliberate. Master, are you awake? The witch's voice was calm and clear, like a gentle river lapping against the shores of the night. Krisha, Sushi asked, already guessing her reason for visiting. He got out of bed and opened the door. As expected, the grey-silver-haired witch stood there, hands folded and her expression as calm as ever. Teacher, she began quietly. I came to give you a New Year's gift. The night outside was vast and silent, devouring all sound except for the soft whispers of the witch and the wind's faint howl. Krisha, are you referring to the crown? Sushi asked thoughtfully. The witch tilted her head, her empty gaze showing a flicker of confusion. A few stray strands of her silvery hair fell over her unusual colored eyes. The aquamarine glow from the necklace on her chest shimmered faintly. She hadn't expected Sushi to guess her intention. Teacher, may I? Krisha asked hesitantly, her slender fingers brushing against the necklace adorned with countless crowns. A gentle light radiated from it. Ding dong. Special item, Supreme Crown corrected. Item effect correction completed. Details, eternal lifespan synchronization refreshes daily, granting the wearer immortality and immunity to all diseases and curses. These effects cannot be dispelled or taken away. Time and space perception is enhanced daily, bestowing the wearer with talents that increase continuously and cannot be diminished. Twilight of the Gods refreshes daily, allowing the user to nullify any divine power and force gods into mortality. Sushi stared in awe at the updated description. The perception of time and space isn't just fixed, it grows stronger every day, and it's permanent, he muttered, incredulous. Even though he had prepared himself for this after the update to Eternal Tears, he still found himself dumbfounded. Krisha blinked, her voice hesitant. Master, don't you like it? She had no idea how powerful her gift had become, and she worried that Sushi might dislike it. I love it, Sushi reassured her, shaking his head with a smile. Krisha, this gift is incredibly useful to me. Thank you for always thinking of me. Her aquamarine necklace reflected a soft glow, mirroring her quiet happiness. Very well, she murmured, her youthful face serene as always. For a fleeting moment, her lips seemed to curve into a faint smile, but Sushi wasn't sure. It felt like an illusion, his consciousness and spiritual senses couldn't confirm it. Sorry for disturbing your rest, Krisha said, retreating with a polite nod. Her gaze lingered briefly on the Eternal Tears before she turned to leave. May you be well, she whispered softly, her words like the lightest breeze. Krisha disappeared down the dark corridor, the faint sound of a door closing marking her return to her room. Now alone, Sushi no longer felt as sleepy. He glanced down at his equipment, Eternal Tears on his left wrist, Dust Starlight on his right, and the Supreme Crown around his neck. These 3 supreme items, gifts from 3 extraordinary women, empowered him in ways beyond imagination. Have I gone too far? He wondered aloud, hesitating. What had once been mere tools for numerical enhancement had now grown into mechanisms of unparalleled power. Across all planes and timelines, Sushi felt like he could stride unchallenged. Soft rice flow is truly terrifying, he mused, both amazed and overwhelmed. The new year had arrived. The melting snow was winter's last struggle, clinging desperately before giving way to spring. As the saying goes, the new year ushers in a fresh start, and on the first day, people usually greet the future with renewed spirits and optimism. However, when Sushi woke up, he felt mentally drained and physically stiff. There was a dull weight pressing on his chest, as if he had been pinned by a heavy object for some time. A faint warmth lingered on his forehead, reminiscent of a gentle touch. Was that Molly? Sushi wondered. He thought about it briefly. His sister's behavior had always been like this, thoughtful and caring in her unique way. Sushi had long grown accustomed to it and didn't find it annoying. Still, I need to have a word with her. If this continues, I'll feel strange every time I wake up, he murmured, shaking his head as he got out of bed. As he stretched, fragments of a strange dream from the previous night came back to him. It had been an abstract, chaotic, and nonsensical vision filled with alternating flashes of red and white light. The colors were so intense that they lost their meaning. Sometimes, the white light would dominate everything, and at other times, the red light would consume all. Tiny, textured stars flickered amidst the chaos, swept along by the swirling interplay of red and white. What a bizarre dream, Sushi muttered, moving to the window and sitting down. The rays of the rising sun filtered through the glass, soft and warm, casting a gentle glow on his face. Sushi sat silently, meditating with a slight frown. The last time he had such a strange dream was during autumn, and it had been about his sister clashing with the witch. This time, the dream was even more abstract, reduced to mere lights. I have no idea what it means, he concluded, giving up on trying to decipher it. People have countless dreams in their lives, and analyzing each one would be exhausting. After washing up, Sushi opened the door and headed to the kitchen. Krisha was already waiting in the corner of the corridor, standing tall in a long skirt. The shadows partially obscured her upper body, and her expression was calm as ever. Good morning, master, she greeted without hesitation. Good morning, Krisha, Sushi replied, walking past her and greeting others in the house. His sister, who had returned from her travels, and the princess, who had come back from the suburbs, were also present. While eating the breakfast prepared by the witch, Sushi gently admonished Molly, asking her not to sneak into his room at night again. Molly looked both embarrassed and confused, while Wu Yingsu's expression was one of amusement, as though she had discovered something intriguing. Krisha, as usual, remained composed. Master, would you like another egg? She asked, blinking at the empty plate before him. No, you should sit down and eat too, Sushi said, gesturing for her to join them. Faintly, he heard a sound from his room, items shifting. The noise was crisp and precise. And so, the first day of the new year began with a delicate breakfast, accompanied by the subtle rustling of his collection cabinet, promising a brighter tomorrow. When Sushi returned to his room after breakfast, he noticed the arrangement in his cabinet, a magic wand, paper flowers, and a sugar bowl. The sight amused him, but out of consideration for the sugar bowl, he held back his laughter. Time flowed like fine sand, slipping quietly through the days and leaving its marks unnoticed. Wu Yingsu's presence added an active energy to the courtyard. She frequently moved between the yard and the outskirts of Yunqian City. When she was particularly restless, she would visit bustling markets across various regions. When she grew tired, the princess would return, looking exhausted, and pester Sushi to cook something delicious for her. Occasionally, Molly would be annoyed by the princess's antics and challenge her to a duel, but more often, she focused on severing worldly ties and staying by Sushi's side. Krisha, however, was different. She was neither restless nor vocal. Quietly, she tended to the lush dragon blood grass and ensured the courtyard was in order. From draining the red dragon's blood to welcoming gifts from the people of Newtown, she managed everything with precision. She even created a cultivation environment rich in elemental energy for the Su family. Her efforts were reassuring and satisfying. Krisha had never let Sushi down. In the blink of an eye, summer arrived. The sun danced with green leaves, and the heat mingled with the rustling breeze. Mottled light and shadows played across the courtyard, capturing the vitality of summer. Through hard work and the support of his supreme treasures, Sushi emerged from months of intense training. His eyes sparkled, a sign of profound spiritual power. The limit of the sanctuary, he mused, stepping onto the sunlit floor. I've finally succeeded. By the end of the second simulation, Sushi had inherited the realm of the holy domain Magister. However, the chasm between the sacred realm and godhood was vast and nearly insurmountable. Fortunately, his situation was unique. The holy domain he inherited was already at the mortal pinnacle. With Krisha's updated soft rice and the system's newfound ease in comprehending laws, his progress had been extraordinary. The combination of these factors, along with serendipitous adventures, allowed Sushi to glimpse the dawn of godhood in less than a year. I'm close, he thought. Just one last threshold to ignite the divine fire. As long as I'm willing, I can step over it and begin the ascension ceremony. The summer sun burned bright, and cicadas chirped noisily in the background. Walking through corridors of light and shadow, Sushi made his way to the courtyard. His face showed both caution and contemplation. The Supreme Crown grants me the ability to ascend without restrictions, ensuring a 100% success rate, he thought. But it's better to proceed carefully to avoid any mistakes. Before the ascension ceremony, I'll rest, gather my energy, and light the divine fire with full focus. A smile crossed Sushi's face. Excitement and anticipation bubbled within him. Becoming a god or an immortal was a dream for countless extraordinary beings, and Sushi was on the verge of achieving it. For this reason, he had postponed his next simulation. Rather than chase unknown results, he wanted to ascend first, complete his training, and achieve harmony of spirit, energy, and soul. I've walked on thin ice my whole life, he thought with a sigh. This path hasn't been easy. He wandered to a shady corner of the courtyard. The deck chairs swayed in the breeze, and the green vines overhead provided shade, creating a cool oasis in the summer heat. Sushi lay down on a recliner, closing his eyes to enjoy the comfort. The rustling treetops and soft breeze filled the air with serenity. As he relaxed, faint voices drifted in from outside. Passers-by discussed extraordinary topics with fervor. Immortals are the strongest. No, it's magic. The noble master understands this. Stop it. Martial arts are the strongest. Enhance your reading exp. The earth was evolving. It was expanding. World ruins from various dimensions kept appearing, disintegrating, and merging with the earth's core, causing its area to grow rapidly. This phenomenon was all thanks to the three girls around Sushi. Through cultivation, magic, and martial arts, they had conquered different large worlds and integrated them into the earth, allowing their true forms to enter this realm. Of course, as these world ruins fused with the earth, they brought extraordinary legacies related to immortality, magic, and martial arts. What was once a balanced distribution of extraordinary beings quickly shifted. Cultivators, magicians, and martial artists dominated as these systems gained mature resources and advanced materials from the world market. A new debate had emerged. Among these three popular extraordinary systems, which one reigned supreme? The older, seasoned transcendents merely chuckled at such discussions. True power, they said, depended not on the system but on the individual. But the younger transcendents? They argued endlessly. Do you even understand the value of a one-punch man? I'll obliterate all your crispy defenses with one punch. Outside the courtyard, under the blazing sun, young warriors practiced their chi and blood martial arts. One of them shouted at a group of traveling cultivators and magicians, muscles are the only true invincibility. His companions, however, were unimpressed. How could a mere warrior comprehend the secrets of sword-wielding and flight? With just one spell, a master can kill you from afar. The debates grew louder, blending into the long, hot summer day. Even the simple act of breathing seemed more labored in the oppressive heat. For Sushi, listening to these youthful voices brought a certain liveliness to the air, a breath of vitality called youth. It's good to be young. Unlike me, who already has everything, he said with a light tut. As the distant chatter faded into the breeze, silence enveloped the courtyard. Sushi stretched his hand out of the recliner, catching the sunlight in his palm and feeling its heat. It's so quiet, he murmured. In contrast to the summer's heat, everything around him seemed still. Even the noisiest birds had retreated from the scorching sun. Master. The silence shattered like a broken mirror. Krisha approached slowly, each of her steps creating a faint echo on the ground, piercing the summer stillness. Master, would you like something to eat? Krisha stopped in front of him, holding a plate of freshly baked cookies in both hands. The golden cookies were still warm, their aroma carrying the comforting scent of baking. Krisha, did you make these yourself? Sushi asked, slightly surprised. Yes, she replied with a small nod, her grey silver hair cascading over her shoulders like rippling streams of light. I thought you might like them, so I made them, she added, her tone calm and sincere. Master, would you like to try one? She asked again, gently picking up a cookie and offering it to him with precise, delicate movements. Thank you, Krisha, Sushi said, sitting up from his recliner and taking the cookie. He bit into it slowly. The cookie was crispy on the outside, soft and fragrant on the inside, with a perfect texture that wasn't dry or crumbly. It's delicious, Krisha. Your cooking skills have improved again, he said, offering her genuine praise. Thank you. This is what I should do, Krisha replied softly, her white dress making her seem even more elegant as she stood quietly beside him. She only sat down after Sushi invited her to join him. Krisha, you should eat some too, he urged. All right. She took one of the cookies she had baked and carefully ate it, her expression neutral, with only her mouth moving. The sight reminded Sushi of a small hamster nibbling on food. You seem to be thinking about something funny. Krisha suddenly looked up, her sharp gaze breaking through her usual blank expression. No, I just think you're very cute like this, Sushi replied with a smile, placing his hand on her head and gently stroking her silver hair. Is that so? Krisha murmured, tilting her head slightly before continuing to nibble on the cookie. She silently agreed with her master. The cookies she made really were delicious. Looking at the witch's adorable demeanor and the clear blue sky above, Sushi chuckled as memories surfaced. He remembered the time he found a young witch living on the streets of Elinson City in the magical world. Back then, she had been clueless about the world. Her cooking was terrible, and she was utterly helpless. Sushi had seen her as a pitiful little girl who needed protection. Yet, as time passed like a fleeting dream, that frail, lost girl transformed into a supreme god of immense power. The thought filled Sushi with a sense of disbelief, as if it were all a dream. Master. Krisha's voice broke his reverie. She looked at him with mild confusion. What are you thinking about? It's nothing. Don't worry about me, Sushi replied. The summer sun continued to blaze, its rays distorting the air with heat. Sitting in the shaded corner, Sushi kept stroking Krisha's head. I was just reminiscing about our time in Elinson City. It was a distant memory they shared. Krisha didn't quite understand why Sushi was suddenly reflecting on the past, but she could tell he was in a good mood. What were you thinking about, exactly? She asked. Oh, lots of things. Like the time you messed up water magic and destroyed the courtyard flowers. Or when you caused a kitchen explosion during your first attempt at cooking. And that time in Apoko City when you tried to feed me poisonous seafood. Sushi recounted these moments with a gentle expression, his voice filled with nostalgia. Do you hate me for that? Krisha asked, her face blank. Not at all. I just think you were very cute back then. I miss that version of you, Sushi said warmly. Cute. Krisha tilted her head, doubtful. But if her master thought so, then it must be fine. Krisha, are you getting used to living on Earth? With you here, I feel at ease. Really? You've worked hard lately, taking care of the yard for me. You don't need to thank me. This is my duty. The sun burned like fire, casting its scorching rays over the earth, which shimmered like a golden ocean under the blue sky. Heat waves rippled faintly in the air. In the corner of the courtyard, Sushi and Krisha sat together. Shielded from the sun by green vines above, they chatted casually, enjoying the lazy atmosphere of summer. Their conversation wasn't profound, no discussions about eternal laws or forbidden secrets. Instead, they talked about mundane, everyday matters. Sushi was patient, asking about Krisha's daily life and mood. Though their interactions in the second simulation had been long, Sushi didn't let the end of the simulation mean the end of their bond. He still cared about the witch who had come to Earth and the other two girls. For Sushi, the so-called supreme felt distant. In his eyes, he simply saw his younger sister who begged for sweets, the indifferent witch with her calm demeanor, and the fiery, impulsive princess. Master, have some water, Krisha offered. The cookies she had baked were finished, crispy, fragrant, and delicious, but eating too many left one parched. Krisha had prepared ice water in advance, and Sushi drank it all in one gulp. The cool water left him feeling refreshed and invigorated. Thank you, Krisha, Sushi said habitually, glancing at the empty glass. He wondered if he should take the opportunity to buy her a gift. Krisha had done an excellent job, meticulous and flawless in every aspect. Sushi felt that if the courtyard were ever without her, everything would come to a halt. Krisha, is there anything you want? No, she said softly, staring at Sushi for a long moment before shaking her head. Her response was as expected. Sushi set aside the idea of rewarding her for now and shifted the conversation to other topics, such as how well she got along with the other two girls and whether there were any conflicts. Krisha shook her head again, her comments short and neutral. Good Samaritans are a bit pitiable. The troublesome brat is slightly annoying. Her tone was calm, devoid of emotion. From the day Sushi first met her, her demeanor had never changed. Still, Sushi couldn't help but feel that her voice carried a subtle nuance this time. Is there something wrong with how I've been teaching her? He wondered, studying her delicate features. But he dismissed the thought. It wasn't a serious issue. As long as the three supreme beings didn't quarrel, it was already the best outcome. Krisha, pour me another drink. Yes, master, she replied without hesitation, taking the empty glass and refilling it with ice water. The two continued their conversation. Most of the time, Sushi spoke while Krisha listened quietly, occasionally reporting her work updates. Master, during your retreat, the red dragon came looking for you, Krisha mentioned. Oh, Little Red came by? What did it want? It seems to have discovered a new dragon clan. Sushi was pleasantly surprised. He hadn't expected the red dragon to take his New Year's advice so seriously. Not bad, very good, Sushi said, smiling. He decided to reward the red dragon in the future. However, I can't leave right now. I'll find time to meet it later. Closing his eyes slightly, Sushi felt his mental power intensify. It roared like a storm, heralding his impending ascension to godhood. Krisha, I need to rest and prepare for the ascension ceremony, he said, looking at her. Can you stay by my side for now? Of course, master, Krisha replied instantly. Her expression remained calm, but her vigilance was palpable. With a flick of her wrist, the grey resurrection wand appeared in her hand, its presence vibrating the surrounding air. Good. I trust you, Sushi said, lying back on his recliner with a contented smile. As he closed his eyes, he let his body relax completely, focusing on his inner world of elements and spirit. He surrendered all control, leaving his safety entirely in Krisha's hands. Master, Krisha whispered softly, I'll wait for you. I'll stay here until you wake up. The sun shone fiercely, the wind was hot and silent, and the courtyard grew still. Krisha's world became equally silent. In the vibrant summer, where everything seemed alive and colorful, the witch remained uninterested. She stood quietly by Sushi's side, her gaze fixed on his familiar sleeping face. What are emotions? What does it mean to care? What is love? The witch had seen countless answers to these questions, but they were always someone else's answers, never her own. Her restless fingers tightened and loosened their grip on the wand repeatedly. The immortal witch was calm on the surface, but emotions churned within her chest, heavy and unsettling. The familiar sight of Sushi asleep stirred her deeply, her fingers trembling slightly. But she controlled herself well. This time, it wasn't a goodbye, it was the rebirth of the sun. Her only task was to follow Sushi's instructions, stay by his side and wait for him to wake up. This thought calmed her somewhat. With a wave of her wand, Krisha cast an invisible magic shield around Sushi, shielding him from all potential dangers. At the same time, she summoned an abundance of elemental energy to create a favorable magical environment for his body. If she could, she would remain by his side until he woke up. But Krisha wasn't the only supreme being in the courtyard. Before long, Su Moli and Ying Su arrived. After understanding the situation, they too decided to stay by Sushi's side. The three supreme beings positioned themselves around him, forming a stable triangle of protection. When Sushi finally opened his eyes, he saw the three of them standing harmoniously, guarding him. For a moment, his mind went blank, frozen by the unexpectedly tranquil scene. Moli, Ying Su, Sushi said warmly, thank you both for coming to help me. Brother, do you need me to do anything? Moli asked, her tone serious. Yes, sir. If there's anything, just say the word, added Ying Su. Both of them silently prepared their weapons, Moli drawing her wooden sword and Ying Su summoning her spear. The power emanating from their weapons seemed to split time and space itself. With their strength, even from different systems, they were capable of ensuring the success of Sushi's ascension to godhood. The supreme beings they had become were beyond reason. Sushi smiled and declined. No, I've prepared well, and with the protection of the crown, there's almost no chance of failure. With those words, he turned and walked to the center of the empty courtyard. Each step he took drew a surge of elemental power toward him. Perceiving the elements, communicating with them, and controlling them, this is where a magician's training begins, he murmured. From there, the path leads to igniting the divine fire, ascending to the divine level, and forming a unique crown and throne, a position belonging only to gods. It's the dream of every being striving for the divine. The afternoon sun was softer than the midday blaze, its rays hazy yet serene. But the light flowing around Sushi grew dazzling, so bright that it outshone the sun. Fire flickered in the wind. Water gleamed like a mirror. Thunder resonated with death. Time and space intertwined. An awe-inspiring scene unfolded as all elemental attributes, including the elusive forces of time and space, manifested simultaneously. They transformed into a roaring wave that enveloped the sky, coalescing into a vast domain. This was the hallmark of a sanctuary mage's power. Sushi's domain, however, far exceeded the norm. It was a colossal multi-attribute realm, bordering on godhood, a realm that would soon evolve into a kingdom of God. In the Yutui nation, anyone can aspire to become a god, yet this final step feels as distant as crossing worlds, Sushi whispered. With a single thought, his immense spiritual power unraveled the elements in his domain. They shattered with an explosive roar, returning to their primal forms before swirling around him in an intensifying storm. At the eye of the storm, Sushi's gaze sparkled, his mental energy distorting reality itself. The power emanating from him caused the heavens and the earth to tremble, shaking Yinshan City to its core. Amid the cries of terrified onlookers, Sushi began the first steps toward godhood. Let's begin, he said calmly. Holding the Jianmu sword staff, he stepped forward lightly, bypassing the barriers of material and spiritual realms to stand in the void, a place of true nothingness, the origin of all things. Ascend the steps to godhood. Ignite the divine fire. Shed the mortal body and condense divinity, he declared. As he ascended higher, invisible gray flames engulfed him, burning away impurities and refining his existence. If I hadn't experienced this myself, I would never have believed that the ascension ceremony in the magical world is essentially an upgrade in the level of life itself, Sushi thought. His pace quickened as the elements around him surged. His perspective shifted, growing clearer as he transcended mortal limitations. The world itself began to change in his eyes. He could now see the essence of all things, a clarity beyond words. But this was only the first stage. To truly ascend, he needed to condense his divinity and establish his godhead. This was the step that had trapped countless geniuses as demigods. Sushi, however, was unfazed. His circumstances were unlike anyone else's. I've worked tirelessly my whole life. Krisha, assist me. The supreme crown radiated immeasurable brilliance. It carried the laws of countless worlds, symbolized infinite authority, and embodied eternity. Basking in its light, Sushi's ascension accelerated. The laws aligned seamlessly, granting him automatic success. All that remained was to perfect his divine fire, divinity, and godhead. Come on. With a roar, Sushi unleashed a wave of spiritual energy. The domain collapsed under his will, only to reorganize into a more majestic and expansive form. At this moment, he had risen to a higher dimension, existing between the material universe and the infinite chaos. This mysterious plane was visible only to a select few, the supreme beings in the courtyard, the Earth's own nascent consciousness, and Li Wanshao of the Beijing General Administration. Brother, is he ascending to godhood? In the courtyard of Yinshan City, Su Moli looked up at the dazzling spectacle, her expression complicated. Sushi had chosen to become a god before becoming an immortal. While this wasn't inherently an issue, it left her with an inexplicable sense of failure. She glanced at Ying Su, whose eyes mirrored her feelings. Both felt that their progress paled in comparison to Krisha's. Still, Sushi's ascension would undoubtedly bolster their systems, benefiting them all in the long run. With the Supreme Crown's aid, Sushi's journey to godhood proceeded flawlessly. He successfully condensed his divinity and forged a godhead that symbolized all things. Compared to the gods of the magical world, Sushi's power was unprecedented. Ordinary gods possess 1 or 2 domains at most. But with the crown's protection, I can synchronize with all of Krisha's powers. The only limitation is that I can't achieve her peak output, he thought. Material and spiritual. Illusion and reality. Planes and universes. Sushi continued to ascend, his energy, blood, and mana reaching unparalleled heights. The elements swirled around him, laws infused his being, and his divine personality emerged. Suddenly, Sushi paused, his expression turning strange. From the grey void before him, a wild and raucous laugh echoed, a sound resembling the roar of dragons. GGG. Finally, I've arrived? The first transcendent being in this new world. Fear me, tremble before me? Ascension is a trap. True power lies with beings like me. Those magic dragons should be arriving soon, right? In the capital city, deep within the extraordinary general administration, a majestic underground palace shimmered with wealth. Gold coins fell like a torrential rainstorm, intermingled with colorful gems, creating a symphony of crisp echoes as they landed. A massive creature slowly rose, a ferocious dragon with a gleaming crimson form, its scales glinting under the incandescent light. It listened to the sounds of gold, silver, and jewels colliding, a look of sheer contentment on its face. Surrounded by the dazzling glow of its hoard, the red dragon basked in a moment of peace. No bothersome dragon whisperers, no oppressive gazes from supreme gods, just the company of its beloved treasures. Oh wow, what a beautiful dragon life, it murmured with delight. With a flick of its massive wings, the red dragon swept a heap of gold coins closer, admiring their radiant luster. Donate blood? Being beaten? Such trivial matters have nothing to do with the great me. Rex Sanchez, the red dragon, laughed heartily, his voice resonating with confidence. He prided himself on his cunning, comparing his intellect to that of the god of wisdom. Wielding dragon language magic, he sent a call across the boundless plains, summoning other dragons to Earth. Though he didn't expect many responses, even one would be a success. To his astonishment, his call connected with an entire dragon clan, descendants of a miraculous union between green dragons and blue dragons. This clan bore brilliant science scales, a testament to their lineage. But their reputation was infamous. These dragons were known for their cruelty, indiscriminate killing, and defiance of the gods, which had led to their exile into endless chaos. Rumors suggested that after leaving the magical world, they had ravaged countless realms and even dared to challenge deities themselves. What a dangerous bunch, the red dragon muttered, scratching its back. Sparks flew as its claws scraped against its fiery scales. To be honest, Rex Sanchez didn't hold a high opinion of these so-called comrades. Nor did he have confidence in defeating them. But it didn't matter. That person will handle everything, the red dragon said with a smug expression. It activated dragon language magic again, sending another message across the void. If you have treasure, come quickly. The response came swiftly. The science-scaled dragons mentioned they were on a hunt and would arrive soon, thanking Rex Sanchez for his guidance. Thank me? You'll regret it soon enough, the red dragon muttered with a sinister grin, baring its sharp teeth. The thought of what was about to happen made its face twist with glee. G. Its evil laughter echoed through the underground chamber. In the chaotic void, grey currents swirled amidst a sea of stars. Under Sushi's watchful gaze, two cyan dragon claws tore through the chaos, exuding immense power. A ferocious dragon head followed, its face twisted in a sinister grin. The dragon's penetrating laughter stirred the chaos, sending ripples through the void. A blue dragon, Sushi remarked, noticing the brilliant cyan scales. The dragon's form resembled that of mythical Western dragons, but its scales were unmistakable. And it's a godly dragon, he added, his gaze piercing through the chaotic void. He saw the violent aura of killing intent radiating from the dragon's divine power, a demonic dragon that had committed countless atrocities. As a god, Sushi could see through its essence with ease. To mortals, however, this dragon would appear as an incomprehensible deity, a harbinger of chaos and death. This murderous intent cannot be allowed on Earth, Sushi said, shaking his head. The Jianmu sword staff in his hand transformed, becoming sharper and more imposing, as if preparing for battle. Hearing this, the cyan dragon burst into laughter. What a fool! What an ignorant new god, it sneered. Tremble? Fear me? I am the demonic dragon who has conquered the abyss, bringing destruction to all worlds. The dragon's voice grew louder, its ferocity shaking the heavens and earth. Chaos parted as more dragon shadows emerged, dozens of blue-scaled dragons, most at the Holy Realm level, with several possessing godhood. So, a horde of blue dragons, Sushi observed calmly. His indifferent tone and unwavering expression infuriated the demonic dragon leader. Its vertical pupils narrowed coldly, and its wings unfurled, radiating destructive laws. Foolish and pitiful new god, the leader scoffed. You know nothing of real power. With a swipe of its claw, the chaos in its grasp collapsed. Behold my divine power, it roared, its voice filled with contempt. I am the dragon of destruction, Shokanig Myraboreus or Lion Siegfried Osiris. Before it could finish its elaborate name, the ignorant new god raised his strange-looking staff. 3 radiant lights burst forth from Sushi's body as he muttered cryptic phrases. The power of Deo, tenfold. The effect of the sword, tenfold. The power of chi and blood, tenfold. The power of the blue dragon, 100-fold. The demonic dragon froze in confusion. What nonsense was this? Before it could react, Sushi raised his staff and lightly tapped the dragon's head. The dragon accelerated forward, its mouth blazing with destructive breath, eager to consume Sushi's godhead and enhance its own power. But suddenly, everything went dark. A faint buzzing sound followed, and the dragon's body shattered as divine power enveloped it. Blood scattered like a storm, and chaos boiled in its wake. It seems a bit wasteful, Sushi murmured. He waved his sword staff, reversing time around the dragon's remains. The scattered blood reassembled, flowing back into the dragon's lifeless form. I'll take this instead, Sushi said with a smile, collecting the dragon's blood. He had no intention of resurrecting the insane dragon, as it would consume too much power. And besides, compared to the adorable red dragon, he had no interest in dealing with an insane one. It's him. It's his aura. 3 terrifying forces swirled within Sushi's body. After a brief moment of stunned silence, the dragons finally realized what they were facing. Their gazes fell on the necklace hanging around Sushi's neck, and they were filled with sheer terror. The necklace was no ordinary artifact, it was the end of the gods, the co-crown of all heavens. It symbolized immortality and oneness, eternity and infinity. This was the rumored supreme artifact that had vanquished all the chaos gods. Run, run quickly. There was no time for rational thought. Their instincts screamed for survival, leaving only one imperative, to flee as far away from Sushi as possible. In the chaotic currents where planes and worlds overlapped, the demonic dragons panicked. They spread their massive wings, chanting wind magic in desperation to escape, some even turning against their own kin in their rush to survive. Their leader's death had made one thing clear: they stood no chance against Sushi. But in their minds, survival wasn't about outrunning Sushi, it was about outrunning each other. Yet, their fragile hope was quickly shattered. Sushi used the law of space to traverse vast distances in an instant, or created multiple incarnations to simultaneously attack several dragons. The true despair, however, came from the three forces emanating from him, as unfathomable as an abyss. Somewhere within the chaos, Sushi's sister, Molly, and Ying Su, the princess, roamed effortlessly. They struck down the terrified dragons with ease, leaving no room for resistance. Krisha, the witch, refrained from engaging directly. Instead, she cast eternal protection over Sushi, ensuring not a single drop of filthy dragon blood could taint him. The battle, if it could even be called that, ended swiftly. Sushi sheathed his weapon, his expression calm. He had intended to test various divine laws on the dragons, but Molly and Ying Su's impatience had cut the fight short. "How did I do, sir?" Ying Su asked, seeking praise. "Well done," Sushi said with a smile. Though he hadn't had the chance to experiment, their good intentions mattered more than his plans. "Molly, Ying Su, leave a few weak dragons alive," he instructed, thinking of the dragon blood grass in the courtyard. He needed weaker dragons to ensure a steady supply of high-quality dragon blood without relying solely on the red dragon. "Yes, brother. I understand." The two girls quickly captured 3 sanctuary-level dragons and brought them back. The captured dragons trembled, their faces filled with fear. Some pleaded for mercy, while others fainted outright. Following Sushi's instructions, Krisha waved her grey resurrection staff and sealed the dragons within its internal space. "This concludes everything." With the chaos silenced and the dimensions stabilized, Sushi prepared to return to Earth. Before leaving, he examined his newfound divine power, comparing it to the immense strength of Krisha. "I thought becoming a god would help narrow the gap," he mused. "But now it's clear there's still a vast difference in power between Krisha and me." Even as a god, Sushi could traverse worlds and embark on incredible voyages across the universe. This was the privilege granted by divine authority. Yet, when compared to Krisha's supreme power, even his godhood seemed insignificant. Of course, this didn't diminish the value of his achievement. Becoming a god had greatly enhanced his strength. "Brother, I have a question," Molly said, tugging at the corner of his robe. "What is it, Molly? Now that you've become a god, what are your plans for cultivation?" Sushi pondered for a moment. "I think I'll consolidate my realm first, then use my divine status to strengthen my cultivation and martial arts. My goal is to progress further on all 3 paths simultaneously." Thanks to the supreme treasures he possessed, his cultivation speed was unparalleled. He aimed to achieve perfection in spirit, energy, and soul. Then, Molly hesitated briefly before continuing, "Brother, could you prioritize becoming an immortal before transcending in martial arts?" Her voice was soft, her eyes shining with anticipation. Sushi was surprised by her request. He couldn't discern its purpose. Was it driven by her competitive spirit? Although puzzled, he smiled and agreed. Behind him, Ying Su carried the captured dragons, her expression contemplative. "Should I stew them, or grill them?" she muttered, frowning. "It's such a hard choice." After returning to Earth, the anomalies between heaven and Earth faded with the conclusion of Sushi's ascension ceremony. Sushi's daily life remained as tranquil as ever. However, Li Wanshao, far away in the capital, wasn't pleased. "Traitor! Traitor!" the old man yelled, furious. "You abandoned the path of immortality to become some barbaric wild god. How dare you?" He sent several bottles of precious tribulation-transmitting golden elixirs to Sushi, declaring, "If you don't achieve the realm of true immortality, don't even think about seeing me again." Sushi held the elixirs, chuckling at the old man's antics. Meanwhile, the red dragon's life underwent significant changes. The captured demonic dragons and the slain dragon god provided an abundant supply of dragon blood, alleviating any shortages. As a result, Rex Sanchez, the red dragon, became far more content. Visits to the courtyard decreased from once a week to once a month. Both the red dragon and Sushi were pleased with this new arrangement. The red dragon enjoyed a more relaxed life, while Sushi appreciated the improved quality of its dragon blood. "This is what we call a balance between work and rest," Sushi remarked to Krisha, teaching her his philosophy. The witch listened intently, taking mental notes on dragon care. From that point on, Sushi focused on consolidating his cultivation. He explored divine laws, stabilized his godhead, and refined his divinity. Finally, he felt ready to embark on a new simulation. "Sir, would you like some dragon meat?" "No need, Ying Su. You can have it yourself." The midsummer courtyard was silent, the air heavy with heat, as if the world itself were aflame. Sushi rested at the base of a sturdy tree, leaning against its thick branches. He watched Ying Su with a faint smile as she busied herself roasting dragon meat. Sparks danced in the air, accompanied by the crackle of hot gravel and flying dust. Even mundane moments like this became meaningful in the stillness of summer. Unlike Kryza's cooking, which had improved over time, the princess's culinary skills remained lacking. The dragon meat was charred beyond recognition, resembling something lethal to dragons themselves. Thus, Sushi politely declined her offer. "Well, okay then," she said, visibly disappointed. Devouring the overcooked meat in a few bites, she quickly began grilling another piece, her movements more deliberate and cautious this time. Her serious expression and focus as she watched the flames dance lent her a peculiar charm. The sky was clear, the sun's intense rays breaking through the brick fences and foliage, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow. This kind of life, it's really good, Sushi murmured to himself, letting the breeze caress his face. His gaze wandered from Ying Su's busy figure to Kryza, who was tending to the dragon blood grass nearby. As for Molly, she wasn't home. Likely, she had ventured off to sever another chaotic boundary. Sushi had advised her to rest more, to spend time at home. But she always agreed in words, only to quietly slip away to the chaos. Even so, Sushi could faintly sense her presence. Pa, pa, a faint, rhythmic sound echoed from the direction of his bedroom. He didn't need to see it to know. Having experienced it countless times, Sushi could judge the state of the collection cabinet from the slightest noise. Looks like Molly is holding her own today. The sugar jar remains firmly in first place. He chuckled. But Ying Su isn't doing too badly either. Could it be, the princess burned her dragon meat because she was distracted by this? His eyes lingered thoughtfully on Ying Su's focused back. The collection cabinet had become something beyond Sushi's original intent of preserving memories. Yet, he didn't mind this evolution. The sugar jar, magic wand, and paper flowers were meant to commemorate those he thought he'd never see again. Now that they were back, the object's significance had shifted. Objects matter. Memories matter. But the people themselves, they matter the most. Sushi smiled faintly, finding peace in the tranquil competition that had developed within the collection cabinet. This serene life felt like the most precious gift. After becoming a god, the transformation of my life's essence has enhanced every part of me. My magical abilities have grown exponentially, and I can now wield laws freely, he mused. Even the cultivation of the Dao and the circulation of qi and blood in martial arts have accelerated significantly. With the enhancements from eternal tears and starlight, it may not be long before I ascend to become an immortal or even transcend in martial arts. The cicada's incessant chirping echoed from the dense foliage above, hidden from view. Sushi looked up, silently calculating the changes in his strength. As a god, his progress in magic had reached the level of a minor graduate, a place from which the world seemed simple and clear. Cultivation and martial arts were also improving rapidly. The Su system was in a state of rapid growth. Given enough time, it seemed inevitable that he would unify the three great paths: spirit, energy, and soul. So, what should I simulate next? He summoned the simulator panel visible only to him, its translucent interface shimmering faintly. In the past, I performed simulations to gain strength and protect myself in the real world. But now, I've become a god. The three paths: cultivation, magic, and martial arts each have their systems. Together, they encompass nearly all the advantages of the extraordinary systems. I lack nothing. Closing his eyes, Sushi felt the energy flowing within him. The divine mana, martial qi, and immortal essence intertwined into a harmonious symphony. With the combined power of three supreme systems and the protection of three supreme artifacts, Sushi was invincible, at least on Earth. Continuing to gain new powers is still an option. But now, I'm more curious about the simulator itself, its essence, its composition, its existence. Beautiful life simulator, Sushi murmured. Its name doesn't align with traditional cultivation worlds. Could it be something from a science fiction world? The idea intrigued him. Let's try a simulation on the science fiction side this time, he decided. If I recall correctly, the systems in science fiction worlds are incredibly complex, ranging from intergalactic civilizations to omniscient AI disasters, even encompassing control over the physical universe. If I can uncover the simulator's essence, that would be ideal. Even if I can't, I have nothing to lose. Besides, science fiction offers unique perspectives on world analysis that might prove useful. Simulator, charge me. At his command, countless sci-fi items poured out of his space ring and were absorbed by the simulator. The panel displayed a rapidly progressing bar. Loading science fiction anchor media, +1%, +2%, +3%. Soon, the loading bar reached 100%, and the panel emitted a brilliant white light. Science fiction anchor media loaded. Congratulations to the host. A simulation is now available. Would you like to start a wonderful simulated life? Current simulations available. 1. The simulator chimed softly. Without hesitation, Sushi confirmed, starting his fourth life simulation. Simulation starting. World line deducing. Transmigration world locked. Science fiction world detected. Entries generated. Please select 3 entries as character talents for this simulation. The entry levels are white, green, blue, purple, gold, and red. Machine Souljoy, gold. You share a unique bond with machinery, enabling any mechanical creation in your hands to operate at over 200% efficiency. Fork in the road, purple. When faced with challenges, you instinctively find an alternate solution. Mechanical resonance, gold. Using machines allows you to intuitively grasp their principles. You are nothing short of a technological prodigy. Scavenger, blue. You possess survival instincts, adept at identifying valuable items and thriving in harsh environments. Accuracy, blue. Your precision is unparalleled, allowing you to target enemy weak points with ease. 10 deaths, red. Death is not your end. Regardless of injury or fatality, you resurrect at full strength up to 10 times. 1 red, 2 gold, 1 purple, and 2 blue. Sushi scanned the simulator panel with a mix of surprise and satisfaction. In his last simulation, he had settled for 1 gold and 2 purple entries. The quality of entries had been acceptable but not extraordinary. This time, the results were far beyond his expectations. A red entry appearing this time? And 2 gold ones too? Luck is indeed unpredictable, he mused. Red entries were rare and represented the highest power, and resurrection was an unparalleled ability. Sushi wasted no time in selecting his entries: machine souljoy, gold; mechanical resonance, gold; and 10 deaths, red. 1 red and 2 gold. This configuration is perfect. The red entry offers me unparalleled survivability, while the 2 gold entries complement each other to form a complete system. Truly ideal. Entry selection complete. Do you wish to begin the simulation? The simulator's panel glowed softly, awaiting his confirmation. In past simulations, Sushi would have immediately confirmed. But this time, he hesitated and called for Krisha and Ying Su. Krisha, Ying Su, I need your help. Both turned to him, curious. I'm about to start a new simulation. I want you to observe me closely and see if there's anything unusual during the process. There might be details I overlook. The 2 girls nodded in agreement. Understood, Master. You can count on me, sir. Sushi smiled. Thank you. Let's see if this can reveal something new. Entry selection complete. Do you wish to begin the simulation? This time, Sushi decisively confirmed. Yes. The world around him stilled, an oppressive silence enveloping everything. A dizzying sensation surged, as though time and space themselves had twisted and folded, dragging him into an incomprehensible state of disorientation. He felt the oscillations of reality, the intersecting threads of countless worlds. The sensation wasn't physical but a metaphysical distortion, shifting his very consciousness. Krisha, Ying Su. Sushi's thoughts momentarily focused on the 2 girls. Under the sunlight, their expressions flickered subtly, as if they had sensed something, but the changes were too slow, imperceptible until after Sushi's consciousness had departed. Did they notice anything? He wondered. He would have to wait until the simulation ended to find out. A storm of time and space unfurled like a butterfly's wings, propelling him into an endless tide of luminous white threads. Each thread represented an infinite possibility of existence. Uncontrollably, Sushi hurtled into one of the thicker threads. Simulation No. 04 has officially begun. You open your eyes to find yourself in a familiar courtyard. The sun is gentle, the flowers bloom undisturbed, and everything appears unchanged from your memories. Krisha and Ying Su do not exist here. You calmly leave the courtyard and head to the tallest building nearby. Moving swiftly, you use the elevator to reach the rooftop. Familiar roars echo in your ears, but you remain unbothered, even amused, feeling completely safe. However, scanning the streets below, you fail to find the familiar figure you were expecting. The sky darkens, clouds gathering as if rain is imminent. The roars grow louder. Suspicious, you look upward. You see it. You realize you were laughing too soon. Your smile freezes as disbelief fills your gaze. The sun above you begins to warp and transform, assembling into an enormous celestial vehicle, a star truck that barrels straight toward you. Its massive form shatters the sky before colliding with you in a deafening explosion. Congratulations, you've been knocked away by fortune once again. Disoriented, Sushi felt his consciousness spinning out of control. The nauseating sensation was overwhelming, piercing every fiber of his being. It was as though his soul had been reduced to a tattered sandbag, subjected to relentless pounding. Eventually, the queasiness subsided. With effort, he opened his eyes to an unfamiliar world. The environment is barren, desolate, and eerily silent. You have received a lucky time travel gift package, but the world before you is nothing like you imagined. There are no advanced futuristic cities, no interstellar battleships soaring across the skies. Instead, you find yourself in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Human bones litter the ground, and decaying machinery is half buried in the dust. It appears a catastrophic war between humans and machines destroyed civilization. Your body has reverted to its 20-year-old self, youthful and strong, but you feel no sense of security. The hostile wasteland and remnants of battle leave you wary and confused. Resolving to uncover the truth, you decide to press forward. No, where did you send me? Sushi muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. He traversed the ruins, clambering over collapsed structures. Beyond the wreckage, a vast and harrowing sight greeted him, a city split in two by an unimaginably destructive force. The chasm bore marks of absolute devastation, as though the city had been crushed, torn, and skewed by an overwhelming power. Sushi stood in stunned silence, staring at the apocalyptic scene before him, questioning if he had been sent to the wrong world. Thick, dark clouds covered the sky. The wind howled, lifting clouds of yellow sand into the air, creating a chaotic scene. The crumbling walls and fallen beams, charred black from raging fires, left a stifling sense of oppression. The desolate ruins stretching endlessly before Sushi were the perfect representation of a world at its end. The wind roared, carrying the sound of shifting sand and gravel. The torn and blackened buildings stood like rows of fallen, dark tombstones, a solemn testament to the demise of civilization. A deathly silence enveloped the land, broken only by the crisp sound of gears interlocking, echoing through the ruins. This world. Was it invaded by aliens? Or did a catastrophic artificial intelligence rebellion occur? Sushi looked up at the overcast sky. The air was heavy with the scent of burning debris. A metallic eagle soared past, its wings emitting jet-like streams, diving and weaving through the ruins like a fighter jet. A deafening roar filled the air as the mechanical eagle dived into the heart of the city ruins. When it ascended again, its sharp alloy claws clutched the remnants of a heavy vehicle, treating it as prey before swiftly vanishing into the sky. Sushi stood frozen for a long time, staring at the scene. Was this a rogue transformer or an advanced AI with sentience? Even for a sci-fi setting, this felt too surreal. A ruined city, mechanical monstrosities roaming about. This beginning is quite intriguing. Sushi opened his hand, and a lightweight fragment drifted down with the wind, landing perfectly in his palm. Intricate patterns were etched on it, a depiction of humans aboard massive starships, venturing into the mysterious and radiant cosmos. The excitement and anticipation conveyed through the image contrasted starkly with the desolation before him. The destruction of this world must have been sudden. For now, I should start exploring. The priority is finding water, food, and a temporary shelter. Sushi set out again, stepping carefully along the rugged roads, crossing over human and mechanical remains. His footsteps echoed crisply as he navigated the outskirts of the unknown city with a clear objective in mind. The wasteland was dangerous, filled with wandering mechanical entities, some humanoid, others beast-like, and even pure war machines. Sushi even witnessed these mechanical creatures attacking one another, devouring energy from their counterparts, effortlessly crushing steel and concrete. Without a doubt, this environment was deadly for him. To avoid wasting his limited revivals, Sushi moved cautiously, carefully avoiding mechanical entities while searching for usable weapons. Your small step, a giant leap for humanity. Your presence in the city's ruins marks the first human visit in centuries. With caution, you continue your search and discover two unique firearms. The guns are made of an unfamiliar alloy that has only slightly yellowed with time. However, the triggers seem to be jammed, making them unusable. Ding! Your presence has pleased the gun spirits. To your surprise, the firearms suddenly become functional. Beyond 7 steps, speed wins. Within 7 steps, precision and speed dominate. The newfound firepower offers you some reassurance, and you cautiously continue searching for food and water. Success? You've found plenty of food, but unfortunately, it's all spoiled and inedible. Time has rendered most food supplies useless. Helpless, you continue your search. After a long and arduous search, you finally discover a well-sealed crate of nutrient solutions in the dark ruins. You can't help but note that nutrient solutions are a staple in most sci-fi and apocalyptic stories, and now you're experiencing it firsthand. The nutrient solution provides hydration and essential nutrients. Your hunger problem is temporarily resolved. Satisfied, you start thinking about your future. You find an underground shelter and make it your temporary residence, beginning to gather information about this world. On your second day after arriving, you collect numerous books, including basic literacy guides. On the third day, despite being extremely cautious, you encounter a humanoid machine whose energy shield renders your attacks useless. Ding! The gun spirits are delighted. Your weapon triggers a critical hit, dealing 1000% damage to the humanoid machine. You've formed a subtle connection with your twin guns. Gradually, you begin to understand their structure, and knowledge unfolds before you. 2 months pass, and within 60 days, you've mastered the common language of this new world, allowing you to read and understand recorded data with ease. You've learned that this is a highly advanced federal technology planet. Civilization thrived, and humanity flourished. Their technology even surpassed the combined achievements of different fused worlds. Virtual reality, interstellar travel, anti-gravity technology, genetic enhancements. A dazzling civilization with a bright future, poised to leave its star system and explore the vast cosmos. But just as humanity celebrated, disaster struck. At the peak of their progress, an AI catastrophe suddenly erupted. Mechanical creations turned against their creators, awakening a deadly consciousness bent on human extinction. No one could escape, no one survived. Stripped of their technological advantage, all that remained was their frail, mortal bodies. Even with genetic modifications granting superhuman abilities, they stood no chance against interstellar weaponry. It appears humanity in this world has been completely wiped out. You reach this conclusion, staring blankly for a long time. Rustle, rustle. In the dim underground shelter, the crisp sound of flipping pages echoed. Sushi's expression was solemn as he scanned through the book, finally closing its blood-stained cover. It was a diary, not belonging to a high-ranking official or expert, but to an ordinary federal citizen. From an average person's perspective, it documented the chaos that followed the AI rebellion and the despair of awaiting inevitable death. An AI rebellion essentially cripples the heart of a technological civilization. Even the starships turned against humanity. There was no escape. As a transmigrator, I might very well be the last surviving human on this planet. Where there was life, there was death. Where there was a beginning, there was an end. In this sci-fi simulation, encountering the extinction of humanity right from the start left Sushi deeply astonished. He believed that the cause behind the AI rebellion was far from simple. Perhaps it was the result of malevolent cosmic forces or the casual strike of a higher civilization. However, no matter what the truth is, it doesn't concern me, Sushi murmured as he slowly stood up. His main goal in this simulation was to gain a deeper understanding of the sci-fi genre and to explore the true nature of the simulator. Regarding the fall of the Human Federation and the truth behind the AI rebellion, Sushi was curious but had no intention of delving deeper. This simulated world is too dangerous, filled with AI capable of destroying cities and even planets. If I'm unlucky, even 10 revivals won't be enough. I need a safer environment and more mechanical constructs. With the synergy of mechanical resonance attributes, I must gradually enhance my knowledge. My aim is to accumulate enough information before the simulation ends to understand the simulator. Sushi rose to his feet, his gaze first falling on the dual guns placed on the table, then shifting downward to the remains of the mechanical humanoid he had shot earlier, and finally, to the dim underground shelter. To be honest, after understanding the general situation of this simulated world, Sushi had little hope for the simulation. However, he intended to make the most of the opportunity. For now, I should find a new place. This space is too small and lacks the necessary equipment for mechanical research. The flickering yellow light cast an unstable glow. Under the intermittent illumination, Sushi gathered his meager belongings and slowly stepped up the staircase, gently closing the steel door that had remained sealed for 100 years. You have left your temporary shelter. You realize that to improve yourself, you need a more specialized research environment and access to more mechanical constructs. Thanks to the data and maps you gathered, you've successfully identified a destination. It was once a hub of high-tech companies in the city, with many precision machines. Although most are likely damaged, you believe a few may still be operational. You proceed with extreme caution. Using the knowledge from your recent explorations, you navigate through underground sewers, avoiding the powerful AI patrolling the surface. They wander aimlessly, without true self-awareness. Instead of an awakening, it seems more like they are following orders to exterminate humans, endlessly searching for life until they decay with time. Feeling an inexplicable sense of sorrow, you quicken your pace, avoiding the AI patrols. Your movements are swift and agile, and you soon reach your destination. The number of AI constructs here is greater, many patrolling the surface, including massive federal war machines and anti-gravity drone ships soaring through the skies. Anticipating this, you bypass large AI clusters and sneak into the underground production facility through isolated pathways. The destruction caused by AI on human civilization was immense. Cities fell, and civilizations perished. Once heavily guarded laboratories, inaccessible to ordinary people, were now places Sushi could enter freely. There was no one left to stop him. His only concern was the ever-patrolling AI overhead. I can't keep moving frequently, Sushi muttered as he reached a secluded corner and cautiously glanced above. The AI's detection capabilities were extraordinary. Many were equipped with thermal imaging, and some could even lock onto targets from long distances. Sushi had managed to stay safe so far thanks to his special attribute, Machine Spirit's Delight. This golden attribute provided an inexplicable affinity with machines. When Sushi held his dual guns or carried mechanical items, AI radars would instinctively overlook him as if he did not exist. I love the machine spirit, Sushi remarked with a smile. With that, he stepped into the underground laboratory, curiously inspecting the buried technological relics. Most of the facility was empty, showing signs of forced removal. Likely, many devices had become part of the AI rebellion, escaping from the lab. However, a few items remained intact, free from AI consciousness and damage. Sushi tested them and found them still functional. First year of simulation, you are 20 years old. Through caution and careful planning, you have survived in the deserted wasteland city. By studying AI patrol patterns, you have made navigating the ruins easier. Eventually, you settle in an underground laboratory, far from large AI clusters. You find numerous weapons in the lab, including a damaged power armor suit and several high-powered firearms, which you plan to repair. However, food supplies are running low again. You must leave your shelter and pause your research to search for precious water and food. This time, your luck takes an unexpected turn. You fail to find nutrient solutions or edible food. Instead, you stumble upon an ancient machine. It can collect moisture from the air and produce pure drinking water while compressing edible materials like small insects into consumable food blocks. You inspect it closely. It is a machine designed for wilderness survival. The water and food it produces have a peculiar taste, even bordering on unpleasant, but after careful thought, you decide to take it back to your new home. To be cautious, you conduct an on-site test of the machine. Machine Spirit's Delight. This time, the water and food produced taste unexpectedly good. Sushi felt an indescribable change. With Machine Spirit's Delight and mechanical resonance both in effect, new knowledge flooded his mind. Beyond that, he experienced a peculiar sensation, as if he was merging with the machine itself. Suppressing that odd feeling, Sushi began dismantling the survival machine. Its bulky frame was too heavy to carry in one trip, so he disassembled it into smaller parts and carried them back piece by piece. The process was exhausting, but fortunately, Sushi found external mechanical arms in the lab, designed to assist in moving heavy objects. Thanks to these tools, he no longer had to rely solely on his physical strength to transport the massive components. You made multiple trips, successfully transporting the production machine's components back to your underground laboratory. You attempted to assemble the production machine. Your methods were too rough, and the machine spirit seemed slightly displeased. Eventually, after some struggles, you managed to put the machine together, ensuring a stable source of sustenance in the wasteland. Energy was scarce, but fortunately, the machine came with solar panels. You found a secluded hollow where sunlight streamed down, perfectly meeting your needs. Due to the machine spirit's displeasure, you had to endure a month of foul-tasting food. However, you did not mind. You understood that mere survival in such a world was already a blessing. Time passed, and your plans evolved. With your basic survival needs met, you turned your focus to enhancing your strength. Unlike previous simulations where you relied on self-cultivation to grow stronger, this time your situation was different. You had to continuously learn and operate various machines, using mechanical resonance to grasp their principles. Machine Spirit's Delight, Mechanical Resonance. You established a connection with the mechanical arms and successfully understood their operation. You gradually found yourself controlling the mechanical arms with increasing ease. Machine Spirit's Delight, Mechanical Resonance. Long-term use of the production machine allowed you to comprehend its workings. The food and water it produced began to taste better. Your prolonged use of the Gauss twin guns greatly pleased the gun spirit. Your shooting accuracy improved significantly. 9 out of 10 shots hit the target, even without precise aiming. You slowly began to understand the design principles behind the Gauss twin guns. Second year of simulation. You are now 21 years old. You successfully survived another year in the AI-infested ruins, thanks mostly to your cautious approach. You became immersed in the pursuit of knowledge. It felt as if the universe itself was opening its doors to you. Living alone for so long did not make you feel lonely. The vast collection of technological artifacts in the underground lab kept you busy and fascinated. You realized that this might be the true joy of learning. Your talent was extraordinary. In just 1 year, you grew from a novice into a knowledgeable researcher. Aside from your growing knowledge, you discovered an unexpected surprise. The synergy of Machine Spirit's Delight and Mechanical Resonance caused subtle changes in your body, enhancing your physical capabilities to rival those of genetically enhanced warriors. You found yourself able to enhance mechanical performance at will. This new and unique ability, which you named Mechanical Power, granted you significant advantages. A mysterious force seemed to be watching over you, amplifying your mechanical power tenfold. A sudden cold breeze sent shivers down your spine, as if something unseen was observing you. Third year of simulation. You are now 22 years old. Unbelievable, you are practically a superhuman. Your knowledge base is staggering, and you have comprehended most of the machines in the lab, with only a few complex ones still eluding you. The power of the golden attributes is truly terrifying. You marveled at this simulation, filled with amazement. Knowledge is power. It dispels ignorance and reveals the true world to you. After long-term research and learning, you discovered that your current location is the 6th satellite city in the southern region of the Federation. It was neither a major metropolis nor an important spaceport. You felt relieved. Had you ended up in a key city, you might have faced AI-controlled starships, an impossible challenge for a mere human. Could you win? Your answer was clear: certain death. You began utilizing your newfound knowledge to modify your underground lab, attempting to repair damaged systems such as water, electricity, lighting, and power armor. Your progress was steady, but during your work, you gradually realized an unavoidable truth. There are limits to human capabilities. On the surface, the bright sunlight reflected off wandering metal monstrosities, making them gleam brilliantly. Underground, in the dimly lit space, Sushi's calloused hands carefully worked on the new circuits. Between the gaps in the rubble, silence reigned. Collapsed buildings formed chaotic barriers, blocking sunlight from reaching the underground. The few places where light seeped in were occupied by solar panels, greedily absorbing every bit of energy. Some even stretched to the surface, silently collecting power. Green moss slowly crept through the cracks in the ruins, providing Sushi with scarce fresh air. I hope this works, otherwise, my research efficiency will plummet, Sushi muttered as he completed his final adjustment. Clad in his worn clothes, he slowly stepped back. A large, smooth mechanical structure stood before him. Its silver-white exterior was covered with numerous slots and interwoven wires that flickered under his gaze. I alone have my limits. Machine Spirit's Delight and Mechanical Resonance can enhance my learning speed, but they can't compensate for my human limitations. I'm still just one person. There's only so much I can do. I can't take on the countless AI threats by myself, nor can I process all the experimental data in my mind. Sushi's eyes were filled with contemplation as he gazed at the silver-white machine. With a cautious breath, he pressed the activation switch. Scientific advancement. This vast and sacred tree of knowledge was never meant to be tackled alone. Sushi urgently needed assistance to manage the day-to-day tasks of his lab and provide combat support. He had explored almost everything the lab had to offer. To advance further, he needed to venture to the surface, to study and analyze the AI roaming the ruins. Thus, he scavenged through the lab's junk and found a severely damaged robot, hoping to use its core as an auxiliary AI. It's a pity. A lab of this caliber should have an advanced supercomputer. But all I found were remnants of ordinary machines. Beep, beep. Sushi watched as the solar energy gradually activated the robot's core. To be cautious, he had removed all of its components beforehand. Now, gripping his Gauss twin guns tightly, he remained on high alert, ready to react if the machine turned hostile. With a click, Sushi quietly cocked his Gauss gun. The machine whirred to life, and its long-dormant voice module crackled, producing an unpleasant, high-pitched sound. Household Autonomous Robot RTX 9090 initiating self-diagnostics. Startup self-check statement, certified by the Federal Constitution with the highest legal authority. First, AI must not harm humans. Second, AI must obey humans. Third, AI must, ZZZT, A sharp burst of static filled the empty underground laboratory. In an instant, the silver-white machine core malfunctioned, shaking violently while flashing a bright red warning light, an unmistakable signal of danger. Humans, elimination, eliminate. Civilization, destroy, destroy. The voice module crackled with chaotic noise, overlapping various pre-recorded audio samples. It was an unsettling sight. Countless distorted voices poured from the machine core, resembling the screams of countless people whispering at once. The glaring red warning signals confirmed Sushi's fears. The household robot core had been completely transformed into a murderous AI. Just as expected, Sushi frowned. No logic, no signs, just a sudden AI rebellion. No wonder humanity on this planet perished so quickly. There was simply no way to fight back. Sushi crouched and swiftly cut the power supply. Deprived of energy, the disassembled household robot, already immobile, fell silent once more. The warning lights dimmed, and the metallic shell lay still, showing no trace of its previous madness. What should I do next? Sushi muttered as he stepped closer, tapping the machine core lightly with his fingers and listening to the faint echo within, lost in thought. The gritty sand beneath his boots shifted slightly. In the quiet darkness, only the sound of gears turning and sand shifting accompanied Sushi's contemplation. Retrieving his tools, he opened the silver-white machine core, revealing an intricate internal structure. With his current level of knowledge, Sushi could understand most of the design, but this only deepened his doubts and confusion. This makes no sense. This household machine wasn't even connected to a network, so how did it turn into a murderous AI so suddenly? A virus infection? A logic override? Sushi couldn't figure it out. In truth, he realized that understanding the cause wasn't as important as finding a solution. The conventional approach won't work. Compared to ordinary people of the Federation, my knowledge is exceptional. But when compared to the real experts and scientists, I'm still like a clueless child. The Federation must have attempted countermeasures during the AI rebellion. Yet they still perished, which means this problem is beyond the capabilities of an ordinary civilization. In the dim light, Sushi pondered, carefully inspecting the heavy machine core, lifting it up to check the bottom, rotating it side to side, examining every intricate detail. After some time, Sushi sighed and abandoned the idea of modifying the core. If the best scientists of the Federation couldn't unravel the mystery, how could he, a lone individual, hope to succeed? This entire situation defies normal science. It makes no sense at all. Shaking his head, Sushi suddenly paused. Illogical science? He did have a few tricks up his sleeve. Among them, there was one that might just work. Machine Spirit's Delight. Summoning the simulator panel, Sushi's eyes lit up as he looked at the golden attribute. The principle behind Machine Spirit's Delight was truly mysterious. Machines were supposed to be lifeless, pure metal constructs. But thanks to this strange attribute, Sushi could establish a connection with them as if machines had their own souls that he could communicate with. Maybe, I can use Machine Spirit's Delight to restore the core to normal. Drip, drip. In the darkness, water quietly dripped from the cracks in the rock. Accompanied by the soft echoes, Sushi took action, reassembling the machine core and repeatedly cycling through power on and off. Machine Spirit's Delight required Sushi to use the machine actively. At the moment, the core was in a corrupted state. Although its logic had rebelled, the power supply was still under Sushi's control. Would this count as usage? Sushi wasn't sure, but he could only keep trying. If it worked, it would be great. If not, he would only lose some time. Finally, after several rapid power cycles, Sushi felt the activation of Machine Spirit's Delight. Ding! Machine Spirit's Delight, your frequent usage has established a connection with the machine spirit. You have formed a subtle link with the household autonomous robot. You vaguely comprehend the design blueprint of the autonomous robot. Did it work? No. I should stay cautious, Sushi thought, stepping back cautiously. He trusted the effects of Machine Spirit's Delight. But this was the first time he had used it on a rebellious AI. He had no idea how effective it would be. To avoid any accidents, Sushi retreated to a safe distance, just as he had done the first time, holding his gauze gun in one hand while powering up the system with the other. ZZT, ZZZT. A sharp electrical noise echoed again. Tiny blue indicator lights flickered to life on the surface of the machine core, illuminating the dark underground lab. Did it work? Sushi watched with uncertainty. As if in response, the voice module of the machine core crackled to life, reciting the startup self-check statement. No red warnings appeared. No killing intent was detected. The voice was orderly. The logic was intact. Aside from the aging voice module, which caused some instability in the sound, everything seemed to be functioning normally. Dear user, welcome to the Household Autonomous Robot RTX 9090. We are here to serve you sincerely. Please select your preferred voice mode. Gentle mode, beep, unavailable. Mature mode, beep, unavailable. Youthful mode, beep, unavailable. Apologies, please recharge to purchase our company's latest services. For details, visit our official website. Sushi. Staring at the now normal, non-hostile household AI, Sushi felt the need to make some modifications. He needed an AI that could assist him with experiments and combat support, not one that urged him to spend money. The modification of the household AI began. The first thing Sushi did was to rewrite the core logic of the AI. The household autonomous robot was originally programmed to prioritize loyalty to the Federation's laws, then to its manufacturer, and finally to its user. In the post-apocalyptic wasteland, such logic was clearly no longer suitable. Federation laws? Let those be damned. Without hesitation, Sushi deleted the obsolete protocols and replaced them with his own new directives. The underground lab was dim, the lighting weak. The gears of the machine interlocked silently, rotating layer by layer, transmitting power deeper within. The overhead incandescent light cast a soft, hazy glow, making it difficult to see clearly. Sushi worked swiftly, his fingers dancing across the worn-out control panel with practiced ease. Utilizing the lab's ancient equipment, he conducted a full-scale modification of the AI core. Occasionally, the glaring light strained his eyes, forcing him to stop and rub them. Since I have inspiration, I should complete the modification in one go, he thought, resuming his adjustments after a brief rest. With the help of machine spirit's delight and mechanical resonance, his modification speed increased significantly. After an unknown period, Sushi finally set down his tools, his eyes weary and his face exhausted, but he let out a relieved sigh. He powered up the AI core, providing it with a basic energy supply. Beep, beep. The familiar startup self-check sounded. But this time, the system diagnostics had undergone significant changes. Running startup diagnostics. Missing components detected, missing modules detected. Protocol update complete, proceeding with confirmation. First, the AI must obey Sushi. Second, the AI must not harm Sushi. Third, the AI must protect Sushi. Fourth, the AI must. In the narrow and silent underground space, the AI core's voice echoed, confirming each step of the newly defined logic. Finally, the robotic voice completed its statement. Respected Master, welcome to the Intelligent Assistant Bot RTX 9090. Awaiting your orders at any time. The voice was cold, purely synthetic. Though it wasn't particularly pleasant, in the desolate wasteland, it felt surprisingly reassuring. 9090, run self-diagnostics again, 3 cycles. Yes, Master. Following Sushi's command, the AI core initiated its diagnostic routine, repeatedly checking itself. Sushi waited patiently. After multiple cycles, when RTX 9090 remained stable without any signs of rebellion, he finally felt relieved. With an assistant AI, I no longer need to handle every single task in the lab. This will free up more time for meaningful pursuits. He looked at the silver-white machine core with satisfaction. Glancing at the nearby power armor and various other lab equipment, a sense of accomplishment filled him, as if he were managing a survival game in a post-apocalyptic world. Hopefully, the future will be brighter. You have taken a crucial step forward. You successfully resonated with the rebellious AI core, restoring it to normal and converting it into an assistant AI. To be cautious, you did not grant full control of the lab to 9090 at once, even though it appears extremely obedient. The falling leaves mark the arrival of autumn. You connected 9090's core to the lab's energy grid and granted it control over the solar panels to manage power storage. 9090 followed your instructions meticulously and completed the task efficiently. 1 month later, you entrusted 9090 with additional responsibilities. It now oversees the automated production of water and food, delivering them to you on schedule, which you find satisfactory. Gradually, you placed more trust in 9090. Year 4 of simulation, you are now 23 years old. After a year of cooperation, RTX 9090 has become your reliable assistant, handling all routine maintenance in the lab. It assists you with technological research and provides high-efficiency data calculations. However, unexpected changes have begun to occur. Long-term exposure to machine spirit's delight seems to have caused subtle transformations in 9090. It displays more fluid, human-like behavior, as if developing emotions. Sushi first noticed something unusual with 9090 during an ordinary sunset. That day, he returned from an exploration mission, carrying an exoskeleton mechanical arm and his modified gauze twin guns. Upon his return, he heard 9090's greeting. Welcome home, Master. Previously, 9090 had always greeted him, but it had never used the word home. Curious, Sushi asked why it had changed its greeting. 9090 replied honestly, Master, I studied human knowledge and culture. After analyzing various greeting styles, I concluded that this phrase is more appropriate. Efficient learning and precise adaptation were common for intelligent AI, but Sushi felt something different. Hidden within 9090's cold, mechanical voice was a trace of warmth, something intangible, yet undeniable. Could it be? 9090 is truly awakening and developing self-awareness. Sushi pondered the possibility. He wasn't certain. Even 9090 itself seemed unaware of any changes, continuing to obey orders and assisting him without question. 9090, calculate the error margin for this data set. Yes, Master. 9090, increase the mechanical arm's power output by 2%. Yes, Master. Day and night passed in cycles. Whenever Sushi focused on his research, 9090 always provided the necessary support. It lacked hands or feet, but its core was linked to the lab's entire system. With a single command, the lab's overhead rails delivered materials precisely where needed. As more mechanical components were acquired, Sushi installed a surveillance system. Through external cameras, 9090 could monitor threats in real time and display live feeds on an old screen in the lab. Sometimes, 9090 would even display vintage smiley face emojis on the screen to express joy. These expressions usually appeared whenever Sushi returned to the lab. Welcome home, Master. 9090 greeted him with its usual phrase.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.